Now let us try to revise the articles. Central state, they will start with 24, right? 24, 25, 26. 4 ke baad aayega 5, 5 ke baad 6, and here you need to write 4 because 4 is missing. Now the previous number just to 25 is 255, 263, and 290. I think it is 6. Is it 6? No, it's 3. So ye 3 do baar repeat hoga. Okay, remember like that. Now this is about legislative relation, and 256 to 263 is administrative. And legislative, it is very easy because people remember it very easily. For example, if I take legislative relations, na, Article 245, it talks about territorial extent of the central state. Okay, territorial extent of the central state legislation, and it says that there are exceptions to it. What are the exceptions? Under Article 240, where it says Andaman and Nicobar, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, and what else? Ladakh, Lakshadweep. So all of them, they sound very rhyming. That's why I can easily remember. For example, A and N, D and N, and N, D. These are D and D. And then Lad. Okay, Ladakh and Lakshadweep. Okay, so these are the islands. I mean, these are the UTs where president is having direct control. Okay, so parliament do not have the absolute power because president is having power. Similarly, there are exceptions like 5th schedule and 6th schedule. There are also exceptions because president is having power over there, right? Therefore, parliament के पास उतना power नहीं है. That is Article 245, territorial extent of the central state legislation. Okay, and next we have 246. What is Article 246? We discussed about Article 246, 246, 2 table, and next 7th schedule. 7th schedule talks about 3 lists: list 1, list 2, list 3. And what? How many subjects are there in each list? List 1, 100 minus 1. Sorry, 100 minus 2. क्योंकि state नहीं है. 100 minus 2 is how much? 98. List 1 is, list 2 is 60 minus 1. That is 59 subjects are in the state list. And concurrent list 50-50 करेंगे. 50-50. So you are doing it 2 times 50-50, therefore 52. Okay. This is how I memorize it, 7th schedule. And list 3, they are mostly welfare oriented. Like for example, population control, family planning, marriage, divorce, next education, weights and measure, forest, protection of wild animals, administration of justice. So newspaper also. All of them, they came under list 3 because they are welfare oriented, right? Electricity is also in the list 3. But list 2, it is more likely like local level, livestock, agriculture, police, public order, theater, gambling. Okay. Electricity duty, it belongs to list 2. That is about Article 246. Now let us see the distribution of legislative functions. Article 246 plus the 7th schedule. Totally, they talk about the distribution of legislative subjects. 2, 4, 6, 6 ke baad 7, 7th schedule. Okay, so they are talking about the distribution of legislative subjects. Now let us see. Union list, it has 98 subjects currently. State list is it has 59 and concurrent 52. Do you know how I remember? Union, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट 100% स्पॉन्सर करेगी. ओके, अगर सेंट्रल स्पॉन्सर स्कीम है तो. लेकिन इससे मैं स्टेट लिस्ट को सब्ट्रैक्ट करूंगा तो क्या मिलेगा मुझे? 98 सब्जेक्ट्स. ओके, देयरफॉर आई हैव 98. नाउ सिमिलरली स्टेट लिस्ट 60:40, राइट? तो मुझे बताया कोई 60 से स्टार्ट हुआ होगा. 60 से कितना सब्ट्रैक्ट करना है? सेंटर को सब्ट्रैक्ट करना पड़ेगा यूनियन लिस्ट को. तो कितना मिल जाएगा? 59. Therefore state list has 59 subjects and concurrent list 50-50. Therefore I will add 52. To memorize this unitary list, I'll tell you a story which you already know. See, now we are interested in foreign affairs. Okay, we are interested in foreign affairs. Therefore, we are going to do interstate trade. We are going to do interstate trade, migration, interstate trade, interstate migration. And when you went finally to foreign, there they have put you in interstate quarantine. Okay, so interstate quarantine. Now you have covered what and all did you cover? Foreign affairs. You are interested in foreign affairs. So you are interested in foreign affairs. Therefore, you went for interstate foreign trade, interstate migration. And then when you have gone there, they have put you in a quarantine. That is interstate quarantine. That I have mentioned here. Okay, great. Now, how do you go there? How did you go there? You went there through transportation. It can be railways or shipping or navigation. Great. You went there and they have put you in quarantine, interstate quarantine. And quarantine period now got over. But what happened? You need some money, etc. to buy things, right? So you require currency and coinage. And that's all. That is all you require now, currency and coinage. And for that, you need to do some commerce. Then only, you need to go to some commerce. Then only you can get that currency and coinage. Okay. But before that, you have seen, like, let's say you went to Russia, and there you have seen atomic energy, arms and explosives, war is happening. So there is atomic energy, arms and explosives in the foreign country. Then who is going to come for rescue? Defense. Indian defense is going to come to rescue. Why Indian defense came to rescue? Because they have put you in the preventive detention. They don't know that you are culprit. They are thinking you might be some culprit from the Ukraine, something like that they are thinking. So they put you in the preventive detention. So preventive detention also comes under union list. Okay, great. Now what happened next? They have put you into preventive detention and they are asking you for your citizenship and aliens, whether you belong to Russia or not. So citizenship and aliens, that is also union list. Okay. And you are not understanding anything, and that's why when the Indian defense came, finally you did some telephone calling, you sent some post to your family, etc. So post and telecommunications. Finally, corporate people, finally defense, when it came, it rescued you, right? It rescued you, and when you came back to India, corporate people, they came and they conducted a census and audit. Okay, how many people returned back safely? So census and audit was done. So due to this census and audit, etc., due to the data they published, their revenue in the stock exchange, it raised a lot. So stock exchanges, and finally due to that they got a lot of profit, right? So corporates, they need to pay certain tax to the government. That is corporation tax. So foreign affairs, interstate trade, migration, and then interstate foreign trade, interstate migration. You finally went there, so interstate quarantine, and there you need some money. So currency and coinage, commerce. Yeah, you forgot something. I'll tell you. You went there, but you thought that if something happened to you, you need certain insurance. So banking and insurance also comes under this. Okay, now let us start again. Foreign affairs. First, you're interested in foreign affairs. That is why you went for interstate foreign trade and interstate migration. When you finally went there, they put you in a quarantine, interstate quarantine, and there you thought that you need some currency and coinage. So you went to commerce, currency, coinage, and commerce, and there you thought that you need some banking and insurance also for future. So banking and insurance, and next After that, you have seen atomic energy, arms, explosives, and arms and explosives. Okay, therefore, you were very frightened, and the people whoever they came to you and they put you in the preventive detention, thinking you as aliens, and they asked you for your citizenship. Then Indian defense came to your rescue, and finally, census and audit was conducted. The stock exchange is increased, and corporation tax was conducted. Did you miss something? Yes. How did you go to interstate trade? How did interstate migration happen? You went through railways, shipping, and navigation. Okay. First, once again, foreign affairs, and then interstate trade, migration, and then you went there, interstate quarantine. How did you go there? Through what? Through railway, shipping, and navigation. You went there, and there, after going there, you thought you need some money, currency, coinage, commerce, banking, and insurance also. And then after that, atomic energy, arms and explosives were there. They also put you in preventive detention. They thought you as aliens and they asked for your citizenship. Then you immediately called. Okay, telecommunication post. When you called, defense came to your rescue, and when defense came to your rescue, finally you were released. And then the companies they conducted census and audit. Then stock exchange is increased. That is why government asked for corporation tax. This is union list. I think this story is very easy to memorize. Now let us see state list. But before that, I want to tell you that jurisdiction of Supreme Court and High Court, they belong to union list. And administration of justice, it belongs to concurrent list. See, administration of justice, it belongs to concurrent list, except Supreme Court and High Court. Why? Supreme Court and High Court, they belong to a union list. And administration of justice, initially it used to be state, but finally it shifted to concurrent. Justice का administration तो concurrent में है. Supreme Court and High Court, they are exceptions. They are in the union list. State level, people, they can easily guess state level actually, because public order, police, local self-government, this is important. Local self-government, this is important. And then we have public health, health हो गया, sanitation, public order, police, agriculture, prison, fish, land revenue, market, betting, gambling, advertisement, entertainment tax, advertisement tax. Of course, advertisement tax is collected by the state government only. छोटा मोटा टैक्स तो स्टेट के लिए दे देती है. So advertisement tax, entertainment tax, gambling, betting, ये सब साथ साथ देख लेना. एडवर्टाइजमेंट लोकल लेवल पे ये सब है, ऐसे समझना. लोकल लेवल पे लैंड रेवेन्यू, लोकल लेवल पे एज्यूम करना पूरा. पुलिस ऑर्डर, प्रिजन, ये सब लोकल लेवल लग रहा है ना. लोकल लग रहा होगा. पुलिस ऑर्डर, पुलिस, प्रिजन, एग्रीकल्चर, फिशरीज, हेल्थ, पब्लिक का हेल्थ, ये भी तो लोकल हॉस्पिटल्स, राइट. पब्लिक हेल्थ, सैनिटेशन, लैंड रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट करना, जमींदार, हाँ, लैंड रेवेन्यू. एंड देन गैम्बलिंग, लोकल लेवल पे ही बेटिंग गैम्बलिंग ज्यादा होगी, है ना. लोकल बेटिंग गैम्बलिंग, वहाँ पे ही एडवर्टाइजमेंट एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री ज्यादा है लोकल लेवल पे. हाँ, बेटिंग गैम्बलिंग, एडवर्टाइजमेंट, एंटरटेनमेंट. एंड देन सी यूनियन लेवल बहुत ऑफिशियल है. अब जो भी लोकल लेवल लग रहे हैं पूरा स्टेट लिस्ट में. ओके, बेटिंग गैम्बलिंग अनऑफिशियल लग रहा है ना. सो बेटिंग गैम्बलिंग, एडवर्टाइजमेंट टैक्स, एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स, ओके, ऑल ऑफ देम. Okay, some other duties are also there. For example, electricity duty. It looks formal, but electricity duty, it is a state list. I think there is a discom or something also in the news. It's in the state list, and we have tolls, capitation tax. Tolls and capitation tax, which is state government again. Gas and gas works, LPG gas. ये तो local level लग रहा है यार, LPG gas, LPG gas cylinder local. So gas and gas works, it's also state list. Also, we have a toll and capitation tax. See, capitation tax, it's very different. Capitation tax is poll tax. It is not collected in India anymore. Poll means per person. So per head, you are collecting certain tax regardless of his income. Whether even if he earns zero income, still you will collect certain tax from a person. So that is a poll tax or capitation. That poll tax, it is not there in India. It is in some foreign countries. Anyways, in India it's not there. Even if it is there, it is at the local level. Union ऐसे काम नहीं करेगी. And then toll tax. Whenever a vehicle goes on the road, you collect a certain tax from that vehicle, right? That is toll tax. The tax varies depending upon the vehicle and depending upon the kilometers traveled by that vehicle. Okay, so that is the tax that is collected by state list. Okay, so state list, electricity duty, and then toll and capitation tax. Remember that electricity is concurrent list, electricity tax is state list. अब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लोकल लेवल पे हर कोई यूज करेगा तो उस पर ड्यूटी लगाना तो स्टेट का काम है. पर कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट या इलेक्ट्रिसिटी अगर कोई चेंजेस करना है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी कर सकती है उसमें, लेकिन वो ड्यूटी का अधिकार सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने स्टेट को दे दिया. सो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ड्यूटी स्टेट लिस्ट. नाउ जैसे लोकल लेवल पे क्या होगा, पुलिस ऑर्डर और पुलिस रहेंगे. एंड देन एग्रीकल्चर, प्रिजन्स, लेट्स सी लाइक दिस, पुलिस ऑर्डर, पुलिस, ओके, पब्लिक ऑर्डर, पुलिस, प्रिजन्स. एंड देन लोकल सेल्फ गवर्नमेंट्स होंगी, उसका हेल्थ, सैनिटेशन, एग्रीकल्चर, फिशरी, और जमींदार होगा ना लोकल लेवल में, तो लैंड रेवेन्यू होगा. एंड देन मार्केट्स, वहाँ लोकल मार्केट, यू नो, रईतो बाजार. सो लोकल मार्केट एंड फेयर्स, मार्केट्स एंड फेयर्स, बेटिंग गैम्बलिंग लोकल लेवल पे ही होगी. एडवर्टाइजमेंट टैक्स, एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स, गैस एंड गैस वर्क, गैस सिलेंडर से लोकल लेवल. सो जो भी लोकल लेवल में हम इमेजिन कर पा रहे हैं. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ड्यूटी, टोल एंड कैपिटेशन टैक्स, ऑल ऑफ देम बिलोंग टू द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. ओके, स्टेट लिस्ट. नो कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट. Now, before even starting concurrent list, I will always remember these 5 first. So, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, it moved 5 subjects to concurrent list. One is education. Education में हम क्या पढ़ेंगे, weights and measures बचपन से. And then your education में हम अब नया चीज ऐड करना पड़ेगा, like forest and protection of wild animals and birds. ये दोनों के बाद जस्टिस का एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन भी ऐड करना पड़ेगा. ओके, व्हाट एंड ऑल वी नीड टू ऐड इन एजुकेशन, वेट्स एंड मेजर्स बचपन से है, इसमें हमें ऐड करना पड़ेगा फॉरेस्ट, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ वाइल्ड एनिमल्स एंड बर्ड्स, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ जस्टिस. ऑल 5 ऑफ देम दे आर मोर थ्रू 42nd CA. एजुकेशन, वेट्स एंड मेजर, फॉरेस्ट, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ वाइल्ड एनिमल्स एंड बर्ड्स, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ जस्टिस. Remember this administration of justice, it does not have Supreme Court and High Court. Administration of justice, I mean, it is in the concurrent list, but Supreme Court and High Court, they are in the union list. Okay, the rest of them I don't want to tell you with any trick. Okay, just criminal law, concurrent list. Okay, because states they are also having police, and then criminal law to union पे भी होना चाहिए ना. So that's why criminal law and procedure, it's in the concurrent list. And then we have marriage and divorce, family planning, I mean economic and social planning, family planning, marriage, divorce, all of them they are in the concurrent list. Transfer of property. Okay, I mean if you're transferring a non-agricultural property, of course non-agricultural transfer of property. And then if in case if there is any bankruptcy and insolvency, that will also be in the concurrent. Bankruptcy, people will think it's only union. No, state can also do that. In that list, yes, state can also do bankruptcy and insolvency. Transfer of property, इसमें भी state कभी करेगी, center भी करेगी. Okay, marriage and divorce में भी state करेगी, center करेगी. And then population control, family planning, ये सब हो गया concurrent में. And then trade union तो central level पे form होगा और state level पे भी हो सकता है. Labor welfare reforms. So whatever welfare oriented are there, they are put usually in the concurrent list. Welfare oriented. For example, education welfare oriented na concurrent. And next, trade union, labor welfare, social security and insurance. Okay. Next, charitable institutions, legal and medical professions, welfare oriented, right? Price control, that is also for the welfare of people. Electricity regulations, okay, welfare again. Factories and boilers, labors, factories, boilers. See, labor welfare, na? Factories and boilers, trade union, labor welfare, and whatever are there, criminal law and procedure, all of them, they are concurrent list. Okay, that's all. See, education, of course, it's for the welfare, and forest protection of wildlife, justice, and then charitable institutions. Okay, or bankruptcy and insolvency. Yeah, it feels a kind of welfare, right? So they are put in the concurrent. That's all. And next we have seen Article 246A, which is very famous for GST. Okay, this you should not forget. And then what did we see? We saw about that. We saw one thing that 256A GST belongs to concurrent list 3. Okay, and Parliament and state legislature both are having power for GST. But if it is GST related to interstate trade, then if it is related to interstate trade, then only Parliament is having power, right? If it is interstate GST, that is called IGST. That only Parliament will have. For GST, both Parliament and state legislature will have the power. That is what we have seen in 246A. Okay, and then in the legislative relations, we have also seen that there is a court. What court it is? Additional courts. So if center want, it can establish additional courts under law. That was in 247. Additional courts. Additional courts, that is in the union list. This basically implies that if Parliament wants, it can create some special courts, like special tax tribunal, something like that. Parliament can create. Okay, additional courts, it falls under the union list, but the administration of justice, day-to-day expenditure or whatever, administration of justice, that administration will fall under the which list? Concurrent list. So state के पास भी थोड़ा सा power होना चाहिए ना administration में. So therefore the administration of justice, it is in the concurrent list. But whereas additional courts, setting up of additional courts, that is in the union list. This is famous article for additional courts. You can study in the judiciary. Maybe I have taught there. Okay, and then there is this article 248, which says that in case if there is any residue, that will go to the parliament residual list. देखना यहाँ पे 2467 देख लिया हमने. 7 के बाद 8 आएगा. That is 248. So 248 is residual list. Or else you can write directly here 248 is the residual list. 248 it is the residual list. Okay. 246 7th schedule and 248. Okay. 246 it gives 3 list, which is in the 7th schedule, and 248 it talks about residual list, which lies with the parliament. And 246A is about GST and interstate trade IGST, that is vested with the parliament only. Interstate trade GST, it is vested only with the parliament. So these are the main articles that we have seen in the legislative, and there is one more box. This is the first box. Article 245, territorial extent of the legislation. I mean, the power of parliament to make law in the whole or part of territory of India is not an absolute power under Article 240 or 5th and 6th schedule, because president is having power there. And we have seen Article 246 and the 7th schedule together. Article 248 talks about residual list, and then we have seen 246A, GST, IGST, right? IGST, only parliament is having power, and 247 additional courts, it belongs to union list. This make it as box number 1. Okay, so this is box number 1. 245 territorial extent, 246 distribution of subjects, 246, and then we have seen 246A GST, 247 additional courts. Now I'm going to create box number 2, which you already know. We have 249, 250, 251, 252, 253. 249 national interest, 250 national emergency upon state request, and 253 what is this? International agreements. So basically Article 249, it says that in case of national interest, Rajya Sabha with 2/3 of members present and voting, it can pass a resolution. Okay, and such resolution, it is valid for how much? 1 year. 1 year will be the valid period. Okay, that is about Article 249, Parliament legislation state field. So this box is entirely about Parliament legislation state field. So we are missing one more article. I think it's Article 357, how the legislation happens during suspension of state. Okay, it is about state emergency. So these are the articles. Remember, there are 5 articles in the Parliament legislation in the state field, and there is one more article which I did not mention. That is Article 254. It says that in case if there is any repugnancy, this article is about repugnancy. In case if there is any repugnancy, union list greater than concurrent, and it is greater than state. Okay, that is 254. Anyways, one thing you need to know: only Rajya Sabha resolution, only this is special. Only this is special majority. All of them, they require simple majority. Okay, even for the state emergency, Parliament need to pass only simple majority. That is all to it. So national interest के लिए राज्य सभा resolution pass करेगी 249, या फिर नेशनल इमरजेंसी के टाइम पे पार्लियामेंट स्टेट लेजिस्लेशन में लॉ बना सकती है, 249 पे भी बना सकती है. And these are all the areas where Parliament can legislate in the state field. National interest, national emergency upon 2 or more states if they request, and when Parliament wants to implement an international agreement without state consent only, Parliament can legislate in the state field. And then there is state emergency. So in case if there is any state emergency, Parliament can legislate in the state field. And one more thing, such a law is not coterminous with emergency. I mean emergency period. For example, even if the president rule end, the law will not end. State legislature must pass a law to revoke that parliamentary legislation. That is not coterminous with the president rule. Okay. There are 3 boxes under legislation. One is this box from 245 to 247. This is how I remember box wise. And then the next box I will start with 249. Why? Because it ended with 248 residue list, remember. So therefore the next box I started with 259 and I went till 253. I think I went till 254, right? There is this 255. It just says that laws are valid even if president or governor recommendation was obtained later. Okay, something like that. 255. I don't think that is important, so I neglected. And then we'll see the different articles. Remember till 254. That's enough. See, we have seen 3 boxes: territorial extent, distribution of subjects, Parliament legislation in state field. Now we need to see center control in the state legislation. So basically, the second box is about parliament control or parliament legislation in the state field. Now center control in the state field or else central control over state legislation. ये गवर्नमेंट के बारे में है और ये पार्लियामेंट के बारे में है, दोनों किसमें, स्टेट फील्ड में. ओके, हाउ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड हाउ पार्लियामेंट कैन अफेक्ट. ओके, so basically this is the area where central can control over the state legislation. For example, article 200, 201, everyone knows it's absolute veto of president over a state bill. So president enjoys absolute veto over state bill, which the governor is going to reserve for the president. Okay, president has absolute veto over state bill reserved by the governor for the president. And then we see article 213. It is nothing but it says governor cannot make an ordinance without instruction from the president in certain cases. जो ये center जो भी है basically ये president है, president के पास कुछ powers है state legislation में. So that's all. For example, 200 and 201, it is absolute veto over state bill. President enjoys absolute veto over state bill reserved by governor for the president. In this article you can see central control over state legislation. Article 200, 201, president has absolute veto over state bill. Article 213, governor he cannot make an ordinance without the instruction of the president. So basically president का power अगर ज़्यादा है तो हम बोलेंगे president has a control over the state legislation. Okay, governor has no ordinance without the governor cannot make an ordinance without the instruction of the president in certain cases. That is under article 213. Ordinance making power of the governor is not valid in certain cases without the instruction of the president. And there is article 304. 4 say 4 मतलब freedom. F, freedom, right? So state bill which is imposing restriction on freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse. In such scenario, that bill requires prior sanction of the president. And then article 360. This is financial emergency, everyone knows. So center can direct states to reserve money bills and financial bills for president consideration. Center control over state legislation. So these are the three boxes in the legislative. Now we need to see administrative. This is box number 1, okay, in administrative relations. So it will start with article 256, right? 256 and it will end with 263. So the first box, executive power of state. See, first article says that obligation of executive power of each state is to exercise in such a way as to ensure compliance with the parliamentary laws. Executive power of state shall be exercised in such a way as to not impede the executive power of the center. So ये parliament और ये center पास. So if in case if this did not happen and if they fail to comply with that, then president can impose sanction, and such sanctions are coercive in nature, meaning they are very strict. Therefore, under Article 365, President can assume that a state has failed to comply with directions given by the center, and it will be lawful for the President to hold that a situation has arisen for which government of the state cannot be carried in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. It means he can impose President rule under Article 356. And then this is about the executive power of state. If sanctions, they might even lead to President rule. And then there is a center's direction to state. We have 257 clause 2 clause 3. That is, center can give directions to states in certain matters. Okay, one is 257 clause 2 clause 3, and then 257 को reverse करेंगे तो 275 आएगा, and then linguistic minority 350 है. So in case of national or military importance, center can give direction to state. Protection of railways, center can give direction to state. Welfare of STs, Article 275, center can give. And also linguistic minority gives center can give. Okay, in case while the center is giving directions to state for these things, if there is any extra burden of cost, that will be compensated by the union. So we have 258 clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, and 258A. 258 clause 1 is the mutual delegation, and 258A is the reciprocal delegation. In clause 1, it just says that mutual delegation implies president with the consent of the state government. It is not governor; it is the state government. Okay, president with the consent of state government, whoever is ruling, the state government, can entrust the executive function of the union to the state. And 258A, it is a reciprocal delegation. Governor with the consent of union government can entrust the executive function of the state to the union. Okay, and we have mutual legislation. That means, see, there are two ways in which Parliament can do its work. Okay, union can do its work. One is with consent and other is without consent. So if it is not taking any consent, if it is without consent, then it will be mutual legislation. Okay, without consent of state government. If that is happening, that will not be by the president, but that will be by the parliament through a legislation. Okay, that's all. That is legislation. That is not mutual legislation. It's just a legislation. Okay, here what is going to happen? Here executive function of the center, executive function of the union is entrusted with the state without the consent of the state. Entrustment of the executive function of the center to the state without the consent of the state via a law made by the parliament. Okay, parliament is making a law. That is how executive function of union is being entrusted with the state. म्यूचुअल डेलीगेशन एंड लेजिस्लेशन तो यही है, विदाउट कंसेंट लेने का अधिकार सिर्फ यूनियन के पास है. बट सो बेसिकली सेंटर इट हैज बोथ द पावर ऑफ एग्रीमेंट, दैट इज डेलीगेशन एंड लेजिस्लेशन, बट स्टेट इट इज ओनली हैविंग द पावर ऑफ agreement, that is delegation. Okay, and there is 258 clause 3 which says that if a state incurs extra cost due to such legislation, that extra cost will be borne by the center. यहाँ पे पूरा क्या हो रही है, यूनियन स्टेट को दे रही है ना. तो थर्ड क्लास में यही बोलती है कि if a state incurs extra cost due to such legislation, union shall bear the cost. That's all. We saw two boxes in administrative. Now the third box is cooperation between the center and state. See, first box, that is about center direction to state or extent of executive power of the state. That is this. And the second is a mutual delegation of functions. That is the second box. Third box will be cooperation between the center and state. So the next box, it talks about cooperation between center and state. That is a public act recording judicial proceeding. We have seen 261 clause 1, clause 2, clause 3. Full faith and credit shall be given to PRJ. Okay, public act recording judicial proceedings. For this, parliament can make a law so that it can govern PRJ and make sure that it will be recognized or enforced. Public act recording judicial proceedings. Parliament can make laws. And 261 clause 3 is very important. It is talking about civil courts. So the final judgments or order delivered by the civil courts, they can be executed anywhere within the territory of India. Okay, that is this. And one thing you need to know is that anywhere. So this does not imply court of record. This does not imply court of record. I mean, final judgments are enforceable anywhere throughout the territory of India. Does not imply court of record. Court of record is only for Supreme Court and High Court, right? Therefore, this is due to full faith and credit clause. That is why we are saying execution anywhere within the territory of India. And we have 262 Parliament, interstate river. Okay, for any interstate river water dispute, Parliament can make a law. I think we are already having a River Board Act and Interstate River Water Dispute Act 1956, where Parliament, I think it came up with ad hoc tribunal, and that will decide. Ad hoc tribunal will decide, and the decisions, they are final and binding. Okay, so Parliament under this can also put a bar on jurisdiction of Supreme Court or High Court. A bar on Supreme Court or High Court, clause 2. Okay, and next we have seen now clause 3. Clause 3, President can establish interstate council. So in the central state administrative relations, we can see one more box. For example, this box has some miscellaneous articles. For example, 307. This talks about interstate, any authority to manage interstate relations. I mean, interstate trade commerce. So under Article 307, Parliament can appoint an authority. So appointing body, people will think that it is always President. No, it is Parliament. For interstate trade council, it is the Parliament. And next we have All India Service. That is Article 312. Everyone knows All India Service. This also is a key for central state relations. And for this, Rajya Sabha, it can pass resolution with 2/3 of members present and voting. That is special majority. Okay. This is Rajya Sabha, not the Parliament. Article 315, Public Service Commission for Union and States, PSC. Public Service Commission for States and Union. And 315 clause 2, Parliament, it says that Parliament can pass a law for joint state PSC. Okay, 315 is completely about PSC only. And the Parliament can pass a law to create a joint state PSC. And UPSC serves state with the approval of the President. Of course, UPSC people, they serve state, right? They serve state. How do they serve state? You know, IPS officer and all, they serve state government. So they serve state government on the recommendation of governor with the approval of President. That is 315. And then 316, we have chairman of UPSC or joint state PSC. It is appointed by the President. The final box, Public Service Commission. So 315 clause 1, Public Service Commission, it shall be there for union and state. If it is for union, we call it UPSC, and if it is for state, we call state PSC. And अगर हमें joint state PSC चाहिए तो Parliament through law बना सकती है. इसका मतलब joint state PSC क्या है? Statutory body है. It is not a constitutional body. And next we see that UPSC, it serves state. Okay, on the recommendation of governor with the approval of president. याद रखना, ये swap करेगा. Swap करने के बाद ये अच्छा ही लगेगा. For example, UPSC on the recommendation of the what can we say, on the recommendation of the president with the approval of governor. ये भी तो सही लग रहा है. नहीं, on the recommendation of governor with the approval of president. That is the right. Okay, and next we see 316. ये 316 chairperson के बारे में बात करती है. Okay, president appoints the chairman of the UPSC or joint state PSC, and state PSC का chairman governor करेगा. So these are the 4 boxes. Executive power of the state, centers direction to the state. That is the first box. Executive power of the state shall not impede parliamentary law, state legislature law, and executive power of the center. And in case if it impedes state emergency, president rule. Okay. सेंटर डायरेक्शन दे सकती है. नेशनल और मिलिट्री इंपॉर्टेंस, रेलवे इंपॉर्टेंस, वेलफेयर ऑफ एससी एसटी नीडी स्टेट्स एंड लिंग्विस्टिक माइनॉरिटी ग्रुप्स. आर्टिकल्स याद है 356 357 फॉर द इंपीड वाला थिंग. एंड देन डायरेक्शंस ना 257 को उल्टा करेंगे, 275 एंड देन 350 लिंग्विस्टिक माइनॉरिटी ग्रुप्स का एजुकेशन रिलेटेड. दैट इज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड अंडर 7th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट. एंड देन वी हैव म्यूचुअल डेलीगेशन, लेजिस्लेशन एंड रेसिप्रोकल डेलीगेशन. म्यूचुअल डेलीगेशन हमने देखा है ना, क्या सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास 2 पावर्स है, डेलीगेशन एंड लेजिस्लेशन. डेलीगेशन में क्या कर सकती है? प्रेसिडेंट विद द कंसेंट ऑफ द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, नॉट द गवर्नर. ओके. एंड लेजिस्लेशन में प्रेसिडेंट विदाउट द कंसेंट ऑफ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. उसके लिए पार्लियामेंट लॉ बनाना पड़ेगा टू एंट्रेस द एक्जीक्यूटिव फंक्शन ऑफ द यूनियन टू द स्टेट. एंड रेसिप्रोकल डेलीगेशन मतलब 258 1 इज म्यूचुअल ना. सो रेसिप्रोकल मतलब गवर्नर. सो 258 ए, दैट ए इट इज आल्सो इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय 7th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट 1956. एनीवेज, इन दिस रेसिप्रोकल गवर्नर विदाउट द कंसेंट, सॉरी विद द कंसेंट, ये विद द कंसेंट, दिस आल्सो विद द कंसेंट, लेकिन ये स्टेट गवर्नमेंट यूनियन और ये फ्लिप. दैट्स ऑल. दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड रेसिप्रोकल. ओके. गवर्नर विद द कंसेंट ऑफ द यूनियन गवर्नमेंट शैल एंट्रस्ट एक्जीक्यूटिव फंक्शन ऑफ द स्टेट टू द यूनियन. बेसिकली स्टेट गवर्नमेंट मतलब कौन? चीफ मिनिस्टर और काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर. इसका कंसेंट लेना पड़ेगा टू एंट्रस्ट द एक्जीक्यूटिव फंक्शन ऑफ द यूनियन टू द स्टेट. एंड गवर्नर भी वैसे ही प्राइम मिनिस्टर एंड चीफ मिनिस्टर काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करके उसका कंसेंट लेके स्टेट का एक्जीक्यूटिव फंक्शन यूनियन को एंट्रस्ट कर सकते हैं. And then we have cooperation between the center and the state. Center and state का cooperation, public acts, records and judicial proceedings ऐसे कुछ articles देखा हमने. That is in the 261. And then here we have seen that civil courts, they are not court of records. And court of records are only who? Supreme Court and High Courts are the only court of records. Civil courts, they are not court of records, but yeah, they are given this PRJ. That is why they can be executed anywhere within the territory of India. I mean, final judgments or orders of the civil courts can be executed anywhere within the territory of India. And then we see 262 and 263, Parliament and President. Okay, 262 Parliament. Parliament interstate river के रिलेटेड कोई लॉ बना सकती है. रिवर है ना, तो रिवर के ऊपर बार लगाएगा. किसका बार? सुप्रीम कोर्ट एंड हाई कोर्ट का बार. देयरफॉर दे कैन हैव देयर ओन ट्रिब्यूनल एंड दे आर हैविंग एडजुडिकेटिंग पावर्स. देयरफॉर अंडर दिस दे आर हैविंग एडजुडिकेटिंग पावर्स. But what about interstate council under article 263? This is a constitutional body. 262 interstate related river board ऐसा कुछ भी बनाए पार्लियामेंट बाय लॉ तो वो स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी ही होगी. लेकिन 263 में खुद ये बोल रहे हैं ना इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल होगा. So that's why it is appointed by the president, right? It is appointed by the president and it is advisory in nature and it is not having jurisdiction power. Therefore it is complementary to Supreme Court or High Court. जो भी decisions है वो Supreme Court और High Court करेगी. Okay, complementary to Supreme Court or High Court. Okay, this is one thing you need to remember which is different. Adjudicating, therefore सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट का बार है, लेकिन यहाँ पे बार नहीं है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट ही डिस्प्यूट्स को बताएगी इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल का. इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल डिस्प्यूट्स डिसाइड नहीं करेगी. सुप्रीम कोर्ट हाई कोर्ट ये एडजुडिकेट करेगी. इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल एडजुडिकेट नहीं करेगी, वो सिर्फ एडवाइजरी है. ओके, दैट्स ऑल. एंड देन वी हैव सीन ऑल दिस, राइट? द फोर्थ बॉक्स 307, पार्लियामेंट बाय अथॉरिटी. इट विल पार्लियामेंट विल थिंक इफ इट नीड्स एनी अथॉरिटी फॉर इंटरस्टेट ट्रेड काउंसिल एक्सेट्रा, देन ऑफ कोर्स पार्लियामेंट विल सेट अप एन अथॉरिटी. एंड 312 ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज क्रिएट करने के लिए राज्यसभा को रेजोल्यूशन पास करना पड़ेगा, 2/3 ऑफ मेंबर्स प्रेजेंट एंड वोटिंग. एंड 315 and 316 राइट? जस्ट नो वी हैव सीन UPSC, joint state PSC, etc. Joint state PSC, parliament by law. That is why it is a statutory body. It is not a constitutional body. And yes, UPSC serves state on the recommendation of governor with the approval of the president. Okay. UPSC joint state PSC का chairperson appoint करेगा president and state PSC का governor. There are three boxes in the legislative, right? Territorial extent and distribution of function we have seen, and parliament legislation in the state field, national interest, national emergency, state request, etc. National interest के लिए special majority validity for 1 year, and then the remaining we have seen it is for simple majority only. International agreements के लिए state consent mandatory नहीं है, and state emergency ना it is not coterminous with the president rule. Therefore state को खुद एक law बना के revoke करना पड़ेगा. Okay, that is in the 357, and then repugnancy देखा हमने 254 में union greater than concurrent greater than state, and the central's control over the state legislation of course it is through ordinances, and then and money bills etc. इसमें सेंटर कंट्रोल करेगी स्टेट लेजिस्लेशन को. ओके, पार्लियामेंट भी कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, स्टेट भी कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, पार्लियामेंट भी कंट्रोल कर सकती है, गवर्नमेंट यूनियन गवर्नमेंट भी कर सकती है. So that is what they are mentioned in the other two boxes. These two boxes 245, 246, 246 here, 247 and 248, and then we are starting with 249 and we are ending with 254, and center control in the state legislation we are starting with the ordinances, and then administrative relations we are 254 पे हमने खत्म किया ना, and then 254 पे हमने खत्म किया, 255 हमने देखा कि उतना रिलेवेंस नहीं है उसका, and then we came to 256 directly administrative relations, and we started with 256, 257, 275 इसका उल्टा किया हमने, and then 350 है linguistic minority groups, center direction to states हमने खत्म किया, and then 257 के बाद क्या आएगा 258. तो that is mutual delegation and legislation and reciprocal delegation 258 ये. उसके बाद हमने कहाँ पे गया, we went to PRJ, that is 261. So 261, 262, 263. That's also we finished with interstate council 263, and we have seen some more powers. Some more administrative relations between the center and state, right? All India services, UPSC, state PSC, interstate trade commerce का parliament by authority बना सकती है. So all of them are interstate administrative relations. I mean center state administrative relation. One more important thing that you need to know. Now you have seen 263, so I want to tell you, interstate council, it is a constitutional body because in 263 we have seen, and if you see interstate river related boards, they are of course parliament by law. They are of course parliament by law, therefore they are statutory bodies, and similarly zonal councils हमने कहीं पे पढ़ा नहीं पढ़ा, you have never studied them, that is why I am telling you they are not there. They are through an act, which act, State Reorganization Act 1956. Therefore zonal councils they are established by the parliament and they are statutory bodies, whereas interstate councils they are constitutional bodies, and composition is very important क्योंकि interstate council का head PM होगा, chairman, लेकिन जोनल काउंसिल्स ना हमारे इंडिया के पास 5 जोनल काउंसिल्स है, नॉर्दर्न, सदर्न, ईस्टर्न, वेस्टर्न, एंड देन वी हैव दिस इज नॉट अ काउंसिल. ओके, 1 2 3 4 5 सेंट्रल. ओके, सेंट्रल जोनल काउंसिल. इन 5 का कॉमन है एक जोनल काउंसिल होगा, एंड यू नो व्हाट, the chairperson is the home minister, he is the common head for all these zonal councils. Okay, home minister, he is the common head for all the zonal councils, and then who is going to be the vice chairperson? Of course is the chief minister of all the states, and all the states and the UTs with legislature on the rotation basis now they are going to be the vice chairperson. Okay, similarly CMs of all state and UTs with legislature they are going to be on the rotation basis vice chairperson, and then UTs without legislature and states का हालत क्या है? So basically administrators and the governors they can be the other persons, and 6 cabinet ministers can also be there in the interstate council. Okay, for example 6 cabinet ministers में home minister तो होगा, home minister and other members. Okay, there was an interstate council that was formed in the year of 1990, and subsequently interstate council secretariat was formed in the year of 1991, and standing committee 1996 it was formed. It was also formed in 1996 standing committee for the interstate council, and then we have union home minister. Standing committee में कौन है? Union home minister, 5 union cabinet minister and 9 chief ministers. So standing committee it was formed. Anyways, this composition is not so important. Just remember that interstate council secretariat it was formed in 1991, and standing committee for this interstate council it was formed in the year of 1996. Anyways, it is a constitutional body. That's all you need to know. And first interstate council it was set up in 1990. I think Moraji Desai ने recommend किया, इसलिए set up हुआ ऐसा कुछ. And then zonal councils ना, इसमें भी administrators of UTs without legislatures है, and then 2 other ministers from each state. So there are many zones, right? So 2 ministers from each zonal council they are going to be there, and in case of UT 2 members from UT are nominated by the president. 2 members from UT are nominated by the president. Okay, that's all. Simple है ना कि अगर state है तो 2 ministers होगा, अगर UT है तो zonal council से 2 ministers, हर एक UT से कौन nominate करेगा? President nominate करेगा. 2 members from the UTs will be nominated by the president to be present in the zonal councils, and if it is a state of course state से 2 minister होगा, यहाँ पे कोई member होगा UT से. Okay, that's all. And then members, there are some members without right to vote. For example, members nominated by the Niti Aayog, chief secretary of the government of each state, and then development commissioner of each state. So chief secretary and development commissioner they are going to be there, and people nominated by Niti Aayog they are also going to be there. These are the members who don't have right to vote in the zonal councils, they are just going to be present. Okay, that is about zonal council, which is a statutory body, and that is about a constitutional body. Now let us see 5 zones. Let us try to remember it. I remember it like this. Central को मैंने catch my umbrella uncle, catch my umbrella uncle. Okay, catch my umbrella uncle. Yeah, catch Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand. Okay, so these are the 4 states under central zonal council. And then eastern zonal council I remember it, Bihar तो होगी, Bijou मतलब बिहार, झारखंड, उड़ीसा and West Bengal. Okay, and then southern in south all kids keep talking to parents. All kids keep talking to parents. All Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Puducherry. Okay, that's all. These are under the southern zonal councils. Okay, now central, southern, eastern and western zonal councils I remember it like this. Western side में good guys है. Western movies you see, right? They are good guys. So good guys make dinner, not dramas. Okay, good guys. Goa, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Dadra, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli. So these are the states under the Western General Council. You can remember it state wise, but when it comes to certain states, now I tend to mix up. That's why I memorized with mnemonics. You can use your own mnemonics. Okay. And then we have this Northeast Council always. You know what? Northeast, what is a Northeast Council? It has all the Northeastern Council plus Sikkim. Okay. How many states are there in the Northeast? Northeast को हम ऐसे बोलेंगे 7 sisters plus Sikkim. 7 sis SS rhyming na 6 okay fine 7 sisters plus Sikkim, that is Northeast Council. So Northeastern Council में 7 sisters plus Sikkim, total 8 members है. But anyways it is not a zonal council. Northeastern, it was set up under Northeast Council Act 1971, not under the State Reorganization Act 1956. It is not a zonal council. Remember that Northeastern states and Sikkim, they are not zonal councils. We have finished administrative relations. Now we need to look into financial relations. Okay, Article 264, it says that Finance Commission, whenever we are mentioning Finance Commission in this constitution, it will be the Finance Commission under Article 280. Okay, and 265 it says that taxes imposed by law. मतलब जो भी टैक्स हम बोल रहे हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, they are imposed by law and not through some executive order. That is what it says. 265. Okay. See 264 too. I think now we need to see till 293. है ना? Okay. Taxes imposed by law, they are not through executive order. That's all. And there is this doctrine of unjust enrichment. It says that taxes illegally levied must be refunded. For example, if state illegally takes a toll tax from you, of course it must be refunded again back to you. That is doctrine of unjust enrichment. I think taxes illegally levied must be refunded. That is a 265. I think it provided about doctrine of unjust enrichment. I'm not sure. There are some italic letters I've seen, so that's why I thought of mentioning about it. Okay, 264 Finance Commission under Article 280. 265 taxes imposed by law, they are not through some executive order. Now we have seen the first two. Now let us see the next two. तो दो हमने देख लिया, एक तो Finance Commission और दूसरा taxes imposed by law not through executive order. Okay. And हमें दो और देखना है 266 and 267. 266 talks about consolidated fund and public account. 267 talks about contingency. So 267 has a clause 1. It talks about consolidated fund of India and consolidated fund of state, and clause 2 it talks about public account of India and public account of state. Okay. So basically whatever revenue or taxes that India has generated, or else it might have raised some loans, etc. Right. So all of them, they will be gone to this consolidated fund of India. And similarly, if it is for state, then they will go to consolidated fund of state. And then if they want to draw out money, for drawing out money, they need to take permission of the parliament. So parliament by law or state legislature by law, they can draw out the money from this consolidated fund. That is mentioned in Article 266 clause 1. And when you see Article 266 clause 2, it talks about public account. Okay. Public account क्या है? Public account मतलब, for example, see, I am doing my job, but you are deducting certain provident fund and you are saying that you will give me after the retirement. That is provident fund. Okay. So public money through pension fund or small saving fund, they go into public account of India, or we also have public account of state. Okay. They will go in that way. And you know what? You do not require the approval of the legislature. To draw out money, why do you require the approval of the legislature? You don't require the approval of legislature because government is the banker. Therefore, for consolidated fund and consolidated fund of state, here for drawing out, you require parliament ka approval, legislature ka approval is required. But when you are drawing amount from public account of India, legislature ka approval is not required because government is the banker. So you stored money on the behalf of public and you want to give them pension now. So interest के साथ तुमने pension का amount raise किया होगा ना कुछ तो कुछ. So that's why government is acting as a banker here and no legislature approval is required. Okay. There is no vote on expenditure for government to draw out money from the public account of India or public account of state. Okay. The next Article 267 contingency fund. It was established through Contingency Fund Act 1950. So parliament by law establishes it. Therefore contingency fund, it's a statutory body. Consolidated fund and public account, they are constitutional bodies, whereas a contingency fund, it's a statutory body. Okay. Contingency fund is held by the secretary. Which secretary? Finance secretary on the behalf of the president. Okay. क्या होगा, मैं टाइमलाइन बताती हूँ कंटिजेंसी फंड को लेके. क्या होता है कि पहले ना पार्लियामेंट कोई इमरजेंसी सिचुएशन हो गया, अचानक भूकंप आ गया, तो प्रेसिडेंट क्या किया, अब हमें अचानक सिचुएशन में ये चीज हुआ है ना, तो हमारे पास मनी नहीं है. सो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास एक बजट है, बजट के अकॉर्डिंग इसका एलोकेशन है. नाउ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट डोंट हैव मनी फॉर दिस सडन अर्थक्वेक, राइट. सो इस टाइम पे क्या होगा कि कंटिजेंसी फंड को यूज करेंगे हम. प्रेसिडेंट he will draw out some money from the contingency fund, क्योंकि contingency fund में 30,000 crore है. Okay, you have 30,000 crore in the contingency fund. So president, he can draw out some money, or even the governor if it is for state. Okay, he can draw out some money from that contingency fund and use for that emergency situation. Now what happens later, that 30,000 crore का top up है ना, वो fill up होना चाहिए ना, financial year end तक वो तो fill up होना चाहिए. Therefore parliament will pass this under Article 115, Article 116 we have supplementary grant and vote of credit, right. Vote of credit, it is like a blank check. Okay, supplementary grant, it is like मैंने कुछ extra लिया, ये देखना यहाँ पे अच्छे से लिखा मैंने, सप्लीमेंट्री ग्रांट एंड एक्सेस ग्रांट. सी इफ यू आर इन द सेम फाइनेंशियल ईयर एंड गवर्नमेंट ने जो बजट दिया है ना, दैट बजट इफ इट इज नॉट सफिशिएंट, then you will initiate the supplementary grant if original budget is not sufficient. This is Article 115. Okay, start with 115. And then excess grant. Excess grant is after the financial year. See, for the last financial year you have spent something extra, right? For that you are going to use excess grant. But you know what, this is for the same financial year only, contingency fund. For supplementary and vote of credit, they are only during the financial year. That is the difference between supplementary and excess grant. Excess grant is for the previous financial year where you use excessively the amount. Then of course you must ask for the excess grant in the next financial year. But supplementary grant, इसी budget में तुम बोल रहे हो कि इसको supplement करना during the same financial year. So that is because original budget is not sufficient. Supplementary grant under Article 115. And there is vote on credit also due to unforeseen circumstances like a blank check. So only during that financial year if you are asking, not excess and not vote on etc etc. They are for supplementary grant and vote on credit. Okay, so only for this if you are asking, then parliament I mean parliament क्या कर सकती है parliament ये after president disposes that money, parliament by law it can replenish the amount back to 30,000 करोड़. ये एक law पास करेगी पहले, मतलब ये बिल पास करेगी. बिल पास करने के बाद क्या होगा, this amount will be replenished back. Okay, basically what is this contingency fund of India? Parliament by law can establish a contingency fund of India. Therefore parliament established this under contingency fund of act 1950, and it is held by the finance secretary on the behalf of president. Okay, and it is a statutory fund, so it has two clauses, president or governor. Clause 1 में president है, clause 2 में governor. So it authorizes president authorizes advances from these funds, and these funds are placed at the disposal of the president or the disposal of the governor, and later a parliament through law using supplementary grant or vote of credit can replenish the amount back to 30,000 crore top up level. This was initially very less, but in the 2021 amendment I think they increased the top up level. Okay, एंड बाय द वे आई वांट टू आस्क यू 2 क्वेश्चंस. व्हाट इज वोट ऑन क्रेडिट एंड इंटरिम बजट? देखना, मैं अब इंटरिम बजट पास करूंगा, ये सिर्फ 7 महीने का होगा. अगर मुझे कुछ एक्स्ट्रा चाहिए तो मैं फिर से वोट ऑन अकाउंट पास करूंगा. ओके, दैट इज इंटरिम बजट एंड वोट ऑन अकाउंट, दैट्स ऑल. दे आर यूजुअली यूज्ड ड्यूरिंग द इलेक्शन ईयर. ओके, एंड आई वांट टू टेल यू दैट स्टेट लिस्ट में ज्यादा टैक्सेस है, एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स, एडवर्टाइजमेंट टैक्स एक्सेट्रा, पलाना दिन का टैक्स. यूनियन लिस्ट में कम टैक्सेस है, बट द रेवेन्यू जनरेटेड फॉर यूनियन गवर्नमेंट it is more than the state government, क्योंकि इनकम टैक्स, कॉर्पोरेशन टैक्स, दे आर ऑल इन द यूनियन लिस्ट एंड दे जनरेट बल्क रेवेन्यू मोर देन द स्टेट लिस्ट. तो स्टेट लिस्ट के पास ज्यादा टैक्सेस है, बट लेकिन द रेवेन्यू जनरेटेड इज मोर फॉर द यूनियन. And residuary list, it was with the central government. And from now on we are going to see 3 articles. Levy, there in 3 articles now we are going to look into, and there you will see 3 words mainly. Levy implies impose, who is imposing the tax, and next you are going to see collection, who is collecting the tax, and next appropriation, who is spending the tax. Okay, now we have 3 articles, 268, 269 and 269A. I will take it as only one article, that is interstate, and the next article we have is 270. So you have 268, 269 and 270. Now 268 it says levied by union, collected and appropriated by state. Okay, so it is basically imposed by union, that is stamp duty. But who collects the stamp duty? It is collected by the state and appropriated by the states only. Now we have 269, they are levied and collected by union but assigned to states. Okay, that is 269. But 269 it has two things, na, 269 and 269A. Both of them they are talking about interstate only, but one is levied and collected by union and assigned to state. The other is levied and collected by union but shared or distributed between union and state. Okay, that is IGST. So whichever is not a part of GST, that is a non-taxable supply. Use no alcohol. You saw that, right? I think in the GST topic you will be studying petroleum fuel, natural gas, aviation turbine fuel, and then alcohol. Alcohol, it is a state subject, therefore center will not impose that. But except alcohol, all other non-taxable supply that petroleum to aviation turbine fuel, all of those fuels, they are levied and collected by the union but assigned to the states. Okay, all of those interstate trade, they're levied and collected by the union but 100% they are assigned to the state. And similarly, this levied and collected by union but shared between the state. For example, you have interstate GST, that is shared between union and state. तो पहले सेंटर क्या करती थी कि 269 में ना ये बोलती थी कि चलो मैं ना सिर्फ कॉस्ट ऑफ कलेक्शन लूंगा. नेट प्रोसीड्स, व्हाट इज नेट प्रोसीड्स? टैक्स रेवेन्यू कलेक्टेड माइनस कॉस्ट ऑफ कलेक्शन करने का खर्चा, ऑपरेशनल एक्सपेंडिचर. ओके, तो ये बोलेगी कि नेट प्रोसीड्स आई विल असाइन ऑल द नेट प्रोसीडिंग्स टू द स्टेट. Okay, that is what central government says, and that is why net proceeds they are not part of consolidated fund of India in the article 269. But again we have article 269, there it is distributed. Now central government amended it and said मैं पूरा 100% of net proceeds state को नहीं assign करना चाहता हूँ, कुछ खुद के लिए रखना चाहता हूँ. So I want the net proceeds to be distributed between the union and state. That is why it amended 269 and got 269A. Currently every item, every good, it has GST. Therefore central government will earn lot on IGST. तो central government को कुछ हिस्सा जाएगी और state government को भी कुछ हिस्सा जाएगी. Okay, and then that is about interstate GST. Okay, now let us see each article. Levied by union, collected and appropriated by state, it is under article 268. Since they are appropriated by state, that means they are state government spends it. Expenditure is done by the state government, appropriated by state. Therefore they do not form the part of consolidated fund of India. क्यों? क्योंकि वो state government खर्चा कर रहे हैं ना, तो it will not be part of consolidated fund of India. And what are those taxes? They are the stamp duties on the legal documents such as bills of exchanges, checks, promissory notes, transfer of shares. इन सब के ऊपर एक stamp duty है. उसको हम बोलते हैं levied by union, collected and appropriated by state. It is under article 268. And next we have article 269. They are levied and collected by the union but assigned to the states. What are those articles? Example, taxes on sale, purchase or consignment of goods in the interstate trade or commerce. So levied and collected by union, that is also interstate. Levied and collected by union and shared between, that is also interstate. Now let us see 269 more clearly. So before that you need to know, before going into the articles 269 and 269A, you need to know about this production and sales. Okay, we have intrastate and interstate. For intrastate implies within the state. Within the state, this is your state. Okay, within the state you are doing a production, company A is doing the production and it is selling to someone. Okay, on the production if a tax is being imposed, that is called excess duty. And if it is within the state, then of course it will be state excess duty. But let's say I gave that petrol production to someone in the state. Okay, an excess duty is imposed on me. That's over. Now the other person is going to sell that to someone else, right? So on the sale, if you are imposing tax, that is called VAT. VAT is a sale tax by the states. Okay, that is interstate. तो state को क्या-क्या taxes मिलेगी? Tax revenue. One is on the state excess duty, which is on production, and which is on the sales, that is VAT. Okay, and next we have interstate. Interstate implies one state to the other state within the country. Okay, on such scenario, central government is going to impose a tax on the production. If the production, if it happens from one state and it is getting sold to the other state, I mean it is being sent to the other state, but the production is happening anything as such. On such scenario, central excess duty will be imposed on the production. Okay, and then central sales tax will be imposed. Why? Because see, I am from this state. I I sold it to the other state, right? So on this state there will be central excess duty. Right on because in the state I'm doing production, so central government will चलो तेरे ऊपर central excess duty because you're doing production. Now again, what you are doing sale also, तो इसके ऊपर भी tax है तेरे ऊपर, central sales tax. So these two taxes you need to pay to the central government if it is interstate. If it is interstate, then you need to pay to the state government. Okay, that is how it happens. And one more thing that you need to know is the input tax credit, ITC. Is input tax credit applicable to the intrastate? I will write it like this: input tax credit. So input tax credit, na, it is only applicable to VAT to VAT. It is not applicable to VAT to GST. Okay, VAT to VAT implies sales. See, basically input tax credit, it is applicable to VAT because why? Suppose, for example, I sold from this to this, and again I sold from this to this, and this is in the same state. If it is in the same state, now what's going to happen? For example, here for input, let's say it took, let's say I imported 100 rupees. I mean 100 rupees of import. Okay, on that 100 rupees, central, state government is collecting 10 rupees extra. Therefore, 10 rupees is collected already here. And again on this product, when I'm selling, then again state government, let's say it collected 15 rupees of VAT. Here state government collected 10 rupees of VAT. Now, if it is within the state only, then of course state government is going to tell, okay, fine, I'm going to do you a credit because you have already paid VAT here. You need not pay additional here. Therefore, it will say 15 minus 10. You can only pay 5. Okay, that is what a state can say to the sellers. And VAT to VAT it is there, but what if it is VAT to GST? If it is VAT to GST or etc., they are linking it with the central government. Na, that means it is the next thing. It is not being paid to this person who is in the state, right? तो अगर तुम किसी और को दे रहे हो तो हमें क्यों देना पड़ेगा, right? हमें क्यों तुझे input tax credit देना पड़ेगा, right? That is why if it is VAT to GST or VAT to CST, central sales tax, etc., for all such things there is no ITC applicable. ITC is only applicable for VAT to VAT. Okay, for example, let's take central sales. Now you are doing interstate. You are doing from one state to other. That is central sales tax. If it is a central sales, that means here state government has applied some VAT on you, and this state government will be applying some other VAT on you. Then why will this state government give VAT on something the other state government did, right? So ITC cannot be given like that. Therefore, there is no ITC applicable for CST or else etc. I mean VAT to GST. इस पे नहीं है. Okay, that is what you need to know. And next I have already clarified about different taxes, excise duty, VAT, etc. And you know there are some supplies like non-taxable supply. In GST you will know what is non-taxable supply. In the non-taxable supply you will be studying various things like what crude oil, petrol and diesel, natural gas, aviation, turbine fuel. Okay, all of them they are non-taxable supply. And also there is this alcohol which cannot be taxed. Okay. Oh, so what's happening here? Central government, it is not putting a GST on them. Okay, they are not taxable because central government wants to help state government. But alcohol, it is in the state list. That is why there is no CST. But all of them, they are having CST, central sales tax. For example, alcohol is not having any central sales tax. Because only state government can impose VAT on alcohol sales. Only VAT is applicable. Okay, but crude oil, petrol and diesel, natural gas, etc. Even if it is interstate, then central state tax will be applied and VAT will not be applied. But if it is alcohol, then there is no central sales tax. There is only VAT of one state, VAT of another state, etc. So that is how they, there is excise duty, maybe VAT on imports, something like that. But they are not having this central sales tax. So there is no central sales tax on the alcohol because it is in the state list. Alcohol, it is in the state list. Therefore, there is no central sales tax. Central sales tax is only for the other non-taxable supply except alcohol, like crude oil, petrol and diesel, natural gas, aviation, turbine fuel. Now, if you see levy and collected by the union and assigned to states under Article 269, it is having only the non-taxable supply other than alcohol. Okay. Non-taxable supply other than alcohol, you understand, right? It is having basically 269 talks about interstate GST. 269 is also interstate only, but you might get doubt. Here also it is saying taxes on supply, purchase, consignment of goods in the interstate, and here also it is saying interstate goods only. What is the difference? So these goods, it implies these goods implies interstate. Okay, these goods implies interstate. Okay, interstate supply except alcohol. Interstate non-taxable supply except alcohol. That means what all are covered? It covers aviation, turbine fuel, petrol and diesel, natural gas, crude oil. So all of them, they are covered under this non-taxable supply. Okay, that is what you need to know. Okay, they are levied and collected by the union, assigned to the states. Okay, there is also this word consignment. So basically under Article 269, they are the taxes on the sale, purchase or consignment. Consignment implies sending for the sale. For example, there is a company in your state A. Okay, and there is a subsidiary company of the same company in the state B. Now I am just moving my goods. Even on that transaction also there is a tax on it that central government can impose. Okay, that is also there. So basically it includes all goods except the newspapers. Okay, that's all you need to know. That is what this Article 269 said. Okay, now you are clear with Article 268, which is levied by union and collected and appropriated by state. Example, stamp duty. Since they are appropriated by state, they are not part of consolidated fund of India. And you have Article 269. Now it covers only interstate non-taxable supply except alcohol, that is aviation, turbine fuel, petrol, diesel, natural gas, crude oil. And yes, since they are assigned to states, that means central government is going to collect all these things. Okay, and they are going to be assigned to the states. Okay, that's all. and therefore since they are assigned to states, they are not part of consolidated fund of India. Okay, they are not part of consolidated fund of India. But if they are the proceeds that are attributable to the union territories, they go to the consolidated fund of India. Parliament by law can govern the distribution between the states. Okay, parliament by law it governs the sale, purchase or consignment of the interstate trade. Okay, that's all. So parliament by law govern करेगी ये distribution between the states को. I mean if that is interstate trade, right? तो इस interstate trade को parliament by law govern करेगी and parliament by law decide करेगी sale, purchase, consignment कैसा होना चाहिए. Okay, that is levied and collected and assigned to state 269. यहाँ पे अगर assigned को हटा के हम अगर इसको distributed between union and states करेंगे तो ये बन जाएगी 269. ये interstate GST. That is nothing but GST. Okay, it is on the recommendation of GST council. तो GST council recommend करेगी कि IGST कितना लगाना चाहिए interstate good के लिए. Okay, so based upon that central government will levy and collect the IGST, interstate GST, or it is also called integrated GST. Okay, they are amount appropriated to state and they are not part of consolidated fund of India. Okay, I mean the amount appropriated to the state are not part of consolidated fund of India. See, certain part it will go to the consolidated fund, but the amount which is appropriated to the state, that will be to the state, it will not go to the consolidated fund of India. So read these words which are not going to the CFI. Okay, here also I said net proceeds are not part, so read that. And here also I'm saying amount appropriated to state is not part. Okay, and similarly if you see state GST, that is also not part of consolidated fund of India, because see central IGST, it is having two components. One, it will be divided into CGST and state GST, right? The CGST, it will go to the CFI, and SGST, it will not go to CFI. Okay, and this CGST, whatever is there, that will again go to the divisible pool of taxes. Okay, under Article 270, that is what you're going to see. Article 270 is talking about levied and collected by the union, shared between the union and states. That is nothing but divisible pool के बारे में बात करेगी. So basically, gross tax revenue collected by the center. What is that? Whatever the central government through income tax, corporation tax, etc., it might have covered a lot, right? So that one minus Article 268. What does Article 268 say? It talks about stamp duty, right? Stamp duty they are appropriated to states. So उसको हटा के, because they are already given to states, and 269 को हटा के. To what is 269? These taxes, they are already given assigned to the states. What are the aviation turbine fuel, natural gas, crude oil, etc. 268, what is 268? 268 is stamp duty. So stamp duty, right? Levied by union, collected and appropriated to state. That is stamp duty. And 269 we are having levied and collected by the union, but assigned to the states. That is 269 aviation turbine fuel and other fuels. Okay. And 269A. What is 269A? It is IGST. तो states को थोड़ा हिस्सा तो जाएगा ना. And 271 surcharges. तो surcharges would be they are also not part of divisible pool. So divisible pool में 268 नहीं है. क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि स्टैम्प ड्यूटी इज ऑलरेडी गिवन टू स्टेट. उसको डिवाइड कैसे करेंगे? एंड 269 ये क्यों नहीं है? क्रूड ऑयल एक्सेट्रा दीस टैक्सेस आल्सो दे आर ऑलरेडी गिवन टू द स्टेट एंड दैट इज इंटरस्टेट क्रूड ऑयल एक्सेट्रा. एंड देन 269 व्हाट इज 269? ये इट इज इंटरस्टेट जीएसटी. ओके, दैट इज आल्सो समथिंग दैट इज ऑलरेडी गिवन. ओके, दैट इज ऑलरेडी गिवन, तो ये भी हम इंक्लूड नहीं करेंगे. एंड देन 271 व्हाट इज 271? 271 में सरचार्जेस है. ओके, सरचार्जेस आल्सो दे आर नॉट पार्ट ऑफ डिविजिबल पूल. तो इन सबको हम हटा के जो भी बचता है, अब वी आर आल्सो रिमूविंग द कॉस्ट ऑफ कलेक्शन. ओके, इन सबको हटाने के बाद जो भी हमारे पास मिलती है उसको हम बोलेंगे डिविजिबल पूल के पार्ट. ओके, दैट एज पर प्रेसिडेंट बाय ऑर्डर आफ्टर कंसल्टिंग द फाइनेंस कमीशन ही इज गोइंग टू डिसाइड दिस. तो बेसिकली क्या होगा कि फाइनेंस कमीशन ना बोलेगी कि चलो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को हम रखेंगे 41%, अब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को बाकी सारे परसेंटेज जो भी है वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का रेवेन्यू होगा. सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल टेल दैट एंड अकॉर्डिंग आई मीन फाइनेंस कमीशन विल टेल दैट एंड आफ्टर फाइनेंस कमीशन रिकमेंड्स इट टू द प्रेसिडेंट एंड प्रेसिडेंट विल फाइनली सेंड एंड पास एन ऑर्डर एंड फाइनली फिक्स these percentages. Okay, that's how it happens in the divisible pool. And again finance commission will also suggest some horizontal devolution also, that we will see later when we are studying finance commission. Okay, one more thing you need to remember, that this also includes 249A and 269A clause 1. See, you know GST, right? GST. You studied it in 249. No, I think you have studied it in the 246A, I think. Okay, right, you studied it in the 246. Let's see, wait. We have studied here, right, 246A GST, and we have also studied this IGST. So GST is in the concurrent list, right? IGST it is in the union list. So basically GST it is in the union which list? Concurrent list. So concurrent list, of course, certain percentage will go to the center and certain will go to the state. Whatever goes to the center, na, it is part of divisible pool. Right, center को जो भी जाएगी that will go to the divisible pool. So that's why it is saying it is including 249A clause 1, that is GST, and it also includes IGST, that is in the 269A. Okay, that just now we have seen 269. It includes IGST in place. IGST may be interstate GST, which is in which list is IGST? IGST is in the central list. GST is in the concurrent list. So union list में है some percentage will go to the center and some percentage will go to the state in the IGST also. So whatever goes to the center that will go to the divisible pool. Okay, that is what this article 270 is saying. Okay, and president will pass the order. Okay, I think you are clear. All of them they will go to the gross tax revenue. Okay, whatever it is already given to the state, that will not be part of this gross tax revenue, of course. And surcharges and cess, they are also not part of gross tax revenue. Fine. And then we are having article 271. Now you have seen 270 also. Now you need to see 271, that is surcharge. Okay, surcharge it is a tax on tax, and the tax it cannot be GST under article 246A. Okay, surcharge is tax on tax except GST. It is introduced only upon the prior recommendation of president. Very important. Surcharge is introduced only on the prior recommendation of president, and parliament may tax on tax, that is surcharge. Okay, it can be any tax other than GST, and it will form part of consolidated fund of India because it is going to the central government, so it is part of consolidated fund of India. And next, after 271 and 272 got repealed, leave it, and then we have some grants like 273, 275 and 282, they are grants. And 274 prior recommendation of president, it is required for what and all, that is discussed in the 274. Prior recommendation of president, it is required where and where states are interested. If central government is imposing or varying taxes or duty in which states are interested, then in such scenario president prior recommendation is mandatory to impose. For example, any tax where states are interested, then prior recommendation of president is required. And similarly if you are bearing the meaning of agricultural income, that means you are protecting, if it is against state interest, right? Something like that. For that also, president prior recommendation is required. And if you are imposing any surcharge on the tax, state government to aise ho jayegi. That is, for that also you require prior recommendation of the president, that we have already seen here. Prior recommendation of the president is required. Okay, for surcharge, agricultural income, and where the states are interested, their prior recommendation of the president is required. Okay. That is Article 274, and we will read 275, that is statutory grants, along with the other grants that we are going to study. And let us see 276. Okay, 276, taxes on professions, trade, ceilings, and employments. Okay, you know what? There is अभी नहीं है इस जमाने में, पहले होता था. There is income tax ना, that is levied by the central government. So if you are earning 50,000, you will be you need to pay certain amount of tax, or else 1 lakh, 1 lakh में तो कितना कुछ tax slabs के according you need to pay tax, right? That is income tax. So it depends upon your income, and it is levied by the central government. But there is one more tax on your income, that is professional tax. If you are doing some profession, then you need to pay state government also. That is levied by the state government. But you know, whatever state government is levying on you, it should not be more than 2500 per year. तो ये professional tax अभी तो नहीं है, मुझे लगता है. अगर है भी तो वो बहुत छोटा अमाउंट है. इट इज नॉट मोर देन 2500 per year. Okay, it is a fixed smaller amount per year. It is not more than 2500. So profession के ऊपर constitution ने एक लिमिट लगाई 2400 per annum. Okay, and then after 276 we have 277 pre-constitutional taxes. Pre-constitutional taxes are valid until Parliament bylaw removes. Okay, अगर Parliament bylaw removes, then only pre-constitutional taxes are not valid. But currently, if there are any taxes that are falling before the Constitution, then they are even now valid. That is what Constitution said. And 278, I think it is again repealed. And then we are going to 279. So 279 is calculation of net proceeds. Net proceeds implies taxes raised minus collection cost. So जो भी taxes हमने raise किया, उससे हमने collection cost को subtract किया. That is net proceeds. That you already know. Net proceeds हमने पहले भी पढ़ चुके हैं. Okay, so net proceeds you cannot easily say that इतना cost of collection है हमारा, तो इतना taxes हमने raise किया, तो चलो states को हम इतना ही tax deductible pool में डालेंगे. No, it cannot happen like that. For that, you need to have CAG certificate, and whatever CAG says, it will be final and it will be binding. Either Parliament by law or President by order will provide for the time, manner, and adjustment of the net proceeds. So, for example, if you want to adjust, I mean the manner in which you are connecting, or the time boundary, or you want to do certain adjustments, so then Parliament by law or President by order. दोनों में, if you are having option A, B, C, and if it is saying Parliament by law or President by order, then both are right. So both of them, either of them, they can provide for the time, manner, and adjustment. Okay, after the CAG certificate. Okay, that is net proceeds. That is how net proceeds are calculated. We have seen till 271. See, till now we have revised 268, 269, levied and collected by union, shared between the states or assigned to the states. Assigned to the states is 216, shared between the states is IGST, and then we have seen 270. Okay, these are the four taxes that we have seen together, and we have seen the 271 is about surcharges, and 272 got repealed, and then 273, 275, 282 they are grants that we are going to see now. And then we have seen prior recommendation of president is required for whom and whom, and the professional tax ka kuch limit hai 2500 per annum, and pre-constitutional taxes are valid until Parliament by law removes, and how the net proceeds are calculated, and for it to be binding, CAG ka certificate mandatory hai. And now we are going to see three types of grants. Okay, what are the three types that we said just now? 273, these are the other grants which is expired right now. Okay, basically it says that for export duty of jute and jute products for the next 10 years after the commencement of constitution. ये तो 1950 में constitution commence हुआ है ना, 10 साल तक 1960 तक ये लागू है. Okay, so 4 states like Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha and West Bengal, they can impose tax for the next 10 years, but 10 years got over. Currently it has no use, no relevance. Okay, 273 has no relevance. And next we have statutory grant, article 275, discretionary grants, article 282. Okay, what are statutory grants? Statutory grants, simple, Parliament by law it will authorize this. Okay, it is not the central government. Why? Because it is statutory. So Parliament by law will authorize this grant after the recommendation of Finance Commission. तो Finance Commission पहले Parliament को recommend करेगी कि चलो हमें ना कुछ grant देना पड़ेगा किसी को. Okay, किसको देना पड़ेगा? Article 275 बोलती है कि needy states को welfare of STs के लिए हमें needy states का development के लिए और STs का welfare के लिए हमें कुछ tax देना पड़ेगा. I mean हमें कुछ grant देना पड़ेगा. Grant, I'm sorry, it's not tax, it's grant. हमें कुछ grant देना पड़ेगा. दैट इज व्हाट आर्टिकल 275 सेज. तो पार्लियामेंट ना उसके लिए एक लॉ बनाना पड़ेगा. पार्लियामेंट लॉ बनाएगी, उसके बाद ये ग्रांट जाएगी किसको? नीडी स्टेट को और एसटीज को. ओके, ये ग्रांट जाएगी और पार्लियामेंट लॉ बनाया, ठीक है, लेकिन ये कहां से कटेगा? कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया से कटेगा. दैट इज स्टैट्यूटरी फंड. ओके, एंड यू नो इफ यू टेक द असम, let's say Assam state है. अब Assam state के लिए भी Parliament by law will authorize grant after the recommendation of Finance Commission, right? But Assam ना, if for tribals, all of them are in the autonomous state of Assam. I mean, there are many autonomous states in Assam. If all the tribals are situated in one autonomous state, and then entire grants will go to that autonomous state only. Parliament by law, it will do that. But if for tribals they are distributed between autonomous state and the state of Assam, then of course the grants will be distributed between the Assam and the autonomous state. Okay, that is what you need to know in the statutory grant under Article 275. And next we have 282 discretionary grants. Okay, discretionary grants, they are not mandatory. It is under Article 282. They are voted on consolidated fund of India or state legislature. I mean, see, ये तो discretionary है ना, ये स्टैट्यूटरी है, therefore they are charged. इसके लिए वोटिंग की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर नीडी स्टेट को एसटीज को प्रमोट करना है तो इसके लिए वोटिंग की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. दे आर स्टैट्यूटरी, पार्लियामेंट बाय लॉ. इट इज नॉट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, इट इज पार्लियामेंट बाय लॉ. बट डिस्क्रिशनरी, इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. सी, डिस्क्रिशनरी, दैट डिस्क्रिशनरी इन नेचर because you need to vote and you need to get approval for any public purpose. That any public purpose, it can be anything. Okay, therefore they are not charged. Remember this, they are not charged. दे आर वोटेड ऑन कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया, कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर. अगर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कर रही है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को प्रमोट करना है, कोई डिस्क्रिशनरी ग्रांट देना है पब्लिक पर्पस के लिए, वो दे सकती है. ओके, दैट इज अंडर डिस्क्रिशनरी आर्टिकल 282 डिस्क्रिशन. ओके, सो हियर फिनेंस कमीशन कोई रिकमेंडेशन नहीं देगी. सी, इन द स्टैट्यूटरी फिनेंस कमीशन इज रिकमेंडिंग. आफ्टर फिनेंस कमीशन रिकमेंडेशन ओनली यू आर गिविंग, एंड दे आर चार्ज्ड एंड यू नीड नॉट रिक्वायर वोटिंग. बट हियर फिनेंस कमीशन रिकमेंडेशन नहीं कर रही है. क्यों? तुम वोटिंग कर रहे हो इसलिए. तो वोटिंग करके डिसाइड कर लो, मैं कोई रिकमेंडेशन नहीं दे रहा हूं. सो यू आर वोटिंग ऑन कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया और स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर. यू कैन डू इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट. लाइक यू नीड नॉट सी, अरे ये तो अब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ये नहीं सोचेगी, अरे ये तो एजुकेशन रिलेटेड है, ये कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट में है, चलो अरे that is related to economic planning, so can I promote can I grant to that purpose? State government need not think about which subject is it. It can just promote. Okay, I mean it can just provide grant under article 282. Okay, they are voted on consolidated fund of India or consolidated fund of state. They are not directly charged. Okay, that is what you need to know about the statutory and discretionary grants. Can you notice a subtle difference between both of them? Statutory grants, they are only for the Parliament. Control Fund of India, Finance Commission recommend कर रही है. But discretionary grants, they are for both Control Fund of India and Control Fund of State, for both Parliament and State Legislature. But statutory, it is for the only Parliament. Okay. अरे ऐसे याद रखना, इसमें प्रोविजन ही खुद नीडी स्टेट है, एसटीज है, तो ये पार्लियामेंट ही करेगी. Now we have come to the final articles. GST Council and Finance Commission. GST Council, it is under Article 279A, and Finance Commission, we have it under Article 280. So we have Article 279A and Article 280. Article 279A, it is 101st Constitutional Amendment Act 2016, and Article 280 Finance Commission. Okay, so there is this 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, everyone knows. After this only GST introduced, and it added many articles like 246A, which has GST, right? It has clause 1 and clause 2. Clause 2 talks about interstate GST or integrated GST. Okay, that has two components, CGST and state GST. Okay, that is what you know. And then we have 269A. 279A. 269A, it is about IGST. 246A, it is about both the GST and IGST. Okay, that is basically 246 is A is saying about which subject it is, whether it is a union subject or state subject. For example, GST, it is in the concurrent list, and IGST, it is in the union list. Similarly, in the 269A, it says that okay, now what are all are coming under IGST. So all such provisions are there in the 269A. Okay, IGST का जो hai. And then we see now 279A. Okay, what are all did we see? 246A, 269A. And there we have also seen 269. That is not about IGST necessarily, but it is about interstate goods. It is not IGST, okay? It is just interstate goods. But 269, it is talking about interstate GST. That is IGST, which is having CGST and SGST. And we have 246A. 246A, what is it? It is a GST. And then we have 279A. 279A, it is talking about it is talking about what? It is talking about a GST Council. Okay, the GST Council. Now we need to see GST Council. And then after 279A, we are going to see 280. First 279A. One basic difference I want to tell you. This is constituted by the President within 2 months from the date of the Constitutional Amendment Act. तो Constitutional Amendment Act कब आई? 101st Constitutional Amendment Act 2016. And कॉन्स्टिट्यूट किया 2 महीने के अंदर किसको? जीएसटी काउंसिल को. The 2 months, that's all. But don't get confused it with constitution. It is not constitution, it is constitutional amendment. Okay, after this 101st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2016, this GST council was finally introduced. Okay, and president within 2 months from the date of commencement of the constitutional amendment shall constitute a GST council. Here it is 2 months, but if you see finance commission now, it says 2 years. Okay, it has 2 years here. For finance commission it is 2 years. President within 2 years from the date of commencement of constitution. It is not constitution amendment, it is constitution. तो 2 साल के अंदर finance commission constitute करेगी. So I think 1950 है ना finance commission. I mean constitution was commenced in the year of 1950. So I think within 1952 only they might have constituted a finance commission within 2 years. Okay. 2 years, and it is a constitution, and it is a 2 months constitutional amendment. It is easy to remember only. Now let us see GST council. Okay, composition क्या है? It has union finance minister headed by the union finance minister. GST council is headed by the union finance minister and the union minister of state who is in charge of revenue. Okay, and then देखना हर स्टेट का कोई finance minister होगा इन या फिर रेवेन्यू मिनिस्टर होगा. इन सारे रेवेन्यू मिनिस्टर का हेड एक और यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ रेवेन्यू ऑफ इन चार्ज ऑफ ऑल स्टेट्स होगा. that person union minister of state in charge of revenue or finance, and union finance minister, and each finance minister each state minister each state minister in charge of finance or taxation or someone nominated on the behalf. Okay, जो भी लोग हैं ये सब लोग होंगे 3 लोग. फाइन, दे आर द मेन पीपल हु आर पार्ट ऑफ जीएसटी काउंसिल. ओके, एंड हु इज गोइंग टू बी द वाइस चेयरमैन तो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर. हु इज गोइंग टू बी द वाइस चेयरमैन ही इज गोइंग टू बी इलेक्टेड अमंग द मेंबर्स फॉर सर्टेन टी पीरियड. सो दिस टी पीरियड दे आर गोइंग टू डिसाइड अमंग देमसेल्व्स, एंड देन फाइनली द वाइस चेयरमैन इज गोइंग टू बी इलेक्टेड टू द जीएसटी काउंसिल, एंड जीएसटी काउंसिल इट रिकमेंड्स टू द यूनियन एंड स्टेट्स. ओके, द रिकमेंडेशन टू द यूनियन एंड स्टेट्स इट इज नॉट बाइंडिंग. It recommends to the union and states, and basically GST council of course recommendation ही करेगी. किसको करेगी? union and state को, and that recommendation is not binding. But if you see finance commission it recommends to president. That is why it is important. GST council ना governments को करेगी, G for G. So GST council it recommends to the governor, whereas finance commission it recommends to the president. That is something you need to know. I just put side by side so that if there are any differences I can highlight. Okay, that's all. And then now what are the taxes that are subsumed under GST? Okay, the recommendations are not binding. Some people might think okay it's a constitutional body और जो भी recommendation बोलेगी वो binding होगा. नहीं, recommendations are not binding. Okay, and next taxes subsumed under GST. उसके ऊपर ऑफ कोर्स जीएसटी काउंसिल रिकमेंडेशन करेगी. एंड टैक्सेस एक्सेम्प्टेड अंडर जीएसटी. व्हाट आर द एक्सेम्प्टेड टैक्सेस अंडर जीएसटी? सी exempted taxes ना A plus B plus C. See there are different types like non taxable supply. We are having non taxable supply, and we are also having non GST supply. Non GST supply, they are the supply which is exempted from GST. This supply we have supply exempted from GST. And next we are having zero rated supply. Zero rated supply. Okay, zero rated supply, and we also have nil supply. Okay, जीरो रेटेड सप्लाई नील सप्लाई दोनों के ऊपर 0% का जीएसटी होगी. ओके, दे आर हैविंग 0% जीएसटी. ओके, जीरो रेटेड सप्लाई इंप्लाइज दे आर एक्सपोर्ट्स और सप्लाईज टू स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन्स. दैट इज जीरो रेटेड सप्लाई. ओके, इफ यू आर एक्सपोर्टिंग टू एसईजी or if you are supplying to SEG, that is zero rated supply. And nil supply, there are certain unpacked food items, unpackaged food items, health and insurance, educational items, health and insurance items, all of them they come under the nil GST. And we have non GST, that is supply exempted from the GST. Example, किसको exempt करेंगे हम? जो फ्यूनरल है उसके ऊपर हम टैक्स कैसे लगा सकते हैं. एंड ट्रांसफर ऑफ मनी को हमने सिर्फ ट्रांसफर किया, सिक्योरिटीज को हमने किसी को ट्रांसफर किया, तो ट्रांसफर ऑफ मनी, सिक्योरिटीज एक्सेट्रा, दे आर आल्सो नॉट देयर. एंड देन फॉर एग्जांपल अ बॉस, he gave me some extra, I mean I am someone, see I am the boss, I received some extra services from my employee. So on that I mean it is not taxable. Okay, so that is a supply that is exempted from the GST, that is a non GST. And we have non-taxable supply, which we have already seen. Fuels, aviation turbine fuel, natural gas, crude oil, petrol and diesel, all of them they are non-taxable supply. Okay, alcohol is also non-taxable supply, लेकिन ना alcohol के ऊपर central sales tax नहीं लागू होगी. Okay, क्योंकि that is a state subject. That's all. These are the 4 types that you need to know. And you know what is exempt supply? This SCG, zero rated supply plus nil supply, plus there is one more supply. What is that? There is notified supply also. Notified supply. In notified supply ऐसे है कि central government बोलेगी चलो कुछ items है उसके ऊपर मैं 0% GST लगाऊंगा. So the items that are notified to have 0% GST, essentially some essential items will be there, right? Essential goods and services or agricultural services, educational services, which are essential for that central government, or they can put 0% GST through a notification. Okay, so these are the different types of supplies that I know, and these bottom 3, if you mix together, they are called exempt supply. Okay, that's all. That's all. So GST Council, it can give recommendations on taxes exempted under GST. Okay, so you have seen what are the taxes exempted under GST. For example, non GST they are exempted, right? Funeral, किसी funeral के लिए कुछ चीजें चाहिए हमें, तो क्या उसके ऊपर हम टैक्स लगाएंगे? नहीं लगाएंगे. Okay, all of them. Example, model GST laws. So there are some model GST laws that you want to implement for that, and then a threshold limit of turnover below which GST may be exempted. For example, a company it is having less than 40,000. So in such scenario, GST may be exempted. For example, I know one example. So for example, if you see some services now, for example, let's say you are doing some interstate trade. Okay, in that interstate trade, there is this limit actually for less than 20 lakh services. There is no GST imposed, and if the services the entire turnover in a year, if it is less than 40 lakhs now for goods you are taking more. That is 40 lakhs. For services, you are costing the threshold is less 20 lakhs. Okay, for services, if it is less than 20 lakhs, then there is a less than 20 lakhs of turnover, then there is no GST. For goods, if it is less than 40 lakhs, then there is also no GST. Okay, basically there is no GST for these threshold limits. And then for any special rates, for example, during calamity or natural disaster, there might be some special rates imposed by the government. So that kind of recommendations can also be given by the GST Council. And special provisions to northeastern states plus one Sikkim. And Himachal Pradesh, cool states. What are the cool states? Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu and Kashmir, northeastern states. So these states, they might be getting some special provisions, cool special provisions. Okay, and then special rates during calamity. These are all the things on which GST Council can recommend to the union and state governments, and it can also recommend a date on which GST can be levied. On what are them? On these 5. What are these 5? These 5 are basically non-taxable supply. Non-taxable supply that you have seen. Where is it there? It is there in the Article 269. Okay, all of them the central government, the GST Council, it can recommend date on which GST can be levied on this. Currently, GST is not levied on this, right? Because they are under Article 269. But it can recommend a date from which GST can be levied on these items also. Okay. And next, meeting quorum. मीटिंग कोरम देखना, अगर जीएसटी काउंसिल को कोई मीटिंग सेटअप करना है अंडर आर्टिकल 279 ये जीएसटी काउंसिल, तो इस मीटिंग में कम से कम 50% ऑफ द टोटल मेंबर्स होना चाहिए. ओके, 50 मेंबर्स ऑफ द टोटल, 50% ऑफ द टोटल मेंबर्स, दैट इज द मिनिमम कोरम. एंड नाउ इट इज नॉट 1/10 ऑफ द टोटल स्ट्रेंथ, नो नथिंग. मिनिमम कोरम इज 50% ऑफ द टोटल स्ट्रेंथ. ओके, दैट मस्ट बी द कोरम, रिमेंबर दिस, 50%. एंड देन एवरी डिसीजन, कोई भी अगर जीएसटी काउंसिल में चलो 50% ऑफ द टोटल मेंबर्स है, एंड इसका डिसीजन में ना 3/4 ऑफ द प्रेजेंस एंड वोटिंग होना चाहिए. सो डिड यू सी सच अ मेजॉरिटी एनीवेयर, एंड मेजॉरिटी रिक्वायरमेंट एनीवेयर? नो. व्हाई यू आर सीइंग? बिकॉज़ इट इज अफेक्टिंग फिस्कल फेडरलिज्म. दैट इज व्हाई यू आर हैविंग सच अ मैसिव रिक्वायरमेंट. You require 50% of the total member quorum, and every decision it must have 3/4 of the member present and voting, and that decision it must be between the central and the state. Okay, the weightage must be distributed between the central and state. Central का weightage कितना होगा? 1/3, and state का weightage कितना होगा? 2/3. So that is how the weightage is distributed between the central and state. 1/3 of what? 1/3 of the total votes cast. So let's say total votes cast are 100. So 33 votes, 33% ऑफ वेटेज सेंट्रल को देंगे, एंड 66% ऑफ वेटेज हम स्टेट्स को देंगे. उसके हिसाब से वेटेज के हिसाब से कितना वोट्स आया, ये सब देख के फाइनली एक डिसीजन पे आएंगे. एंड डिसीजन पे आने के लिए कम से कम 3/4 ऑफ द मेंबर्स प्रेजेंट एंड वोटिंग रिक्वायर्ड है. ओके, दैट इज डिसीजन का रिक्वायरमेंट. एंड देन गाइडेड बाय, सी जीएसटी काउंसिल, डिसीजंस ऑफ जीएसटी काउंसिल, they are harmonized, and they are guided by the structure of GST and the harmonized national market of goods and services. So you know, GST council, it must have a harmonized structure, and it must also have national market for goods and services. Harmonized national market. So GST council must have a harmonized national market of goods and services, and it must also have a harmonized structure of GST. Okay, that is about the GST council. I think you are very clear now. Union finance minister head करेगा. Okay, the time period it is not decided, members खुद decide करेंगे. And then every 5th year president क्या appoint करेगा? President finance commission को appoint करेगा under article 280. Okay, every 5th year, and it will have chairman, C plus quorum. How many members total? 5. So I said F for 5, total 5 members are going to be there in the finance commission. Okay. So if I ask you number of members of the GST council, see, no one is going to ask you because it has a lot of members. हर स्टेट का मिनिस्टर आना पड़ेगा. Each state minister is coming, and then union minister of all the state revenues वो भी होंगे. So it's a bulky. But finance commission it has only 5 members, and it will be constituted every 5th year by the president, and it is going to have 5 members. That is C plus quorum, chairman, and the 4 other ministers who are appointed by the president. Currently we are having whom we are having Arvind Panagaria, 16th finance commission. Okay, so qualifications कहाँ पर है? Parliament by law will determine the qualifications. Okay, finance commissions का qualifications कौन determine करेगा? Parliament by law. Now next, so what are the duties of the finance commission? See, GST council recommend union and state government. So finance commission is going to recommend president. Okay, finance commission will recommend to the president, and GST council will recommend government. Okay. Now किसके बारे में रिकमेंड करेगी? डिस्ट्रीब्यूट बिटवीन द यूनियन स्टेट्स, गवर्न ग्रांट्स इन एड ऑफ रेवेन्यू ऑफ स्टेट आउट ऑफ द कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया. Okay, it recommends president about the distribution of revenue between the union states. It governs the grant in aid of revenue of state out of the consolidated fund of India, and it measures. It also recommends the president measures needed to augment consolidated fund of India to supplement resources to panchayats and municipalities. For example, consolidated fund of state को कुछ amount चाहिए ना, so how much amount must be augmented to this consolidated fund of India so that enough resources will be there, consolidated fund of state, so that amount resources will be there to the panchayats and municipalities. So CFS को कितना fund देना पड़ेगा so that panchayats and municipalities will get the right amount of fund. That is also recommended by the finance commission. And तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स को कितना ग्रांट देना है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के अंदर होते हुआ पंचायत म्युनिसिपैलिटीज को कितना ग्रांट्स देना है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स को कितना ग्रांट्स देना है, वो सब अकाउंट डिटरमाइन करेगा, वो सब अकाउंट रिकमेंड करेगा, फाइनेंस कमीशन रिकमेंड करेगा. ओके, एंड देन फोर्थ वी हैव एनी अदर मैटर रिफर टू द कमीशन बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. ओके, दैट इज एनी अदर मैटर, जो भी अदर मैटर है रिफर टू द कमीशन बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. दैट इज आल्सो ड्यूटी ऑफ द फाइनेंस कमीशन. ओके, एनी अदर मैटर रिफर टू द कमीशन बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. दैट अदर मैटर इट इज नॉट मेंशन्ड एक्चुअली, लेकिन अगर कमीशन कोई भी अदर मैटर भी रिफर कर सकती है. Therefore, other matter, this clause, it is present in both GST Council and Finance Commission. In the GST Council, it says that if there is any other matter that is being recommended by the GST Council, the Council itself decides on that other matter. Okay, but if there is any other matter which the Finance Commission needs to take care of, that other matter it is decided by the President. Okay, it is decided by the President, not by the Finance Commission. So, other matters in the GST Council, it is by the Council who is going to decide, but other matters that are decided by the President in this Finance Commission. Okay, now I am going to tell you some more things. There is Article 281 also. After Article 280 Finance Commission, you see 281 recommendation of the Finance Commission that will be laid down by the President before each house of the Parliament. Okay, that is in the article only. Article 281 only. It says that President shall lay down the report of the Finance Commission before each of the houses. It is not via any constitutional amendment. Okay, it is under Article 281 only. Now let us see the devolution. So basically, this is the 16th Finance Commission, right? 16th Finance Commission. It is constituted by Dr. Arvind Panagaria, and it is going to have C plus 4M, F for 5 members. So 5 members are going to be there. C plus 4M. Chairman is Dr. Arvind Panagaria, and what does he say? He talks about divisible pool. For example, see 16th Finance Commission. It recommended for 41% shall go to the state, and this 41% shall be distributed. Before it used to be 42%. Now Jammu and Kashmir it became a UT now. Therefore 41% it became a UT. Therefore that is also to the center only. Technically speaking, 41% is now to the state because Jammu and Kashmir became a union territory. So 41% will be going to the state, and बाकी percent किसको जाएगी सेंटर को. सो सेंटर के पास ज्यादा परसेंटेज है. ऑब्वियसली स्टेट्स आर नॉट गोइंग टू बी हैप्पी बिकॉज सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास ज्यादा पावर्स है ना, आई मीन ज्यादा परसेंटेज है. यू नो व्हाट, अंडर आर्टिकल 270 टॉक्स अबाउट डिविजिबल पूल, राइट? डिविजिबल पूल एंड इट इज हैविंग ग्रॉस टैक्स रेवेन्यू. उससे हमने क्या क्या सब्ट्रैक्ट किया? आर्टिकल 260, 269, 269 एंड 271. 268 it is about the stamp duty, 269 interstate duty, aviation turbine fuel, other fuels, natural gas, etc. And 269 IGST, and 271 it is surcharge, and we are also including cess. So all of them they are removed from the gross tax revenue, and cost of collection is also removed, and whatever is remaining left, that is under the divisible pool. Let us take this gross tax revenue collected by the center is 100. So out of this the divisible pool, after subtracting everything, they are getting 81% only. So state governments they are not happy because why? See, they are telling that out of 100% you are not doing 41, you are doing 41 out of this 100, 81% left, and that one most of the amount it is going to the cesses and surcharge only. So after deducting cesses and surcharge, if you are doing 81% of a 41%, then we are getting very little amount. So that little amount is only going to states. So states are definitely not happy with the lot of cesses and surcharge that is being collected. Okay, and that is something that you need to know. Okay, now states, now you need to see how this amount is distributed between the different states. For example, before 13th Finance Commission, we used to have this 12th Finance Commission, of course, they had this parameter central sponsor scheme, but the central sponsor scheme, that's parameter, it was removed after this 13th Finance Commission, and from 13th we have 14, 15 and 16. So now you need to see what are the parameters that have decreased. For example, now see all the parameters. 16th में क्या parameters है? Income distance is there. What is income distance? Income distance is the GSDP, gross state domestic product of the top 3 minus gross state domestic of the concerned state. Okay, concerned state. For example, we need to calculate how much amount must be given to state Andhra Pradesh. Now you are going to see the top 3 performance in the gross state domestic product. So that top 3 minus you are going to do the concerned states. Then that will be telling the income distance of the state with the top 3 performing state. Initially, I think it used to be Haryana and some other states. Now they removed it and they made it top 3 performing states. That is a good parameter, and they are taking weightage of 42.5. So they reduced this income distance wala weightage. But nevertheless, among all of them, this is the highest weightage. Okay, income distance. Initially it used to be 45. Now it was reduced to 42.5. Okay, and then you are going to see population 2011. So population growth 1971 it was removed in the 15th only. You need not bother. 15th only 1971 was removed. Currently we are using 2011 census. 2011 it was not from the 15th, it was much more earlier. It was from the 14th only. Right, in the 14th they used basically two population census. One is 1971 and 2011, and in 15th they stopped this 1971 and they started using 2011, and in 16th they continued using this 2011 census. Okay, so that's what you need to know, right? Population it is based upon the 2011 census, and in the 15th they started using total fertility rate, and in the 16th, I mean the population it is based upon the 2011 census only, but the measurement they used is total fertility rate. So total fertility rate is used to calculate, and in the 16th Finance Commission they used the population growth as a measure, population growth between 1971 and 2011 as a measure. टोटल फर्टिलिटी रेट अगर कम है तो रिवॉर्ड देंगे, अगर पॉपुलेशन कम है तो रिवॉर्ड देंगे, ये बोलती है। ओके, सी इफ द टोटल फर्टिलिटी रेट इनिशियली इन द 15th finance commission it used to check this total fertility rate, and if it is low, then the grant will be there. Okay, more funds will be provided to that state if total fertility rate is low, because you are following the planning, family planning. You adopted family planning. That is why we are rewarding you, and they're going to check this total fertility rate. But in after the 16th finance commission, now they started using this population growth between 1971 to 2011. Instead of checking the total fertility rate, they started using this population growth as a measure. Okay, and they started using population growth between 1971 and 2011. That is when that is in the 15th and 16th the weightage also it increased, क्योंकि हमने ये सोचा है कि चलो जो भी लोग प्लानिंग मेथड्स अडॉप्ट कर रहे हैं उसको हमें रिवॉर्ड देना चाहिए। दैट इज वाई whoever is having low population growth और whoever state is having low total fertility rate उसको हम रिवॉर्ड देंगे। तो ये पैरामीटर ना लो होना चाहिए तभी हम रिवॉर्ड देंगे, एंड ये इसका ना वेटेज बढ़ती जा रही है। सो इन द 16th finance commission they changed this metrics from total fertility rate to population growth from 1971 to 2011, and next we see the area of the state। अगर स्टेट का एरिया ज्यादा है तो फंड्स देना पड़ेगा ना, so that weightage also it decreased, and फॉरेस्ट का वेटेज कांस्टेंट है। ओके, and they added some metrics like 2015 to 23 ka forest area and open forest area, they are also included in this 16th finance commission's ka metric. Okay, fiscal discipline it is not there in the 14, 15, 16, it used to be there in the 13th. Okay, and next we have demographic performance. See, demographic performance it is inversely proportional to the population. For example, if you are having more population, then your demographic performance is poor, because despite having more population you are not able to do it much. So that is that. Okay, so demographic performance initially they used to measure using TFR, but now they are using population growth between 1971 and 2011 to measure the demographic performance, and it is inversely proportional to the population. अगर population कम है तो demographic performance कम होगी। Okay, and इसका percentage गिर गया from 12.5 to 10. Okay, and we have tax effort that is 2.5, and state contribution to GDP that is 10. Okay, so remember, first remember what are the parameters used by the 16th finance commission. One is income distance and the population metric, income, population 2011, उसके बाद area and forest, and then demographic performance and state contribution to GDP. कितना? Income distance, population 1, 2, area and forest 3, 4, demographic performance, state contribution to GDP 6 parameters. Okay, demographic performance and state contribution to GDP. सबका percentage 10 है, area, forest, demographic performance, state contribution to GDP, but population का weightage बढ़ गया। ओके, कम पॉपुलेशन को हम प्रीफर करेंगे, बिकॉज स्टेट्स, सदर्न स्टेट्स आर आल्सो लाइक हम पॉपुलेशन को बढ़ा के रहेंगे, हमें डीलिमिटेशन के बाद सीट्स नहीं मिल रहा है, दैट्स व्हाई दे इंक्रीज दिस वेटेज टू 17.5. ओके, एंड इनकम डिस्टेंस का दे significantly they have also reduced this to 42.5. And also the definitions are changed. For the population we are seeing population growth, and for the forest we are seeing the we are seeing the designated forest, that is whichever it is designated in the forest right act, etc., whichever is in that forest plus 2015 to 23 whatever forest is there, that forest area plus open forest areas. Open designated implies it is not open, so you are also including now the open forest area, so that is the new addition. Okay, that is all you need to remember for now. And what are all the parameters that has increased? Population, you can remember that it increased, and income distance it decreased, and area it used to be 15, now it became 10, therefore it decreased. Forest it maintained, demographic performance का भी डेमोग्राफिक परफॉर्मेंस इट डिक्रीज्ड। सी, पॉपुलेशन का वेटेज बढ़ाया तो डेमोग्राफिक परफॉर्मेंस का कम करना पड़ेगा ना, टू मैच इट आउट, दैट्स ऑल। तो पॉपुलेशन का वेटेज हमने बढ़ाया, डेमोग्राफिक परफॉर्मेंस का हमने थोड़ा कम किया। रिमेंबर इट लाइक दैट, वेटेज बिकॉज यू कैन रिमेंबर इजीली दैट पॉपुलेशन का वेटेज हमने 17.5 कर दिया, सो यू नीड टू रिमेंबर दैट डेमोग्राफिक परफॉर्मेंस का फिर तो घटाया होगा, राइट? सो इसका घट गया। एंड देन फॉरेस्ट इट वाज मेंटेन्ड। सो व्हाट आर ऑल डिक्रीज्ड? इनकम डिस्टेंस, एरिया, right, income distance it decreased to 42.5, and area it decreased to 10, and demographic performance it also decreased to 10. Okay, what are all increased? Population it increased, forest it maintained the same, that's all. Okay, and the rest of them I think it's easy to remember. And one thing, contribution to GDP, states contribution to GDP, that is newly added in this finance commission. So what does that definition say? It is the square root of GSDP of all states divided by the summation of the square root of gross state domestic product of all the states, that is contribution to the GDP. Okay, now if you see the trend about the cesses and surcharge, so 16th finance commission is saying that as per the reports it is said that the cesses and surcharges are actually decreasing after the COVID. Central government is not able to collect much cesses and surcharge. As you can see the graph, they are secularly decreasing according to the graph. Okay, also one more thing, there are also grants to local bodies. So basically you have seen finance commission, you have studied just before that there you see finance commission also recommends grants in aid to the panchayats and municipalities, right? That article where I said state को recommend करेगी, and then state के अंदर हुआ पंचायत and municipalities को भी recommend करेगी, right? So grants to local bodies, basically there are two local bodies, rural local bodies and urban local bodies. Okay, so currently rural local bodies they are having more weightage, that is 4.4. Okay, 4.4 and 4.4 and 3.6. So local body grants they are split between rural local bodies and urban local bodies. Okay, I'll write it like this. Rural local bodies को ज़्यादा grant देंगे 4.4 lakh crore, and urban local bodies they are having 3.6 lakh crore. Okay, and then all local body grants will be available upon the fulfillment of 3 entry level criteria. तो अगर ये grant चाहिए local bodies को, they need to fulfill these 3 criteria. What are they? Constitution of the local bodies, पहले वहाँ पे local body होना चाहिए, and publication of provisions and audited account. So they must publish the accounts. अगर अकाउंट ही नहीं बताएगा तो कैसे ये ग्रांट मिलेगा? नहीं मिलेगा. So they must do a publication of provisional and audited accounts, and they must timely constitute state finance commission. So that is the must requirement. Okay, and next we see timely constitution of the state finance commission. So these are the 3 things that the local bodies must fulfill. Okay, स्टेट फाइनेंस कमीशन कौन अपॉइंट करेगा? गवर्नर अपॉइंट करेगा. कौन रिमूव करेगा? शायद गवर्नर ही रिमूव करेगा. ओके, that's it. This is present in the panchayats and municipalities. उनके articles के according state finance commission available है. Okay, now all local body grants will be made available upon fulfillment of 3 entry level criteria: constitution of local bodies, publication of provisional and audited accounts, timely constitution. तो उसके बाद finally they are going to get this grant. Rural को ज़्यादा 4.5 lakh crore and urban local bodies are going to get 3.6 lakh crore, and they must be distributed in the ratio, the grant whatever is there, it will be distributed in the ratio 80 to 20%. 80% and 20%. Okay, 80% and 20%. This is how I'm going to distribute. 80% of the grants, they are basic in nature, and 20% of the grants, they are based upon the performance. 80% is basic and 20% is performance based. Okay, and out of this 80% also, again I'm splitting again. How am I splitting? I'm splitting into 50% and 50%. Okay, 50% and 50%. 50% will be untied. 50% will be untied grant, and other 50% will be tied grant. I mean, tied implies you need to definitely do it for that only. Untied implies you can do for any purpose, and tied implies only for that particular purpose. Let's say for sanitation and solid waste management and water management. So waste water and normal water. Okay, for that management, you need to use at least 50% out of this 80%. Okay, and the next 20% of the grants, they will be based upon the performance that you are doing in this basic. Okay, and urban local bodies also, as I said, urban local bodies are not getting 80-20. I'm sorry, they are getting 65 like that. Urban local bodies, if you see, 65% that is basic in nature for the urban local bodies, and next we are having 16% that is performance based. There are still some other grants that you are wondering. The other is 16 again, that is special infra component, and next we have 3% that is urbanization premium. Okay, 6%, 16% and 3%. So that's how you are dividing your grants. Okay, okay, now I think you are clear. Now let us see how the 65, 16, 6 and 3 are working. 65% basic grants है ना, तो basic again they are split into tied and untied. 50-50 ही divide करेंगे इसको भी. Basically, the basic grants are always divided 50-50 into tied and untied, whether it is in urban or rural. Okay, so यहाँ पे हम 65% of basic को फिर से 50-50 कर रहे हैं. See this 50-50, but tied again it's the same thing: sanitation, solid waste management, and water management. For that 50% must be at least spent, and 50% of the untied, it is for the anything, any purpose, public purpose that you can do. Okay, but in this also there is a cap on road construction and maintenance. For road construction and maintenance, na, for that you can do only 20%. There is a 20% cap because a lot of state, I mean municipalities, they are doing this road work, etc., and they're spending the entire 50. So they put a cap of 20%. Okay, and then we have performance based. 60% is performance based grant. Okay, 16% will be given to that, and then 16%. See, even in the exam, they ask you what is the amount of the performance grant that is given to the urban local bodies. As soon as you remember 3.6 lakh crore, you just multiply it with 16 and calculate. Okay, you will get performance based grant, and then you need not remember all these numbers, just to do multiplication in the exam. Okay, and next special infra component. So the other 16% is a special infra component for special infrastructure, etc. Basically, the 16% performance, this grant will be given based upon how you are performing in this basic 65%, and then the 16% is special infra. For example, see, I said no, there is special infrastructure grant, and what else are special infrastructure and urbanization premium. So let us see both of them. Special infrastructure grant, this component will be tied to the development of comprehensive wastewater management with cities with population between 10 to 40 lakh. अगर 10 या 40 लाख के अंदर population है as per 2011 census, if for such kind of cities we are providing a special infrastructure so that they can grow up. Actually, according to me, this is very less population, so they require certain development, and that's why we are providing the special infrastructure grants, I think so. And there is this urbanization grant. Urbanization premium grant, it will be a one-time grant for merger. कोई urban बनना चाहता है, there is a peri-urban village which is transitioning into village. Peri-urban मतलब transitioning village into urban. Because see, there is an urban area, and there is this rural area, and there is this middle zone, and this is peri-urban zone. So some villages this side, they might be transitioning into urban, right? So they are peri-urban villages, and this urbanization premium grant, who want to transition, the villages who want to transition into urban, for them they are giving urbanization premium grant. Okay, because they want to join the adjoining urban local body areas, and they also require some formulations of transitioning from rural to urban. That is why we are giving this urbanization premium grant. Okay, we have special infra grants to the urban areas for population between 10 to 40 lakhs as per 2011 census, and we are having 3% grants for urbanization premium. Okay, and certain other grants can also be given by the finance commission. For example, finance commission can also recommend giving grants for disaster management. For example, the commission recently has recommended state disaster relief management fund, SDRF, state disaster relief management funds. Okay, these funds or else disaster management corpus, so these funds can be given to the states. Okay, they can be given based upon the ratio. For example, if it is northeast hilly states, then central government कुछ हिस्सा लेगी और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कुछ हिस्सा. For example, northeastern state, of course, central government it's always 90. For northeastern and hilly state, central government 90% it will bear, and state will bear only 10%. Okay, but for other state, central government is going to bear 75%, whereas states it is 25%. Okay, and there is for fiscal roadmap. The commission has recommended that the states should bring down the fiscal deficit to 3.5% of GDP by 2031. It recommended annual fiscal deficit limit for states to 3% of GSDP. Not only provides grants, I mean not only recommends for the disaster management grants, for example 90:10, 75:25. तो इस रिकमेंडेशन के साथ साथ ना ये फिस्कल रोड मैप भी प्रोवाइड करेगी. जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल फाइनेंस कमीशन ये भी बोलेगी ना, यू माइट हैव हर्ड फाइनेंस कमीशन रिकमेंडिंग मेनी टाइम्स कि इट सेड currently it said that by 2031 33, I remember 3.5%. So our target must be 3.5% of GDP. This recommendation is given by the Finance Commission, and that is why Union Budget it said okay that 3.5% of GDP by 2031. This is our fiscal roadmap. Okay, and GSDP states के लिए भी ये कुछ recommend की कि चलो center के लिए 3.5 तेरे लिए 3% by 2031. So that's what Finance Commission said. So you need to know what are the recommendations by the Finance Commission. You have seen about Finance Commission, right? And did you see about GST Council? GST Council, it shall establish mechanism to adjudicate any dispute. So dispute mechanisms for and for all, GST Council can set up a adjudicating mechanism. But can Finance Commission do it? No, there is no such thing mentioned for the Finance Commission for adjudicating disputes. But GST Council, it can establish a mechanism to adjudicate dispute between union and one or more state or two or more state. Okay. And one more thing you need to note is that no act or proceeding of a GST Council shall be invalid merely by reason that there is a vacancy. Let's say there is a vacancy, then you cannot say that the decision of the GST Council is invalid. No, you cannot tell that. So that's what it is. So custody of funds, who are having custody of this CFI, CFS, public account of union or state contingency, who is having that custody? If it is consolidated fund of India, of course, Parliament is the custodian for the maintenance. Parliament is the custodian for regulation and maintenance. And if it is consolidated fund of state, then state legislature will be the custodian. Okay. And if it is a public account of union or state, then who is the custodian? So again, if it is a public account of union, then it will be Parliament. Custodian will be the Parliament, and if it is public account of state, custodian will be the state legislature. And similarly, we have contingency fund of union and the state. Okay, if it is for the union, then it will be Parliament. If it is for state, it will be the state legislature. That is all this Article 283 says. Who is the custodian? By seeing only you can say that. And next we have 284, custody of suitors, depositors. Custody of suitors, deposits, and other money. Custody of suitor deposits and other money. Okay, for example, let's take any officer, public servant like police. Okay, तो police ने क्या किया कि money seize किया किसी से, तो ये कहाँ पे जाएगा? That's the question. And there are courts. What did courts do? Courts also they charged for bail. For bail, courts will get some money, right? Because on bail you are exempting someone, but they need to pay some money. So where does that money go? So all that money, that money will go into public account of India and not to the consolidated fund. No, public account, because government does not own. It is just holding that money. Therefore, it will go to the public account of India, and in the end, they will be given as pension to the people only. Okay, so they do not go into the consolidated fund. They go into the public account. Custody of suitors, deposits, and other money. Now we need to see exemption. What are all the taxes that can be exempted? For example, union. Who can tax union property? No one. So union property, it is exempted from state tax. What are all? Example: movable, immovable, tangible, intangible. So of course, union property, whether it is movable or immovable, tangible or intangible, they are exempted from state tax except for pre-constitutional laws. For example, let's say there is a local body and it is a taxing union property, chota local body, and it is a pre-constitutional law which is keeping it valid. So in such scenario, it will still keep continuing unless Parliament has revoked it. Okay, so that's what the Constitution says. Anyways, union property, it is exempted from state tax. And similarly, if you see Article 289, state property, it is also exempted from the union tax. So property, reciprocal relation, both of them, they are exempted from each other. Okay, also there is an exception unless Parliament by law. So unless Parliament by law says that union property will state can tax union property, if there is any such law, then only state can tax. That is an exception, but union ऐसा नहीं बोलेगी. And also the corporations, they are not exempted. For example, corporation implies, let's take a PSU. PSU का कोई है स्टेट के अंदर कोई PSU है, लेकिन ये सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का शेयर होल्ड ज्यादा है. Is that property not taxable by the state government? The answer is the property is taxable. So corporations, they are not exempted. If it is a property directly under government of India, yes, it is not taxable. But if it is a property under public sector undertaking, then of course it is not exempted. So there is a difference between union property and corporations like PSU. Okay, that's Article 285. And similarly in Article 289, it is talking about state property. The state property is also exempted from union tax except Parliament by law provides states a commercial function. So Parliament खुद state को help कर रही है, मदद कर रही है, इसमें हिस्सा ले रही है. So if Parliament is providing state this much, of course Parliament is expecting some revenue out of it. So in such scenario, it can be taxed. Okay, that is one thing. And one more thing, for example, there is a state PSU. तो इसका property central government चाहे तो tax कर सकती है. So that can be taxed for commercial purpose. So that is also reciprocal again. Now we have seen union property and state property 285 and 289. Let's see this 286. Okay, restriction on states to tax sale or purchase of goods or services. For example, states cannot tax goods and services that are being sold outside India or imported or exported from India or outside India. Okay, imports and exports outside the state, that is interstate. So all of them, they are not there. I mean, state cannot tax on interstate or else outside India import or export. So on such things, who is going to decide? Parliament by law will decide what happens. Okay, restriction on sale and goods or services for interstate and outside India. Okay, for both of them, Parliament is the one who is going to decide. And then we have exceptions from the tax on electricity. No state law can impose tax on electricity consumed by government of India. So states ही tax कर सकते हैं. So there are a lot of things where state cannot tax the center under Article 285, union property, and also on the sale and purchase of goods and services for the interstate and outside India. उसका सिर्फ Parliament ही कर सकती है. And then we have tax on electricity. So state cannot impose a center on the electricity, because see, electricity tax, it's a state list, but electricity it comes under the concurrent list. Okay, so tax power center state के पास है electricity को tax करने का, but that doesn't mean that state can tax center. Okay, state cannot tax a center for electricity consumed by the government of India and railway operations unless parliament by law allows. लेकिन parliament by law allow नहीं करेगी. Okay, that is exception from the tax on electricity, and we have exception on the interstate rivers. So interstate rivers also state can't impose tax. They can impose if president give his assent, लेकिन president mostly नहीं देगा. Okay, state cannot impose tax on the interstate rivers. And pre-constitutional tax do not apply on interstate rivers. So this is the only article where pre-constitutional tax do not apply. For example, till constitution there was an act saying that states, let's say state is taxing. So after 1950, pre-constitutional tax they do not apply on the interstate rivers. Okay, that is article 288. So the only places where I see union cannot tax state is the state property. Okay, rest of them I have seen it's only union that is getting exception. Union cannot, I mean state cannot tax union property except public sector undertakings, and state cannot tax interstate and export and import from outside India, and then it cannot tax on electricity and railway operations, and on the interstate rivers also state can't tax. So lot of provisions are given to this central government, and state cannot really tax central government. Okay, and next after finishing all of them we go to article 290, sharing cost of a certain courts or pensions where officers served both union and state. अगर कोई officer both union and state government को serve करता है, so he is charged on consolidated fund of India or consolidated fund of state. If a officer has served both the union and state government, अगर कोई officer both union को state को करता है, तो इनको अब कौन देगा पैसा? इनको salary कौन देगा? Right? I mean, will it be charged on the consolidated fund of India or consolidated fund of state? That's the question. If the officer has served both the union and state, so that will be decided by an arbitrator appointed by the Chief Justice of India. That is mentioned in Article 290. Okay, and next 298 talks about the Devaswom fund. Devaswom fund is nothing but fund to maintain temple. Maintenance of temple के लिए अलग से fund रखा हुआ है. That is Devaswom temple under Article 290A, which was established under 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, I think 1956. Right. So under this Devaswom Act was established. Only so this was only in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Okay, there is a Kerala Travancore Devaswom fund and Tamil Nadu Devaswom fund, and they are charged in the respect to consolidated fund of states. Okay, payment that is in the 290A, and we have 291 privy purses, which was repealed by the 27th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1971. Okay, privy purses, of course you need to remember it was repealed by 27th Constitutional Amendment Act 1971. What does privy purses even mean? It is the royalty that must be paid to the rulers. तो वो abolish करना ही पड़ेगा ना इस चीज को, तो abolish किया 27th Constitutional Amendment 1975 में. And then the last we see 292 and 293, they are borrowings. Okay. So now we are discussing borrowings, right? Government of India, it can borrow within or outside India, but states, they can borrow only within India. If they want to borrow outside India, they must take central government permission. Okay. And whenever they are borrowing, they must borrow on the security or collateral of consolidated fund of India. And the borrowing limits, they are fixed by the parliament. Okay, I think in the latest budget, it has fixed fiscal deficit 4.3% by 2027, I think. Financial year 2027. So that was something they will fix the deficit ki is percent ko cross nahi karna chahiye, right? That is the borrowing by the government of India. If you see borrowing by the state, borrowing by the state is also the same thing, as I said, within India, outside India, with the central government permission. So within India ही borrow कर सकते हैं, outside India करना है तो central government permission लेना पड़ेगा. And what is the security that they are going to use? They are going to use the consolidated fund of that state, consolidated fund of the state. And what are the limits? Who is going to set the limits for this? People will think it's fixed by the parliament, but no, it's fixed by the state legislature only. State legislature एक limit fix करेगी, उसी limits में करेगा. Okay, and one more thing, they can even borrow from the government of India also. That can also happen. That is mentioned in the clause 2 of 293. Okay, they can borrow from the government of India. That's all. And when the state governments, they borrow from government of India, from where the money will be charged, it will be charged on the consolidated fund of India, right? CFI में charge होगा, तभी तो government of India states को देगा. Okay. So basically, if state may not raise loans without the consent of the government of India, I'm not telling that a state cannot raise loans if it is having NBC, but without the consent of the central government, without the consent of the central government, state government cannot raise loans if it is having if it has exceeded NBC, net borrowing ceilings. Okay. That's all. And central government will impose condition. See, that is the third clause. Okay. This basically, this, I think like this I can tell. Something like that. Okay, I think you're clear. Basically, borrowings, government of India can borrow within or outside India. Example, outside India implies from Asian Development Bank, it can borrow, and the security, it will be consolidated fund of India, and limits till what limit it can borrow, that is fixed by the parliament. And currently the budget, it says 4.3% by 2027. So central government should not breach this limit. For states, they can borrow within India only. If they want to borrow outside India, they need central government permission. And if in case they are going outside and they're borrowing, central government can even provide guarantee. That means if the state is not able to pay, then the central government will tell that I am the one who will pay you if the state don't provide. If the state don't pay back. Okay. And whenever a state is taking loan, it will take loan on the security of a consolidated fund of state. Okay. And limits, how are the limits decided? Limits, state legislature. Basically, state legislature is going to set the limit till what extent the state can borrow. Okay. And central legislature, parliament can also set the limit when they exceed a certain breach. Okay. When a state exceeds a net borrowing ceiling, and If a state want to borrow, then central government can curb it. Okay, basically state may not borrow without the consent of the government of India if it exceeds NBC, net borrowing ceiling. Okay, that is about borrowing. Attempt some MCQs. Which of the following are essential requirements for a person to be appointed as member of Finance Commission? Okay. First, do you remember Article 280, which talks about Finance Commission? The first clause, it says that President for every 5th year shall appoint Finance Commission, which shall consist of chairperson and 4 members. And the second clause says that Parliament by law will determine the qualifications of such Finance Commission. And third clause list out some duties of Finance Commission, like distribution of tax revenue, distribution of money to the panchayats and local bodies, etc. things. Now, currently, 16th Finance Commission was chaired by Dr. Arvind Panagaria. Okay. So this is about Finance Commission, the basic details in the Constitution that you need to know. Now, Parliament by law, it should prescribe certain qualifications. Actually, I think Parliament already did that. For example, the members of Financial Commission, the 4 members that we said, they need to have certain qualifications. They must be qualified to be a High Court judge, and they must have knowledge in the finances or accounts. And knowledge के साथ साथ experience भी होना चाहिए. So experience in the administration of and finance expertise. Special knowledge भी होना चाहिए in economics. Okay. Knowledge भी किसमें होना चाहिए? Government finance and accounts में. And experience in the finance. That's all. And special knowledge in economics and qualification High Court judge is enough. Okay. इतना efficient है क्योंकि we are checking for quasi judicial and qualification qualified as judge of High Court is enough. Now let us see a Supreme Court judge or one qualified to be appointed as such. Supreme Court judge को हम अपॉइंट तो कर सकते हैं, he is qualified enough, but he is very highly qualified. हम मिनिमम जब भी क्वेश्चन क्वालिफिकेशंस पूछ रही है ना, तो मिनिमम क्या होना चाहिए, मिनिमम बैरिकेड देखेंगे, है ना. सुप्रीम कोर्ट जज तो बड़ा बैरिकेड हो गया ना, सो हाई कोर्ट जज इज एनफ. ओके, this option is wrong. Second option, a person having wide experience in the financial matter is correct. He is qualified. A person having special knowledge of economics is also correct. Option C. Next question, with reference to Constitution of India. So always remember this, they are asking that provision must be there in Constitution. If not, the answer will be wrong. Consider the following statements. Parliament can alter the boundaries of state without the consent of state. See, Article 2 and 3, it says the Parliament by law. Parliament by law, Article 2 क्या बोलती है? Article 2 says that no state consent shall be required. Right? No. Article 2 says that admission or establishment of new state. Right? That is what it talks. Admission or establishment of new states. What does Article 3 talk about? It talks about formation of new state, alteration of areas, or alteration of names of existing states. So all of them are in Article 3. So for these 2 and 3, Constitution says Parliament by law. It does not mention about state consent. If Constitution has mentioned about state consent, then consent of the state would be binding. But no, it doesn't mention. Therefore, Parliament can alter the boundaries of state without the consent of state. It's correct. Only Parliament can initiate the constitutional amendments under Article 368. So Article 368, it mentions about Parliament, right? Did it mention about state legislature? No, right? Therefore, this is also correct. Only Parliament can initiate. Don't think of them as extreme and mark them wrong. They are correct actually. Polity में कभी extreme गलत मत सोचना. Okay, a money bill can be introduced in the state legislature only with the prior recommendation of the governor. Okay, money bill. देखना, अब मनी बिल सेंटर में इंट्रोड्यूस करने के लिए, पार्लियामेंट में इंट्रोड्यूस करने के लिए प्रेसिडेंट का रिकमेंडेशन, प्रेसिडेंट का प्रायर रिकमेंडेशन जरूरी है. सिमिलरली मनी बिल टू बी इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर, द गवर्नर रिकमेंडेशन वुड बी मैंडेटरी इफ इट इज स्टेट लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली, राइट? दैट इज अ लॉजिक दैट यू मस्ट नो. सो दिस ऑप्शन विल बी रॉन्ग. बट रिमेंबर, डोंट मार्क ऑल द 3 and go next. No, because the question is not asking how many are correct. The question is asking how many of the above provisions illustrate the Indian Constitution has strong center. तो इन तीनों में कौन सा लग रहा है आपको कि स्ट्रॉन्ग सेंटर है? सो Parliament can alter the boundary. That's right, strong center है इसमें. Parliament can initiate constitution amendment, strong center है इसमें. And then a money bill can be introduced in a state legislature only. इसमें कहाँ पे लग रहा है कि Parliament का strong center है? No, that nothing like that. Therefore, third statement will be wrong. B. Okay, the next question is saying a parliament has exclusive power to make a law imposing a tax which is not mentioned in the 7th schedule list. See, if any tax is not mentioned in the 7th schedule, do you remember Article 248 which talks about residue? So I remember 248 very easily because there is no residue. 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8, and the remainder is always 0. Therefore, no residue. So I remember it as in case if there is residue list, it will go to it will be determined by the parliament. Okay, so basically even in the article. Not in the article, in the 7th schedule, if you see, there is this 97th entry which talks any tax which is not there in the other list 2 and list 3, that will usually go to union list. Okay, that was mentioned. Therefore, anyways, as per Article 248, residuary list, it is determined by the parliament. So as you can see the explanation also, parliament holds the exclusive residuary power of taxation, meaning any tax subject that is not explicitly mentioned under union list or state list or concurrent list is automatically reserved for the center. Okay, parliament holds the power in place, it is automatically reserved for the center. Residuary list is automatically reserved to the center. And even in the 7th schedule, if you see in the union list 97th entry, you can easily find one line that any matter that is not listed in list 2 and list 3 or any tax including the taxes, that will come under union list. Okay, therefore the first option is correct. Parliament has the exclusive power to make a law imposing a tax which is not mentioned in any of the list in the 7th schedule. And second statement says that any other matters not enumerated in list 2 and list 3 of the 7th schedule, including any tax not mentioned in either of the list, is one of the entries under the union list. This is what we have studied, right? Anything which is not in the 2 and 3, including tax, is one of the entries in the union list of the 7th schedule. So this is also correct. And this is explaining this anyways. Since anything that is not in list 2 and list 3 is going into union list, that is basically providing this basis for the parliament to have exclusive power for imposing tax, right? So yeah, it is kind of explaining only. I'll mark option A. In context of Indian polity, consider the following. The central government can impose annual net borrowing ceiling on certain Indian states to regulate their borrowings. See, do you know Article 292? What is Article 292 about? It is about borrowing limit of center. For that, it said that a center, it can borrow from anyone within territory of India or outside territory of India by putting collateral. What is that collateral? Upon the security, center can borrow upon the security of consolidated fund of India, and the limit within certain limits. Okay, the certain limits are determined by Parliament by law, and Parliament for this it passed FRBM Act 2003, and it currently set a limit of 4.3% of GDP, 4.3% of GDP by 2026-2027, this financial year. Okay, this is what that was there in the Article 292, and Article 293, it is for the limits on the state, and states they can borrow from the consolidated fund of state within the limits set by the state legislature. Okay, that is what Article 293 clause 1 talked about. And Article 293 clause 2, it says that government of India can also give loans to the state. However, it must be within the limits prescribed in the 292. And then 293, it says that states cannot borrow more money if they are having still outstanding loans. Even if they want to borrow more money, center permission is required. So center permission or consent is required if state want to borrow more money. Okay, in case if there is any outstanding loans, then center permission is required. That is what Article 293 said. And the limits that center put on states is NBC, net borrowing ceiling. So they will see if they are breaching this net borrowing ceiling or not. And if they are not breaching, then center usually gives permission. Okay, net borrowing ceiling of the state, it must be 3.5% of the state GDP. SGDP बोलेंगे इसको. Okay, so these are the clauses under 293. First, 292, it says that center can borrow, but it must borrow upon the limits set by the Parliament using the collateral as consolidated fund of India. And what is the limit set by the FRBM Act 2003? 4.3% of GDP. And Article 293 says that state, it can borrow from the consolidated fund of state within the limits. No, state can borrow within the territory of India upon the security of consolidated fund of state within the limits set by the state legislature, and government of India can lend loans to state within the limits under Article 292. Anyways, if the state has some outstanding loans, then center consent is required before the state borrows loans. And the limits that center put is net borrowing ceiling. So net borrowing ceiling, it must be 3.5% of state GDP. Now let us see the question. The central government can impose annual net borrowing ceiling on certain Indian states to regulate their borrowing. This is correct. Article 293 of Indian Constitution empowers the central government to impose restrictions on any state on any type of borrowing by any state. Okay, on any type of borrowing would be wrong, because this center permission is only there if the state is having some outstanding loan, but any becomes an extreme statement. On any state, center cannot put this restriction. Therefore, the second it goes wrong, and option C becomes the right answer. See, the question is about Sarkaria Commission. It was constituted in 1983, not recommended by Sarkaria Commission related to the center state. Okay, appointing an eminent person who is from outside the state as governor. This is correct. Good things are recommended by Sarkaria, but they are asking not recommended. So just tick mark this as correct on the right side, not on the left side. See, if you tick mark this, of course you will be get confused. So therefore, tick on the right side. Now, strengthening of all India services. This is also good thing. तो सरकारी recommend किया होगा. And next, setting up a permanent interstate council under Article 263. ये भी अच्छी चीज है ना, तो recommend किया होगा. And next, discontinuation of 3 language formula in education to avoid central state conflicts. ये अच्छी चीज नहीं है. 3 language formula तो होना चाहिए. तो सरकारी ने recommend नहीं करी होगी. So this is a wrong thing. Lot of states were actually opposing this 3 language formula, right? Therefore, this option is correct. I mean, fourth option is wrong. That's why it's correct, because question is asking incorrect. So during a president rule in a state under Article 356, the state legislative assembly is dissolved by which of the following authority? प्रेसिडेंट रूल का मतलब क्या है? स्टेट इमरजेंसी है. नाउ स्टेट इमरजेंसी इज डिक्लेयर्ड, स्टेट इज नॉट वर्किंग एज पर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मिशनरी, देयरफॉर प्रेसिडेंट आएगा, प्रेसिडेंट रूल करेगा. सो दैट इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द 356. प्रेसिडेंट आएगा तो डिसॉल्व कौन कर रहा है? प्रेसिडेंट ही कर रहा होगा ना. सो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया. सो ड्यूरिंग द प्रेसिडेंट रूल इन द स्टेट अंडर आर्टिकल 356, स्टेट लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली इज डिसॉल्व्ड बाय प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया. Now let us see the next question. Consider the following statements. How many of the above states were granted full statehood through constitutional amendment rather than ordinary legislative act? Okay. A story which is very interesting. Dhar committee and JVP committee, they rejected a proposal for the formation of states based on the linguistic basis. Okay. Then what did Potti Sriramulu Nelluru do? He fasted out. Potti Sriramulu. He fasted and he died also. Therefore, finally, Andhra Pradesh, it was carved out of Madras in the year of 1952. Then, after seeing Andhra Pradesh, other states also started demanding. Therefore, there was a committee, Fazal Ali Committee. Finally, it was formed in the year of 1953, and it suggested that states must be formed on linguistic basis, and we are suggesting reorganization of states into 14 states and 6 union territories. So, this is the major landmark commission which abolished the 4-part classification, which is based upon the administrative control, and now the control went on the basis of language. Okay. So Andhra, in the year of 1956, State Reorganization Act was passed, and accordingly states were divided on the language basis. And Andhra, it was formed in the year of 1952 after Potti Sriramulu Nelluru fasted, and in 1956 State Reorganization Act, right? So Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they are formed in the year of 1956. Mysore state was also formed similarly. So you need to know the chronology, how and all they formed. For example, Maharashtra, Gujarat, they formed in the year of 1960. So they are going to ask the chronology, which state formed first and all. And so before that, I want to tell you what and all are the states that are formed through constitutional amendment. Okay. See, here you can see some of the states. For example, 10th and 12th CAA. So in this Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Goa, they all became part of Indian Union. Okay. before they were under the control of Portuguese, but they left India, and then they became part of Indian Union. Okay, 10th CA 1961, 12, 13, 14 they are under 1962. Okay, anyways, remember that they became part of Indian Union, and Nagaland it became a full-fledged state through 13th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1962, and Puducherry became part of Indian Union through 14th CA 1962. I remember it like, see, it is very easy to memorize like this: 10 Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Goa. They all are through 10th and 12th. Okay, 10th and 12th CAA, and then there is this 13th CAA 1962, which made Nagaland into full-fledged state. And then again there is this 14th CAA Nagpur. So I remember the trick Nagpur. Okay, that is very easy to memorize. Let's say this is through 10th, na? And these two are through 12th. 12th is through 1962. 10th is through 1961. So memorize it. This is very easy. And then I remember it with Nagpur trick. Nagpur. तो नागपुर में नागालैंड जो है, ये नागालैंड है ना, that Nagaland it was through 13th CAA 1962, and 14th CAA it's Puducherry again. 14th CAA 1962 it's Puducherry. Okay, so can you memorize Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Dadra and Nagar Haveli through 10th, and Daman and Diu Goa through 12th. Anyways, all these three they became part of Indian Union. It's not like they became state, because Goa it became state in the 56th Constitutional Amendment Act 1987. So Goa initially it became part of Indian Union in 1962, but it finally became a state through 56th Constitutional Amendment Act 1987. And we have Nagpur 13th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962, and Puducherry 14th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962. Remember these three, and remember the trick Nagpur. Okay, and then 22nd 222 Meghalaya. Okay, so that is how I memorized. 22nd 1969 it's Meghalaya, and 36th it's easy to memorize because 50 years, so question will be definitely be asked. 36th Constitutional Amendment Act 1975, during the period of emergency only almost. So Sikkim was formed, and Sikkim became a full-fledged state. Okay, and last state is the Goa. Goa 56th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987. So finally how many states through Constitutional Amendment? Nagaland, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Goa. Now let us see the state reorganization. First, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Mysore State, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. Karnataka को हम मैसूर स्टेट बोलेंगे क्योंकि it was renamed as Karnataka in 1973. And then मैसूर स्टेट के बाद क्या, महाराष्ट्र, and then गुजरात. यहाँ तक क्या हो गया, गुजरात it was formed in the year of 1960. And then this Andhra, however it formed, it created new hopes. So Nagaland, new hopes का मतलब क्या है, new hopes. Hopes को मैं ऐसे लिखूंगी. अब HR, R is silent, hopes. Okay, so Haryana and Nagaland. Nagaland it was formed in 1963, and Haryana it was formed in 1966. Okay, now the story finished with Nagaland and Haryana, new hopes. And the new hopes, where are they mostly created? They were created in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so that trick is Himachal Pradesh mount, it has Meghalaya clouds. Himachal Pradesh mount Meghalaya made small gains. It made small gains. Okay, due to new hopes, Himachal Pradesh mount Meghalaya it made small gains. Okay, now Himachal Pradesh mount implies Manipur, Tripura, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Mizoram, Arunachal, and then Goa. Goa finally ended in the year of 1987. Okay, this is how I memorized. And then after that, there was this Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand. I will tell you how. See, now Goa, the story ended with Goa with 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1987. Right? Now, what are the major states? You know, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. Right? Now, Chhattisgarh was formed from Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand was formed from Uttar Pradesh, and Jharkhand was formed from Bihar. Finally, the story did not end here only. The story ended with the Telugu state Telangana. So basically, the story started with Telugu state Andhra and ended with Telugu state Telangana in the year of June 2nd, 2014. Okay. So this is how I memorized. Easy, easy peasy. Easy peasy. Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Mysore state, renamed as Karnataka in 1973. Maharashtra, Gujarat, both of them they formed in 1960. And Andhra created new hopes. Therefore, Nagaland 1963 and Haryana, new hopes. Hopes ka meaning HROPS. The hopes ka spelling. Haryana 1966. Right? Haryana 1966. And next what? Himachal Pradesh mount, HP mount made small gains. Himachal Pradesh mount has Meghalaya, which made small gains. Okay. Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Tripura, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Mizoram, Arunachal, Goa. Goa, the story ended with 1987. Himachal Pradesh, it became state in which year? 1971. Okay. And after Goa became a state in the year of 1987, the story did not just end here. There are some states, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. For example, Chhattisgarh formed out of Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand formed from Uttar Pradesh, and Jharkhand formed from Bihar. And the story finally ended with Telangana in the year of 2014, June 2nd, 2014. Okay. Let us try to attempt an MCQ. Consider the following states. Okay. How many of the above states were granted full statehood through constitutional amendments? So, what are the states through constitutional amendments? So, do you memorize the trick? What did I tell you? Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Goa. And then I said you to remember Nagpur. And Nagpur के बाद क्या याद आएगा? सिक्किम. नहीं सिक्किम नहीं, नागपुर के बाद सीधा मेघालय and then Sikkim. After Sikkim it's Goa. Okay, this is how you need to. Do you remember the constitutional amendment acts also, how and all they are formed? For example, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, I think it's 10th constitutional amendment act 1961. Daman and Diu, Goa, they became part of Indian Union in the 11th CAA 1962. However, Goa did not become state through 11th CAA. It just became part of Indian Union. Goa became part of Indian state. Goa became Indian state. It got full statehoodness in the 56th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987, I think. ओके दैट इज अबाउट गोवा. एंड देन नागपुर में नागालैंड है, पुडुचेरी है. एक्चुअली नागपुर नहीं है वो. ओके नागालैंड इट्स विच ईयर? आई थिंक नागालैंड इट्स 1963. Which CAA 1963? I think it's 13th CAA 1963, and then 14th CAA Puducherry I think Puducherry also 14th CAA 1963. Okay, and then we have Meghalaya which year? I think Meghalaya 22/22 it's 1969. Okay, and then we have Sikkim. It's easy to memorize, 35th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1975. I think it's 35 or 36. सब कुछ इतना परफेक्ट नहीं होगा, so it is 36th. Okay, 36th. And then this is what you need to know. Daman and Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu Goa 10 and 11, Nagpur 13 and Puducherry 14. 1963 हो गया तो 1969 Meghalaya 22nd, and then Sikkim 36th CAA 1975, and Goa 56th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987. Okay, so Sikkim and Goa, they are through Constitutional Amendment, but Jharkhand it's through what? It's through Legislative Act. Therefore only two. Okay, they are asking you the chronology. Great. So first, for whatever, you need to draw this India map. This is how you studied, right? Therefore this is must. And then what you need to do, you need to start the story. Okay, यहाँ पे आंध्र प्रदेश का कोई सीन नहीं है. So whatever you see, the story till Gujarat, no state is there. So you need to start from New Hopes. Okay, गुजरात का स्टोरी कब एंड हुआ? 1960 में, है ना? अब 1963 नागालैंड क्रिएटेड न्यू होप्स. होप्स का स्पेलिंग HR. नागालैंड क्रिएटेड न्यू होप्स, राइट? नागालैंड 1963 थ्रू 13th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 1963, एंड हरियाणा कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट नहीं है इसमें, बट इट वाज आल्सो क्रिएटेड इन 1963 ओनली. एंड देन नागालैंड हरियाणा. नागालैंड न्यू होप्स के बाद क्या है? हिमाचल प्रदेश माउंट. इट हैज मेघालय विच मेड स्मॉल गेन्स. ओके, सो नाउ लेट अस सी. अब नंबरिंग करेंगे. क्रोनोलॉजी, आई मीन स्मॉल टू बिग और बिग टू स्मॉल. यूजुअली व्हेन दे आर नॉट मेंशनिंग ईयर, आई थिंक इट्स स्मॉल टू बिग ओनली. पहला ये, नेक्स्ट ईयर, यही तब भी तो क्रोनोलॉजी बनेगी. फॉर एग्जांपल दिस इज 2000, यहाँ पे तो 1990 होना चाहिए ना, क्योंकि दे आर नॉट गिविंग मी एनी डेट. सो यूजुअल टाइम लाइन तो ऐसे ही होगा. सो दिस ईयर इट मस्ट बी लार्ज एंड दिस ईयर इट मस्ट बी स्मॉल. सो आई विल कंसिडर दैट. एंड हरियाणा पहला मार्क करूंगी बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट आई नो. हरियाणा नेक्स्ट, सो आई विल राइट हरियाणा हियर. एंड देन आई नो छत्तीसगढ़ कहाँ पर है? ओ, ये हिमाचल प्रदेश माउंट मेड स्मॉल गेन्स के बाद एक और स्टोरी है ना. क्या है? मध्य प्रदेश, उत्तर प्रदेश एंड बिहार. सो मध्य प्रदेश से छत्तीसगढ़ फॉर्म हुआ. नेक्स्ट उत्तर प्रदेश से उत्तराखंड, एंड देन बिहार, झारखंड इज फॉर्म फ्रॉम बिहार. ओके, सो या दैट्स द स्टोरी. लेकिन छत्तीसगढ़ तो बाद में, अरुणाचल मेघालय वी मिस्ड, सो दे मस्ट बी देयर. सो ये छत्तीसगढ़ ना, दिस विल बी लास्ट. इट विल बी समवेयर हियर, एंड वी हैव अरुणाचल एंड मेघालय. Which one is first? Meghalaya is first. So therefore Meghalaya and then Arunachal. Small gains. Meghalaya made small gains. So Himachal Pradesh Mount Meghalaya, it made small gains. Okay, 4, and then Arunachal is 3. So this is the order. Okay, 1, 4, 3, 2. Option A. Do you know there is an SOP analysis? They say that sequence based questions they have certain tricks. For example, let's see the statement 1. यहाँ पे भी 1 है, यहाँ पे भी 1 है, तो ये दोनों में कोई एक हो सकता है. And then यहाँ पर भी 2 है, यहाँ पर भी 2 है, यहाँ पर भी 2 है, यहाँ पे 4 2 सीक्वेंस में है, तो इन दोनों में कोई आंसर हो सकती है. एंड यहाँ पे भी 1 है, यहाँ पे भी 1 है, तो मैं एग्जाम हॉल में 1 सीट टिक करूंगी. लेकिन नहीं, ये तो गलत हो गया. ऑप्शन ये. सो दे डोंट ऑलवेज वर्क. The part 21 of the Constitution of India contains temporary, transitional and special provisions. In context, consider the following. How many of the states are included in part 21? Now let us see part 21, temporary, transitional and special provisions. Okay, see, Parliament basically has certain temporary powers to make to make laws in the state list. Okay, on certain matters Parliament can amend state list also. That is what the part 21 talks about. So what are all the states that come under it? Let us see article wise. We have 370, 371, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and then C 372. Okay, 370, abrogation of article 370. This is very famous, so everyone knows. Temporary provisions with respect to state of Jammu and Kashmir. And 371, it is about Maharashtra and Gujarat. So the story, it's for Maharashtra and Gujarat. Special provision with respect to states of Maharashtra and Gujarat. And then we are starting with 371A. The story starts from here. So basically 370, article 370, Jammu and Kashmir, and 371, it is to the Maharashtra and Gujarat. After that, we need to see 371 A to J. Aja, Aja, AJ. Okay. Aja, Aja, Aja. Okay, great. I used to memorize this A to J with a triangle. For example, you can see this triangle, right? So it's starting with here. Here, of course, you're going to have Nagaland. And above, what is it? It's Assam, right? So Nagaland, Assam, and then Nagaland के नीचे मणिपुर है ना, यहाँ पे मणिपुर है, और नीचे जाएंगे तो मिजोरम मिल जाएगा, यहाँ पे नागालैंड है. ओके, दैट्स हाउ इट वर्क्स. सो नागालैंड, असम, मणिपुर. नागालैंड, असम, मणिपुर का मैंने एक ट्रायंगल बनाया. ओके, ABC. यहाँ पे पहले मैंने एक ट्रायंगल बनाया, एंड देन मैं जाके गया आंध्र प्रदेश. आंध्र प्रदेश एंड तेलंगाना, D और E, both of them they talk about आंध्र प्रदेश और तेलंगाना. एंड देन वी हैव F. From F the story starts. F, it is Sikkim. Okay, Sikkim, and there you'll go to this G. G stands for Mizoram. Okay, and after Mizoram जी मिजो ZZ लिंक हो रहा है ना, तो सिक्किम से हम जाएंगे मिजोरम, एंड फ्रॉम मिजोरम वी विल गो टू व्हाट इज मिसिंग, अरुणाचल प्रदेश इज मिसिंग ना, सो वी विल कनेक्ट विद अरुणाचल, 3 sleeves are connected and then the sleeve will directly connect to this. What is this? This is Karnataka. Okay, we are connecting it to Karnataka. J के बाद कौन सा अल्फाबेट? No, we did not directly connect it with Karnataka. Actually, we connected it through Goa. Goa. I mean, this sleeve first it went to Goa. Goa जाने का बहुत मन हुआ इसको, so it went to Goa, and then from Goa to Karnataka. कर्नाटका में क्यों गया? क्योंकि वहाँ पे मैसूर पैलेस है. Okay, so Goa beach and then we went to Karnataka मैसूर पैलेस. ऐसे घूम के गया हमने. Okay, so basically the story started with Article 371, Maharashtra and Gujarat. 371, and then we started triangle 371 कैसे? Nagaland, Assam, Manipur, Andhra Pradesh or Telangana D and E. Now we are going to connect a streak. How are we connecting it? Okay, first starting with Sikkim F, Mizoram G, and then Arunachal Pradesh, and then हमें जाना कहाँ पे? Goa beach I, and then Mysore Palace Karnataka J. Okay, so this is how you can memorize A to J. And then we have 371 Maharashtra and Gujarat. First 370 Jammu and Kashmir, anyone know this, and 371 Maharashtra and Gujarat. A to J, Nagaland, of course Nagaland, Assam, Manipur, Andhra Pradesh or Telangana D or E, and then Sikkim, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, Goa and Karnataka. Okay. So these are the states that are having temporary transition and special provisions. Now let us try to attempt this MCQ. Okay. Part 21 of the Constitution contains temporary transition and special provisions related to various states. In this context, consider the following. So what and all will be studied in the part 21. That's a simple question. Okay. हमने क्या क्या स्टडी किया? याद है ना? Yes, अच्छे से याद है. Gujarat and Maharashtra, Article 371. So are they there? Gujarat is there, Maharashtra is not there. And then we started with the triangle. What is the triangle? Nagaland, Nagaland है और क्या? Assam and Manipur. Are they there? Nagaland, it's not there. Manipur, Assam, जो भी है, कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें. Okay. And then where did we go? We went to Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, D or E. Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, are they there? It's not there. And then we started the map with सिक्किम. सिक्किम से कहा गया सिक्किम, मिजोरम, अरुणाचल, गोवा एंड कर्नाटका. ओके, सिक्किम, मिजोरम, अरुणाचल, गोवा एंड कर्नाटका. गोवा is there, Karnataka it's not there. So this is how we ended it. So only 4 out of them are mentioned here. So option will be A. So special, immediately remember Article 370 Jammu and Kashmir, and उसके बाद just remember 371 में महाराष्ट्र and गुजरात. And then we are starting 371 A to B, C, etc. And then that A, B, C, it will start with the Assam, Manipur, Nagaland, or Nagaland, Assam, Manipur triangle. Okay. In the exam hall, it's very difficult to memorize all of these maps together. With reference to electoral system in India, consider the following. How many of the following are the functions of Election Commission of India? Okay. Fixing dates of general elections. Yes, of course. Dates to fix karegi. To the House of People. Of course. Postponing elections to the State Legislative Assembly. This can also be done in certain scenarios. And appointment of Chief Election Commissioner, CEO at state level. सी लॉट ऑफ पीपल विल थिंक दैट अपॉइंटमेंट तो प्रेसिडेंट ही करेगा, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी. नो यार, नो. देखो, स्टेट लेवल पे सीईओ, कोई आईएएस ऑफिसर हुआ होगा, आईएएस ऑफिसर को प्रेसिडेंट अपॉइंट करेगा, बट नो, दिस आईएएस ऑफिसर को एज अ सीईओ तुम अपॉइंट कर रहे हो, तो वो अपॉइंटमेंट का पावर इलेक्शन कमिशन ऑफ इंडिया के पास है. ओके, चीफ इलेक्शन ऑफिसर एट स्टेट लेवल, इट इज अपॉइंटेड बाय द इलेक्शन कमिश्नर ऑफ इंडिया. Also note down there is a difference between CEC and CEO. ये लेटर बहुत हरामी लेटर है. Why? Because see, Chief Election Commissioner he is appointed by the President, right? एक Election Commission of India में कौन होगा? Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. So CEC and EC, all of them they are appointed by the President. But CEO, DO, they are electoral officer and they are nominated by the Election Commission of India. Okay, so nominated or designated. So एक IAS officer का list भेजेंगे. State government will send some list of officers who are eligible to become a CEO. So CEC or ECI, they are going to pick up one candidate as Chief Electoral Officer at the state level. Okay, so ECI is going to designate a candidate as CEO. So appoint rather than appointment, I'll call it designate. Anyhow, it's the ECI who is going to do that. It's not the president. Okay, so therefore third option is correct. And also, if you studied elections topic, you might already know by now that deregistering is not the power of election commission. Delisting is the power. Selection commission has the power to delist, but it does not have the power to deregister. That's why there is criticism. Okay, now they are saying that function of ECI में ये भी है, deregistering of political parties if they do not participate in the election. So this is wrong. This is correct. These two are also correct. Therefore, only 3. Option C. What are the duties of Chief of Defence (CDS) as the head of the Department of Military Affairs? This question is from the constitutional bodies anyways. I'll tell you the answer. Chief of Defence Staff, he is basically the permanent chairman of Chief of Staff Committee, and he is the principal military advisor to the Defence Minister on all tri-service matter. And you know, UPSC CDS exam, people will give this exam, so they need to know what is Chief Defence Staff. Minimum question है ये तो. So they are the permanent chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee, and they are the principal military advisor. Advisor का role बहुत बड़ा होता है ना? So they are principal advisor to all the 3 tri matters, and they are the permanent chairman of the Chief of Staff Committee. Okay, the exercise command ये तो गलत हो गया. Okay, therefore option D. To implement international treaties, Parliament is empowered to make laws on subjects mentioned in the state list of the 7th schedule. So this is what you have studied about Rajya Sabha, right? Not about Rajya Sabha. This is what you studied in the central state relation, Parliament legislation in state list. It can happen in certain scenarios. Where and where? Do you remember? It starts from Article 249 in national interest. For national interest, in view of national interest, if you are having a two-third of members present and voting, if Rajya Sabha pass a resolution in the view of national interest with two-third of members present and voting, which is special majority, then Parliament can approve it, but the validity period will be up to 1 year. Okay, that is Article 249. Rajya Sabha should pass a resolution in view of national interest with a special majority. 249 के बाद 250 national emergency. Okay, नेशनल इंटरेस्ट हो गया, नेशनल इमरजेंसी हो गया, 9 में इंटरेस्ट दिख रहा है, और 250 इट्स नेचुरल इमरजेंसी. ड्यूरिंग नेशनल इमरजेंसी पार्लियामेंट कैन अमेंड स्टेट लिस्ट. ओके, एंड देन वी हैव 251 which are restricting clauses for 249 and 250. Okay, they just say that in case of any repugnancy, parliament law prevails over state law. That's all. And then we have 252. What is 252? Parliament can amend state list when two or more states actually request. When states request parliament, then parliament can amend the state list of those states which requested. Okay, that is 252. And 253 parliament can amend state list in view of international agreements. So these are the main 4 articles. Okay, and 254 it talks about repugnancy. Parliament law, I mean union law prevails over concurrent law, and concurrent prevents over state. Union greater than concurrent greater than state. So in case of any repugnancy, this is how it works. That is Article 254. Okay, 249. Now once again I'm telling you, 249, 250. This is in view of national interest. 250 national emergency. With two-thirds of member present and voting, Rajya Sabha can pass a resolution, and then Parliament can amend state list. And if there is any national emergency also, Parliament can amend state list. And 251 is just a restriction clause for 249 and 250. I mean, it just says in case if there is any repugnancy, Parliament law will prevail over state law. And next you are having 252. What is 252? States request. So if states request, Parliament can enact state list. And 253 international agreements. Okay, in case of international agreements, Parliament can amend state list. And 254 in case of repugnancy, union list prevails over concurrent prevails over states. Okay, and there is a state emergency also which you can add it. 357 state emergency, and during state emergency also Parliament can amend state list. That you will see in the emergency topic also. Okay, now in the implementation, what is the majority that is required? That is the question they are asking. So for international treaties, it can be passed by the Parliament with simple majority without even requiring the consent from the state. Okay, so that is simple majority. Now see, so upon national interest, Rajya Sabha, it must pass a resolution with two-thirds of member present and voting. If Rajya Sabha passed such resolution, then Parliament can amend state list. For national emergency, state request, international agreements, etc., simple majority is only required. So remember this. It has a special majority and it has simple majority. Now, to implement international treaties, Parliament is empowered to make laws on subjects mentioned in the state list of the 7th schedule. Such law requires Parliament. Such law can be passed by the Parliament with special majority, no, with simple majority. It's not special, it's simple. Okay, here also it is simple. Fine, then it's correct. Without requesting any consent from the state. State consent is not required. Okay. To implement international treaties, Parliament is empowered to make laws on subjects mentioned in the state list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. Such law can be passed by the Parliament with simple majority, correct. Without requiring state consent, correct. That is what we have seen, simple majority. Without requiring state consent, that is also correct. Try to do this MCQ. The Parliament of India acquires the power to legislate on any matter in the state list in the national interest. So we have seen national interest के लिए राज्य सभा को resolution pass करना पड़ेगा. Two-thirds of members present and voting, and rest of them it's national emergency upon state request, and then international agreements or else national emergency. Okay, in such scenario, national emergency तो already बता दिया ना. Okay, state emergency. So for all of them, you require simple majority. Okay. And whenever you are doing this, state consent, it is not required. I mean, for international agreement, if you are doing, for example, state consent is not required. Now, the Parliament of India, for national interest, they are asking. National interest, the first one, Rajya Sabha, not less than two-thirds of member present and voting. Option D. Next, the Parliament can make a law for the whole or any part of India for implementing international treaties without the consent of any state. Correct. Option D. People will think that अरे state का consent क्यों नहीं चाहिए? अरे constitution में mention नहीं है, तो नहीं चाहिए. Without the consent of any state. Okay. So federalism in India is described as quasi-federal. Quasi-federal implies it is neither purely federal nor purely unitary. So you need to know the basic federal and unitary features of India. So India is described as quasi-federal because it is not purely federal and not purely unitary. So federal feature imply a dual polity. For example, if you are having two things, then you will call it federal. And if you are having a single thing, then it is called unitary. For example, dual polity implies you are having two government levels. One is at the union level and the other government at the state level. So since there are two levels of government, we call it a federal feature, dual polity. But since the center is very strong, I mean union list is greater than strong state list, and then state also have this overriding authority in the concurrent list, and state residuary powers also are with the center only. Therefore, since the residuary powers and the overriding powers are with the center, therefore union list prevails over the state list. That is, strong center is there. Okay, so the strong center, it is a unitary feature. Dual polity, it is a federal feature. Written and the supreme constitution. In the constitution, clearly you can see separate levels, right? Central level, state level, etc. So therefore, the written and supreme constitution, it is a federal feature because it is showing jurisdiction at different levels of government. But you are having a single constitution for both center and state. The single constitution, there is no constitution of state. There is only constitution of India. Therefore, single constitution, it represents a unitary feature. And next, you have division of power. That is clear demarcation of legislative power. For example, you are having union list, state list, and concurrent list. So you are having division of powers. Therefore, it will represent a federal feature, division of powers. But parliamentary authority over state list, if Rajya Sabha passes a resolution for national interest, then it will become parliamentary authority, right? That will represent a unitary feature. And then rigidity of the constitution. The constitution is rigid. See, that's why if constitution is rigid, the levels of the government, they are also rigid. And even if you want to modify certain state list, for that also you require state ratification, etc. Sometimes you require special majority to modify federal features. Special majority, okay, plus ratification of half of the states, not all the states. Ratification by half of the legislature is required. This is the common trap. They will mark all the states. No, ratification by half of the state legislatures. Okay. So special majority plus ratification by half of the state legislature is required for modifying federal features. So that is rigidity of the constitution. So if you are showing, sir, that much of rigidity, that means you are giving more prominence to state level also. Therefore, it is a federal feature again. But flexibility of the constitution. The constitution, you are not making it that rigid. You are making it flexible by actually making parliament amend the constitution without even state consent. There are certain provisions in the constitution which do not require the state consent, and parliament can do it. For example, international agreements, they do not require state consent. So that is flexibility of the constitution, and that is a unitary feature again. And next we have independent judiciary. And now let us say independent and integrated. Okay. Independent implies, see, Supreme Court, it acts as the final arbitrator to settle disputes. Okay. And then for states, you are having high courts again. So basically the judiciary, it is independent body. So if you are saying independence of judiciary, then it is a federal feature. For example, if there are any disputes between the state and center, then what is the independent judiciary going to do? It is going to resolve the dispute, and so that it will maintain the separation of powers. This balance will be maintained. So independence of judiciary, it will make sure that the state is getting justice, and center is not overriding the state. Okay. So independent judiciary, it is a federal feature. But unitary, there is an integrated judiciary. Integrated judiciary implies you are taking high court, Supreme Court, entire thing as one common court, right? You are not treating high court as separate entity. So all of them are integrated. The integrated judiciary, it's a unitary again. Okay. And then bicameralism. For example, you are having Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha, it is representing states, right? Therefore, it is providing a federal feature. Therefore, bicameralism, it's a federal feature. But unequal state representation in the Rajya Sabha, it is likely said that it is a unitary feature. Because see, even at the central level, what you are doing based upon the population, you are determining how many seats must go to that state for the Rajya Sabha, right? Therefore, unequal state representation, you are taking whole India as a consideration, not just the state. When you are taking whole India into consideration, then of course it will become a unitary feature. So most of the people will get confused here. Independent judiciary, that is independent judiciary is a federal feature. And then rigidity of the constitution is a federal feature. Written constitution is a federal feature. सिंगल पे लोग कंफ्यूज नहीं होंगे, तो वो तो यूनिटरी ही है. एंड पार्लियामेंट्री अथॉरिटी, दैट इज ऑल्सो यूनिटरी, एवरीवन नोस. फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, यू आर इजीली फ्लेक्सिंग इट विदाउट इवन टेकिंग स्टेट कंसेंट. तो यहाँ पे भी कोई वो लेना देना नहीं है. इंटीग्रेटेड ऑल्सो विल नॉट बी कंफ्यूज. एंड unequal state representation, maybe there is a confusion, but see, whole India you are taking it, and based on that you are allocating seats in the Rajya Sabha. Therefore, it's a unitary feature. Bicameralism, it's a federal feature, and division of powers is a federal feature. Dual polity is also a federal feature. Now let us try to attempt some MCQ. Before attempting MCQ, I want you to tell some more unitary feature. For example, states are indestructible. So you are saying states are indestructible. Therefore, it's a unitary feature, right? Because the states, they cannot destruct on their own. They are indestructible. Parliament, it has the ultimate power. Article 2 and 3. Parliament has the power to alter the boundaries, names of the states, and they are the indestructible union of the destructible states. Implies if Parliament wants, it can even destruct it. Okay, they are the indestructible union of the destructible states, something like that. So therefore, Parliament, it has the power. Article 2 and 3, Parliament bylaw, without even the state consent. That can happen. So therefore, that is the power of Parliament. Next, single citizenship. Uniform rights for all citizens national-wide. Right? Single citizenship, it is also a unitary feature. For example, आपका citizenship card है. Are you given citizenship of Andhra Pradesh separately and citizenship of India separately? No. You are always called citizen of India. Single citizenship, it's a unitary feature. And then all India services like IAS, IPS, IFS, they are also unitary feature. Governor, all India services, unitary feature. Okay. And then veto power over state bills. तो state bills governor president के लिए reserve करेगा ना. So president he can even perform absolute veto on that. So veto over state bills, it is a unitary feature. Okay. And then emergency provisions, they are unitary features. वहाँ पे federalism क्या है? And integrated audit. CAG का audits, it will be for both center and state. For example, Controller and Auditor General, he will do auditing account for both center and state separately. Center का करेगा, state का करेगा. But CAG is strictly appointed by the president only for both center and state. So therefore, that integrated audit by the CAG, it is also a unitary feature. Now the question, which one of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature? Independence of judiciary. Essential feature, federalism. So federalism, they're not asking unitary, they're asking federalism. Independence of judiciary, as I said, since the judiciary is independent, it is helping to prevail the separation of powers at the union level and state level. Therefore, state is getting its rights, and union dominance is getting controlled by the independence of judiciary. So independence of judiciary safeguarded, it is a federal feature because it is helping states also, right? So therefore, it's a federal feature. Let us see other options also. The union legislature has elected representatives from the constituent units. If union legislature is having elected representatives from constituent units, let's say लोकसभा है, राज्यसभा है, अब राज्यसभा में कोई मेंबर्स होगा ना कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट यूनिट से, क्या ये फेडरल फीचर है या यूनिटरी? वो तो फेडरल फीचर ही है. See, if the question did not have A, I would have marked B, but let's say union legislature has elected representative, Rajya Sabha वो सब है. But if there is no independence of judiciary, then even having elected representatives will not help because center might encroach state, right? So therefore, the best fitting option is A. Other options are also telling you like a union cabinet having elected representatives from regional parties. Fundamental rights are enforceable by court of law. See, you might be confused for B and C, but D, there is no confusion. Fundamental rights are enforced by court of law, but that doesn't mean it is ensuring federalism. Okay, so the best fitting option is independence of judiciary, which is safeguarding the separation of power. Okay, therefore option A is the right answer. The next question: which of the following is not a feature of Indian federalism? There is an independent judiciary in India. Independent judiciary is a federal feature. Just now you have seen. Therefore, first option would be wrong. And next, powers have been clearly divided between center and state. So, वो भी तो federalism हो गया ना. So that is also wrong. The federating units have been given unequal representation in the Rajya Sabha. Unequal representation. This one I can call it a unitary feature because just now I have studied. The fourth option, it is a result of an agreement among the federating units. D option is absolutely correct. All the federating units, they are agreeing and they are becoming one unit. So that is definitely unitary. Federating units have been given unequal representation in Rajya Sabha. Anyways, they are given representation. So for certain extent, it will be called as federal, but unequal, it will be called unitary. But more likely, if you tell me, option D is not having any contradiction. Therefore, we'll go with the best fit option D. Let us look into some previous year questions. The central state relations in India are influenced by provisions of the constitution, of course, planning, conflict of political interest, desire to dictate. So all of them definitely are processes or instruments where center can try to control the state. Okay, so all the four. Central state relations are dependent on, this question is asked many times in the PSC, and answer will be all the four many times. Judicial interpretations, mechanisms, conventions, practices, constitution, provisions. Federal policy involves relation between union and state, relation between states. That can also be a federal policy, relation between the states, and mechanism for cooperation, and mechanism for solving dispute. All of them, they are federal policy if they're asking MCQ questions. So answer will be A, all four. This is a previous year question, UPSC. In respect of central state relation, in which respect have the central state relations been specifically termed as municipal relation? Oh, central state को municipal कब बोलते हैं? Okay, when central control of the state in legislative sphere, central control in the financial sphere, administrative sphere, or in the planning process. So, if central control of the state in the planning process, then it's called municipal relation. Okay, municipal relation is usually adopted by the center when it feels that even at the local levels, center want to control how the state is planning and how the state is welfaring its local people. Center wants to know the plans of the state, and center is involving in the plans of the state. That is municipal relation. In Indian fiscal federal resources are allocated from center to state. Which of the following is not a means of resource allocation? तो सेंटर स्टेट को पैसे देंगी है ना. So which of the following is not a type? For example, in the form of grants in aid, it's possible. Central sponsor is possible, and tax sharing is also there. Grant in aid, central sponsor, tax sharing. But transfer for plan implementation under Gargill formula. This plan implementation के लिए transfer करना resources ये अब नहीं है actually. That municipal thing that we have seen, municipal relation, I think this is not there. ये plan वाली चीज अभी नहीं है. In which part of Indian Constitution legislative relation between center and states are given? That's in which part? It's in both part 11 and 12. Na? Part 10 you finished with scheduled and tribal areas, and then it will start with part 11, relation between union and states, and part 12 is financial something. But yeah, this certain part of this is also part of financial relation, I mean central state relation. Okay, so part 11 will be the big answer, but yeah, certain provisions of part 12 are also part of central state financial relation. I mean, but the question is specifically asking about legislative. See, you know, you have part 11 and you have part 12. Part 11, there are legislative, administrative. And part 12, it's having financial. Legislative, what are the articles? Remember 24, 25, 26. And again, I'll start with the next 5, 6. So 4 is missing. I'll write 4. 255, 263, and this is 293. Right? This 293 is difficult to remember. Somehow I try to memorize. Okay. So anyways, answer is part 11. Indian Constitution presents 3 lists for distribution of power between center and state. Which 2 articles regulate the distribution? You remember, it will start with 24, 25, 26. Na? So the article is starting with 245, legislative relation, right? 245, it talks about territorial extent of central and state legislature, and 246, I said na 2 table, 246, 7th schedule. That is regulating the 3 list, distribution of power. So answer must have 246 for sure. There is only one option where there is 246, and 245, it is the territorial extent of central and state legislation. Anyways, I don't know why they gave this, but yeah, D is the correct answer. They're asking which of the following is empowered to make law for the economic and social planning besides the infants and minors in India. So see, I said welfare related चीजें जो भी है वो concurrent list में है ना? So concurrent list both central and state governments can do it. So option C is correct. Who is vested with residuary power? It's the parliament or center. If they ask, it's okay. So center parliament दोनों साथ साथ नहीं है. So only parliament is there. I'll take it this. अब तो controversy नहीं आया. See this question. Indian constitution vests the residuary power with the union government. देखा? यहाँ पे residuary powers parliament है, यहाँ पे residuary power union government है. So anything can be asked. Can you remember a story by seeing 249? I said you know parliament legislation in the state field that will start with 249, 250, 251 repugnancy hai, and then we add 252, 253. What next? Is this the last? No, there is a certain article related to emergency. I think article 357 is there, right? So these are all there. 249 simple special majority resolution by Rajya Sabha for national interest. So this is national interest, special majority by Rajya Sabha, and then all these 4 they are going to have simple majority. I think state emergency के लिए भी special majority requirement है. Wait, so these 3 they are simple majority. Oh, state emergency is also simple majority. I remember only national emergency has a special majority. Rest state emergency and financial emergency, I think they are a simple majority. Okay. And you know what is 250? 250 talks about national emergency, and 252 upon state request. 253 it's for implementing international agreements. Okay. Now let us say 249. Article 249 of Indian Constitution deals with what? Emergency power of president, nahi, national interest. Rajya Sabha can pass a resolution to amend the state list by passing a resolution with two-third majority. Okay, the validity period of such resolution would be 1 year, right? Now the only option that is talking is D, legislative power of parliament with respect to subjects in the state list. The next immediate question: a resolution passed under clause 1 of Article 249 shall remain in force for a period of not exceeding 1 year. A resolution passed by Rajya Sabha under Article 249 of the Constitution empowering Parliament to legislate on a state subject in national interest remains in force for the same question again, not exceeding 1 year. Many times it's asked. Interstate relation, it's in Article 263. Interstate council may be established by. In the exam hall, you will be confused literally. Remember, Article 263, President can establish interstate council. So it is not mandatory. President can establish. Okay. Remember, it's a constitutional bodies, and constitutional bodies are usually appointed by the president. Okay. So interstate council it is appointed by the president, established by the president. And the next question is about regional councils. Regional councils are nothing but zonal councils. Zonal councils, they are established, they are constituted by whom? It is constituted by State Reorganization Act 1956 that we have seen. Therefore, the answer will be parliamentary laws. Correct, B. How many zonal councils are there? We have 5 zonal councils. Northeast, it is not a zonal council, it is just a council. I mean, Northeast, that is a regional council. Northeast Regional Council. That's all, but it is not a zonal council. And they're asking who chairs the zonal council? The answer is Home Minister. Not a feature of zonal council, yes. Zonal council, they are not constitutional bodies. They're statutory body under State Reorganization Act 1956. Now there's a question with reference to legislative power of the parliament and the state legislative assembly. Consider the following. How many of the above are correct? Only parliament by law can exclude the jurisdiction of High Court from any union territory. Jurisdiction of High Court, I think High Court and Supreme Court, I already said, it belongs to union list. Administration of justice, it's in the concurrent list, but Supreme Court and High Court, they are in the union list. Therefore, only parliament by law can exclude the jurisdiction of High Court from any union territory. This is correct. Second, only the parliament can make laws related to citizenship. That is also in the union list. Correct. Only parliament can make laws with respect to GST. GST, इतना तो मैं बता सकती हूँ कि GST concurrent list में है. Okay. But the question, people will take it correct. No. Only parliament तो people गलत ही टिक करेंगे. But here is the catch. The GST, where the supply of goods or services takes place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. अब interstate trade and commerce में अगर GST use होगी तो वो only parliament करेगी. So read the question completely. If it is interstate trade or commerce GST, of course it is only parliament again. Therefore option D is correct. People will mark 1 and 2 on the floor. But see, read this interstate trade, okay? Very important. In context of Indian polity with reference to the limitations of territorial jurisdiction of the parliament, consider the following. See, 5th schedule, I always get confused कि ये इसका आंसर गवर्नर होगा या फिर प्रेसिडेंट होगा. See, 5th schedule, it has laws applicable to scheduled areas, right? So here, wherever you see, it talks about governor. Governor makes regulation for the peace and good governance, and the governor, he will take care of any regulations related to the transfer of land or allocation of land to the member of schedule or business with respect to money lender. So whatever laws are there, governor will make sure whether that law will apply to that scheduled area or not. Okay, all of them, they're taken care of the governor. तो फिर president क्या करेगा? President का ये होगा कि he will direct a specific part as a scheduled area, and he will either increase the area of scheduled area or alter the scheduled area. Alter the boundaries of the state to the admission into the scheduled area, or rescind or revoke any previous order of the governor. That is also with the president only. Rescind or revoke any previous order of the governor. Okay, for any such things, you need to take a prior consultation of governor. See, if there is any law, and if that law, whether it must apply to scheduled area or not, etc. things, and if you want to make peace and progress in some scheduled area, whatever it is. So for all such things in the 5th schedule, governor will take care. But if the act is specifically saying demarcate a scheduled area और alter the boundaries of a schedule area, ये तो बहुत बड़ी चीज हो गया ना, तो ये प्रेसिडेंट करेगा. Okay, and rescind the previous order or revoke the previous order or create a new orders regarding schedule area. For all such things, president only will do. But for that consent of governor is required. Consent of governor is mandatory. And one more thing that I saw in 5th schedule is that if you are making any changes related to some law or related to some scheduled state or scheduled area, then you need to pass with 2/3 of majority present and voting in each house. In each house, the law must be passed with 2/3 of member present and voting. But that is not seen as a constitutional amendment. Why? Because see, for this you are changing this Assam Regulation Act or something. That is a state act. If you are changing an act, if you are changing a law, if you are amending a law, it will not become a CAA. If you are amending constitution, it will become CAA. If you are amending a law, how can it become CAA? Just because special majority is there, it doesn't imply CAA. That is also mentioned in the constitution. Now let us see. The 5th schedule of the constitution empowers the president to declare the specific act of parliament will not apply. So that is decided by the governor and not president. And next, 6th schedule पूरा governor के हाथ में ही है, इतना तो मुझे पता है. 6th schedule empowers the governor of Assam to direct the certain states of parliament will not apply to the autonomous. ये governor के हाथ में ही है. Certain acts of parliament will not apply to the autonomous district of Assam. It's true. For Assam, it is the case. So this is the 5th schedule now. If I tell you about 6th, that is different again. I'll tell you about sixth. For example, sixth schedule, again, you have governor and you have president. Same. If they are parliament and state laws, then usually they go through governor. Both governor, it goes through governor only for Assam. Uh, even state laws will go through governor for Tripura, Mizoram, and Meghalaya. These are the 4 states that are in the sixth schedule. Fifth schedule has 10 states, na? Those 10 states, CJ mom, what is that? Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Odisha. CJ mom. The CJ mom, and we have Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and then Gujarat, Rajasthan, and then Himachal Pradesh. Okay, our sir said it's USA is not a part, Uttarakhand is not a part, it's Himachal Pradesh. So these are the 10 states which are in the fifth schedule, and sixth schedule you have ATMM. Okay, Assam, Tripura, Mizoram. This is Mizoram, not Manipur. ATMM. M is Meghalaya. Okay, so all the state laws, they must go through governor before finally becoming an act. Okay, they must go through governor, and governor will see whether to apply these acts or not. But specifically parliamentary laws, if you see, for Assam they go through governor, but the rest of the laws, for example, for rest of the states like Tripura, Mizoram, and Meghalaya, the parliamentary laws, they go through president. I mean, they exactly don't go through president; they directly apply. But president, he can suggest modifications. That's all. Parliamentary laws, they directly apply. President can suggest modifications if you want. So that's all. So basically, all state laws will apply to sixth schedule. Parliamentary laws will also apply to sixth schedule, but all of them they must go through governor. But parliamentary laws will apply directly to Tripura, Mizoram, and Meghalaya. But if president want, he can suggest modifications. Now, the sixth schedule empowers the governor of Assam to direct the certain acts of parliament will not apply to autonomous district of Assam. Correct. As I said, for Assam, both parliament and state laws, and Tripura, Mizoram, and Meghalaya, only the state laws, which are in the discretion of governor. Okay. Therefore, since they are talking about Assam, it is correct. And option B. See, T-board के ऊपर question है. T-board is a statutory body and it has offices over Dubai and Moscow. I don't know why this question was asked. I think it's a previous year question. Overseas में हुआ होगा तभी तो ये question आया होगा, है ना? Okay. एंड वन थिंग, मिनिस्ट्री के ऊपर मुझे हमेशा केयरफुल रहना पड़ेगा क्योंकि दिस इज मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉमर्स यूजुअली, एंड बेंगलुरु में कॉफी बोर्ड है, कोलकाता में टी बोर्ड है. सो दिस आर द लिटिल फैक्ट्स दैट आई नो. देयरफॉर इवन इफ आई एलिमिनेट 2 and 3, आई विल कम टू 1 and 4. This question is about a central state legislative relation when an emergency is proclaimed under Article 352. While the proclamation of emergency is in operation, the power of state legislature to make laws on state list is suspended. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा. When if it is a state emergency under Article 356, then the power of state legislature is suspended. If a president want, he can even dissolve. But for national emergency, it runs. But parliamentary laws, they will prevail over state laws in case if there is any repugnancy. Therefore, this statement, first option, will go wrong. Second statement, the laws made by the parliament on state list subjects while the proclamation of emergency was in operation will continue only for 6 months after the proclamation ceased to operate. This is correct. They will continue. They will continue for only 6 months, and after 6 months, they will terminate. Whereas for the state emergency, if you see, they are not coterminous with the emergency end period. These laws, they will continue for indefinite period until the state it enacts a new law to revoke it. Okay. Therefore, option B is correct. As per the Constitution of India, which of the following is authorized to delegate the functions in relation to any matter to which executive authority of state extends to the government of India? So delegate, seeing this word delegate only, you need to remember 2 words. One is mutual delegation and the other is reciprocal delegation. So mutual delegation, they are in Article 258 clause 1, clause 2. Okay. And then there is this 258 clause 3, which is not about mutual delegation, whatever it is. And then we have reciprocal delegation. It is under 258A. Okay. And this is what we have discussed in mutual delegation, reciprocal delegation. What happens in the mutual delegation? Here, president may, with the consent of governor, enters the executive function of union to the state. Okay, president may, with the consent of state government, can entrust executive function of union to state. President may, with the consent of whom? Consent of state government. President may, with the consent of state government, entrust executive function of the union to the state. Okay, that is 258 clause 1. So 258 clause 1 is mutual delegation. Clause 2 is mutual legislation. So what is mutual legislation? Entrustment of the executive function of the center to state without the consent of the state. That's all. So if you are taking consent of the state government, then that is 258 clause 1. If you are not taking consent of state government, then it is 258 clause 2. Okay. So 258 clause 1, president may, with the consent of state government, entrust the executive functions of union to the state. Okay. And without state consent कैसे करेगा president? नहीं कर सकता है. So parliament via a law, it can entrust executive functions of the union to the state without any state consent. Okay, that is 258 clause 2. So this is mutual delegation and this is mutual legislation, 258 clause 2. And next we have 258 clause 3. For example, due to whatever president or parliament, ये parliament है, ये president है. So due to whatever president or parliament is doing, if state is incurring extra cost, such extra cost shall be borne by whom? Shall be borne by center. Okay, union. Okay, this is in 258 clause 3. That is about extra cost. Okay. Basically mutual delegation clause 1, mutual legislation clause 2. Legislation में क्या होगी? Without state consent, state government consent होगी. And we have reciprocal delegation. Reciprocal delegation, it was introduced through an amendment. Which amendment is this? 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. Okay. Reciprocal है बस उतना ही. That is simple. Like governor with the consent of central government entrust executive function of the state to the union. That is 258A. That's all. Reciprocal delegation. इसका opposite है बस. Now let us see. As per the constitution, which one of the following authorities is authorized to delegate the functions in relation to any matter in which executive power of the state extends to the government of India? So who will extend executive power of state? Governor, right? Governor can extend executive power of the state to the union with the consent of union government or central government. So governor is the one who can entrust the executive power of the state to the union. Okay. Therefore governor of the state with the consent of सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, दैट इज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. ऑप्शन डी. देखना यहाँ पे पार्लियामेंट ऑफ इंडिया भी है. अब मैंने बताया ना कि वो पार्लियामेंट नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट है. विद द कंसेंट ऑफ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. आई एम नॉट सेइंग विद द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर, एंड हियर आल्सो विद द कंसेंट ऑफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. ओके, हम कंसेंट लेंगे गवर्नमेंट का. लेजिस्लेचर से हम कंसेंट कैसे ले सकते हैं, है ना? सो इट इज द गवर्नमेंट, गवर्नर ऑफ द स्टेट विद द कंसेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. ऑप्शन डी. Therefore, one thing if you see, for center is having two options. It can either do an agreement, which is delegation, or it can do legislation. So center has two options, either delegation, which is an agreement, or it's legislation. तो with the consent of state government भी कर सकते हैं, without consent of state government भी कर सकते हैं center. लेकिन state बेचारा गवर्नर with consent of central government ही करेगा. Okay, that is only through agreement. With agreement, governor में extend the executive power of the state to the government of India, that is union. Okay, option D. Question in context of Indian polity, consider the following. It's assertion and reason based question. Final judgments or orders delivered or passed by the civil courts. Okay, passed by the civil courts in any part of territory of India are capable of execution anywhere within the territory of India. See, civil courts, this is correct. It is in Article 216 Clause 3. The final judgments, they're capable of being executed anywhere within territory of India. This is due to full faith and credit clause. There is this full faith and credit clause that will enable civil courts judgments to be executed throughout the territory of India. Okay, they are saying the statement to us, as per the Constitution of India, all civil courts are a court of records. No, there are only two courts under court of records. One is Supreme Court and the other is High Court. That's all. Only two courts. Therefore, this option will be utter wrong. All civil courts are not court of records. Only High Court and Supreme Court, they are the court of records. Yes, they are being executed all over the territory of India. That is due to full faith and credit clause. Okay, therefore, option D, statement 2 is wrong. Now let us see next question. See, with reference to interstate council, consider the following. Constitution makes it mandatory for the president to establish for every 5th year. ऐसा कुछ हमने पढ़ा नहीं है ना आर्टिकल 263 में. It says that president can establish interstate council to investigate and discuss subjects of common interest, and there was an interstate council that was established in the year of 1990. उसके बाद मुझे नहीं लगता every 5th year पे establish हुआ. Okay, this is wrong. The interstate council possesses adjudicating powers on disputes between the state governments and between the union and the state governments. One thing in the interstate council that we studied is the council function is advisory, and adjudicating power, it lies with the Supreme Court. So basically, interstate council, it is complementary to Supreme Court jurisdiction. Okay, jurisdiction power lies with the Supreme Court. Interstate council, it will just advise, and based upon that, Supreme Court might give some adjudication. Therefore, adjudication power with interstate council would become wrong. Okay, whatever decision that Supreme Court give, it will become binding. Interstate council, it is under Article 263. If you see Article 262, it is different. Okay, in Article 262, for example, it says it has two clauses, clause 1 and clause 2. Parliament by law, it can provide for adjudication. The article itself talks about adjudication in the 262 clause 1, and then the article also says that Parliament can put a law to bar adjudication of Supreme Court and High Court regarding any such disputes, and for that Parliament actually passed law. For example, Parliament has passed this law. What is that law? I can't remember. Interstate River Water Dispute Act 1956. Here, in this act, it was specifically said that Parliament, I mean Centre, it gave power to the Centre to set up a ad hoc tribunal for 2 or more state. Ad hoc tribunal implies temporary tribunal. That tribunal will resolve the dispute, and it is the whatever jurisdiction or whatever judgment the tribunal gives, that is binding, that is final and binding. Okay, so ad hoc tribunal के पास इतनी powers है. Supreme Court और High Court के powers के ऊपर बार भी लगाया गया. For what? That is for interstate water dispute. Okay, 262, 222 flow. To Yamuna to Ganga, 222 flow. Okay, that is water. So for interstate water dispute, there is a bar on Supreme Court or High Court jurisdiction, and jurisdiction, it is governed by a tribunal, ad hoc tribunal, which is set up by the Centre. Okay, and not only interstate river water dispute, there is River Board Act also. River Board Act in the same year 1956, it was established by the Centre on the request of concerned state governments also. Similarly, there also I think there is some tribunal whose judgments are finally binding. Therefore, if it is interstate council, you should tick mark adjudicating powers as wrong. But if it is interstate river water dispute related, then of course you need to tick mark adjudicating powers as correct. So now they are asking 263, that is interstate council. Interstate council, it is just an advisory body. Okay, it is just an advisory body, that's all. And adjudicating power, it lies to Supreme Court, which is complementary to its function. And tell me, who is the head of the interstate council? It is the Prime Minister, Chief Minister, and Chief Minister of whom? Of states, union territories without legislature. So UTs with legislature, sorry. CMs, all the CMs, they are going to be the deputy chair. Okay, vice chair. And then we are going to have UTs ka administrators of UTs, governors of the states, and then 6 cabinet ministers. 6 में कौन होगा? एक तो home minister होगा हमेशा, and then other ministers. Okay, home minister plus other ministers, 6 cabinet ministers. So it consists of Prime Minister, Chief Ministers of states and UTs with legislature, administrators, governors, and then 6 cabinet ministers, including the home minister. Okay, and this was set up in the year of 1990, and I think in the year of 1996 they set up a standing committee. It was set up in 1996, and it has Union Home Minister, 5 Union Cabinet Minister, and 9 Chief Ministers, which is difficult to memorize. Okay, I'll just remember that 1996 में standing committee set up हुआ, and उसमें Union Home Minister है, and then 1991 में Secretariat set up हुआ उसका, Interstate Council Secretariat. Okay, that's all I try to recall. Okay, therefore option D सही होगा इसके लिए. Who holds the final authority to dismiss or remove all India service officer posted in a state? Okay, that's ultimately the president. इसमें सोचने की बात क्या है? Not associated to the Governor Council of नीति आयोग. नीति आयोग प्राइम मिनिस्टर है. अब बाकी लोग तो होगा चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट एंड यूटीज. प्रेसिडेंट इज ऑड ऑप्शन. आई डिड नॉट सी प्रेसिडेंट इन द काउंसिल्स एनीवेयर. तो टिक मार्क प्रेसिडेंट immediately. Since we are studying fiscal federalism, let us see this polity common history question. In context of fiscal federalism during British rule, which one of the following acts for the first time provided the complete separation between the central and provincial acts? It is 1919 Montagu-Chelmsford. So there you got to see central state differences. Revise your historical background. Okay, Government of India 1919. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976 transferred which of the following subjects from the state list to the concurrent list? So 42nd I remember education. Education में हमने क्या पढ़ा? Weights and measures. And there I have seen that the kids must also know about forest and the protection of wildlife. Protection of wildlife, animals and birds. And then what did I see? Administration of justice के बारे में भी जानकारी होना चाहिए बच्चों को. Okay, administration of justice. So these are the 5 things under the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. Okay, forest correct. This is in concurrent, but it is not through 42nd. So I will tick 1, 2, and then this is in concurrent, but it's not through 42nd again. Land records, I think it's in the state list 1 and 3, option A. Do you remember the zonal councils? See, zonal councils, I know center में umbrella है. Catch my umbrella uncle. तो पहले मैं catch my umbrella, it is central zonal council. Catch my umbrella uncle. So Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, what else is there? Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So these are the central zonal councils. And in northeast, I remember simply northeastern states plus Sikkim. There are 7 sisters. What are the 7 sisters that you know, right? Arunachal, Assam, and then you have Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya, right? Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal. They are the 7 sisters, and 7 sisters plus Sikkim. And they are the northeastern zonal councils. Okay, and next what else you have? You have southern zonal council. They are very easy. All kids keep talking to parents. That is what I remember. Kids keep talking to parents. Anyways, even without mnemonic I can easily say Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, and then you have Telangana and Puducherry. Okay, yeah, and then that is about southern zonal council, south. Okay, this is northeastern zonal council. This is central zonal council, and then what else is left? Western zonal council. I remember it with good guys make dinners, not dramas. Okay, good guys make dinner, not dramas. It is also very easy to remember without mnemonic. For example, Gujarat, I have Gujarat, Goa, and Maharashtra, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Okay, they are the western zonal councils. And next we have northern zonal council. North is also easy. Whatever is remaining in the north, that will be there. Okay, and next we have eastern zonal council. That is also whatever is remaining in the east, that will be there. Okay, for example, Bihar north में नहीं होगी, यहीं पे होगी. Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal. They are बिजो. Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal, they belong to Eastern Zonal Council. And North में अब क्या क्या मिसिंग है? Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, we have Haryana, Punjab, and then Haryana, Punjab के बीच में सेंटर में चंडीगढ़ है, दिल्ली है, and then the last but not least Rajasthan. Okay. So these are the states in the Northern Zonal Council. Now let us try to attempt an MCQ. Which one of the following state or UTs are included in the Northern Zonal Council? So Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, हम कहीं और पे डिस्कस नहीं किया. अब नॉर्थ में हुआ ही होगा ना, हमने डिस्कस नहीं किया. बट आई थिंक हिमाचल प्रदेश इज ऑल्सो देयर. राजस्थान एनसीटी दिल्ली. जस्ट मार्क दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड व्हाटएवर इज रिमेनिंग जस्ट राइट इट इन द नॉर्थ. सो राजस्थान एनसीटी करेक्ट. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई सी उत्तर प्रदेश, इट इज नॉट इन द नॉर्थ, इट इज इन द कैच में अम्ब्रेला अंकुल, उत्तर प्रदेश उत्तराखंड. देयरफॉर दिस इज रॉन्ग. एंड अगेन वी हैव उत्तर प्रदेश उत्तराखंड, इट्स इन द सेंट्रल, एंड उत्तर प्रदेश उत्तराखंड इट्स इन द सेंट्रल. एलिमिनेट. ओके, ऑप्शन बी. See, this question is related to bodies, constitutional bodies. Okay, as per the constitution, election commission of India shall consist of CEC and other two. It's not as per constitution, it is as per CEC and other election commissioner act which set the composition. So obviously this even if you listen this CEC and other election commissioner, you can easily know it is not as per constitution. But yes, ECI, it's under article 324, it's in the constitution, it's a constitutional body, I agree. But this provision, it is not in the constitution. Okay, the chief election commissioner can only be removed from office in like manner on like grounds of a judge of Supreme Court. This is correct. And yeah, his removal process is similar to judge of Supreme Court, and no civil or criminal proceedings can be initiated against the CEC or election commissioners for action taken in discharge of their official duties. That is also correct. Option B. Yeah, that is the immunity that they are getting. So no civil or criminal proceedings can be initiated against the CEC. So that is actually 100% correct. MM Punche Commission on Central State has recommended the disposal of bill reserved for the consideration of union executive within. Okay. Actually, disposal of bill within 6 months, that's a common question. But anyways, now currently Supreme Court, I think it's saying that there should be no timeline. It just says as soon as possible. It does not put any strict timeline. Therefore, 6 months is the correct answer here. That is MM Punchi Commission. अब नहीं पूछेगा ये सवाल. The next question is talking about electricity tax. See, you know, right? Electricity tax, it comes under state list. But electricity, it is part of concurrent list, right? Now let us try to attempt this question. Article 287 also. Under Article 287, it specifically says that state legislature cannot pass a law where cannot pass a law. State legislature cannot pass a law which imposes tax on consumption or sale of electricity where the consumer is government of India. Okay, that is the clause A. And in the B, it says that if the electricity tax is related to railway, then also state cannot impose tax. So Article 287 says that state legislature cannot impose a tax. State legislature cannot pass a law which imposes tax on electricity where the consumer is government of India or railway company operated by government of India. So state legislature cannot do that unless parliament by law tells. Unless parliament by law tells state that you can impose tax on us, usually state legislature should not do it. Or parliament क्यों बोलेगी नहीं बोलेगी, है ना? That is Article 287. Okay, now let us see. A state legislature introduces a bill that imposes tax on the consumption of electricity by the government of India in that state. In this context, which one of the following given below is correct? So when parliament by law authorizes the same, then only the state legislature can pass that bill, right? That is 38 question. Let us try to attempt a question on Zonal Council. The idea for establishment of Zonal Council was first mooted by the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Actually, Zonal Council, it was formed in the year of, maybe State Reorganization Act 1956. This was the act which said that Zonal Councils must be there, and all the Zonal Councils together, they are going to have a common chairman, that is Home Minister. Yes, I think it might be Pandit Nehru because वो भी उसी time पे थे. हो सकता है, I will take mark, right? In case a union territory is part of Zonal Council, 2 members from such territory is nominated by the President to the Zonal Council. Of course, I don't know this answer, so I'll mark it wrong. I'll think about it later. Presently, all states in India are included in the Zonal Councils. I also don't know this. You need to know very important thing that I forgot to tell you. See, this is our Indian map, right? We have seen north, south, east, west. But there is this northeast zonal council which you have seen. Actually, it is not northeast zonal council. It is northeast council. That is not a zonal council. Okay, they are not part of zonal councils. So all states included would be wrong because northeast zonal council nahi hai, just a council hai bas to take care of these northeastern states which were neglected in these zonal councils. That is why they set up separately northeastern council. This is set up under Northeast Council Act of 1972. The third option would be wrong, and second one is factual one. Even if I don't know second one, let me eliminate 3 and I'm coming with B and D. I know first is correct, therefore option will be D. Okay, second is factual, that is also correct. In case of a union territory, in case if a union territory is part of zonal council, 2 members of such territory is nominated by the president to the zonal council. Okay, you need to remember this fact. और ये नॉर्थ साउथ ईस्ट वेस्ट जोनल काउंसिल जो मैंने बताया, इसका कॉमन चेयरमैन तो होम मिनिस्टर होगा, एंड देन दे आर गोइंग टू हैव चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑन रोटेशन बेसिस, एंड देन व्हाट नेक्स्ट? Home minister, chief ministers of all states on rotation basis, and then you're going to have 2 other ministers from each zone. You're going to have 2 ministers from each zone, and then administrators of UTs, and there are some people who don't have right to vote. They are also going to be there. For example, members nominated by the Niti Aayog, and chief secretary of government of each state, and development commissioner of each state. All of them, they're going to be part of zonal council. Okay, now let us see next question. One more thing. Northeast Council, it was established under Northeast Council Act 1972, which I think I already said. Next question. We adopted parliamentary democracy based on the British model, but how does our model differ from that of British model? So parliamentary और British model, हमारे इंडिया का मॉडल और ब्रिटिश मॉडल कैसे डिफरेंट है? दोनों में parliamentary model है. See, first option, let us see. As regards legislation, the British parliament is supreme or sovereign, but in India, power of parliament to legislate is limited. Yes, India में parliament का power limited है, correct. Okay, in India, matters related to constitutionality of amendment of an act of the parliament are referred to constitutional bench of the Supreme Court. That is also correct. Okay, option C. Okay. Now they are asking which one of the following provisions of Indian Constitution reflect the asymmetric character of Indian federal system. Okay, second schedule क्या है? You know tiers of 4 PM, territories, tiers of tiers of old PM I think. Okay, territories, emoluments. See, emoluments में मुझे नहीं दिख रहा है, territories में भी फेडरलिज्म नहीं दिख रही मुझे. Affirmations and R, राज्यसभा तो for sure. Okay, 4th schedule is for sure, and this is a schedule. See, here also state is getting certain weightage, right? See, territory, emolument, affirmations, all of them, they look like unitary features for me. But when I came to 4th schedule, Rajya Sabha, it is a federal feature, and then scheduled areas. See, in the 5th schedule, another schedule. In the 5th schedule and 6th schedule, I see that governor is getting power to decide about the peace and good governance of the local areas, and then even if a law is coming from the parliament or state legislature, governor is getting power to whether to accept the law or not. And then I think governor also has the power to establish tribal advisory council. So all of them, both of these schedules are giving more powers to the governor, right? Therefore 5th and 6th will also be correct, option B. So they are asking special provisions for Nagaland under Article 371 of the Constitution. Which of the following are correct? President of India has special responsibility with respect to the law and order in the state so far as long, in his or her opinion, internal disturbances in the state continue. Law and order, okay, you need to remember this, it's a governor. Okay, law and order यूजुअली लोकल लेवल पे होगा और लॉ एंड ऑर्डर लोकल गवर्नमेंट और वो उस लेवल पे होगा. सो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर का सवाल तो छोटी चीज़ है, एंड इट इज गवर्नर ऑफ इंडिया हु हैव द स्पेशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी विद रिस्पेक्ट टू लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इन द स्टेट सो फॉर सो लॉन्ग एज इन हिज और हर ओपिनियन इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंसेस इन द स्टेट कंटिन्यू. ओके, दिस इज गवर्नर. नेक्स्ट, an act of parliament relating to the ownership and transfer of land and its resources shall not apply to state of Nagaland unless the legislative assembly of the state decides otherwise by resolution. हाँ, ये तो स्पेशल प्रोविजन हो गया ना, पार्लियामेंट का लॉ अप्लाई नहीं करेगी, शैल नॉट अप्लाई अनलेस द स्टेट लेजिस्लेटिव ऑफ नागालैंड अदरवाइज डिसाइड्स बाय रिजोल्यूशन। ये तो सही बात है, वरना इसको स्पेशल क्यों बोलेंगे, है ना? सो आई थिंक 2 इज करेक्ट, देयरफॉर ऑप्शन बी। I think not all matters, certain matters such as religious or social practice, Naga customary law, administration of civil and criminal justice, ownership and transfer of land, all these laws they shall not apply by shall not apply to Nagaland. Okay, I mean, if Parliament want to do anything on this, then it should first be passed by the state legislature of Nagaland. Option B is the correct answer. Here they are asking relating to the ownership and transfer of land. So in the 371A1, what did we see? Religious and social practice, civil and criminal justice, ownership and transfer of land. Okay. So polity, economy, environment. This is how I remember. Polity, religious and social practices, culture. Polity, civil and criminal justice. It comes under polity, right? Civil and criminal justice. And economics. Economics तो है नहीं उसमें, है ना? Economics and environment मिला के क्या है? It is ownership and transfer of land, right? And next, what did we have? Social, religious and social practices, pestle approach. Okay, social, religious and social practices. So these three, remember at least these three. So in the economics part, we have seen ownership and transfer of land. That is there. So Nagaland has a special provision for that. Now try to do a guesswork. Population control, family planning. I said it is a concurrent list. जो भी welfare related चीजें हैं सारे concurrent list में. Public health and sanitation, it is state list. Trade union, it is something labor union, labors and all. I think I saw in concurrent only. Therefore, only 2 are correct. Labor related, labor welfare, social security, what and all. Trade union also, I saw it in concurrent. Parliament can make law on matters listed in list 2. So parliament legislation in state list. Okay, that is possible in certain scenarios. That one I discussed. From where are you going to start it? I'll start it from Article 249, national interest, and 250, national emergency, and then 251 is correspondency, and then 252 upon the state's request, and then 253 implementation of international agreements. And what did I see? For national interest, it is 2/3 of members present and voting, and for all these three, it is simple majority. Okay. The parliament can make laws in the list to state list if the council of states. So 2/3 of members present and voting in the national interest, it must be passed by the Rajya Sabha, right? So if I see they are asking which one of the following is current. Such a resolution is considered as passed if it is supported by majority of the members who are actually present. A majority of the members becomes total membership, right? 50% of total members, something that is I did not listen it. Once passed, such a resolution remains in force for a maximum period of 6 months. This is also something I did not listen. The validity period for this is 1 year. That one I know. For 249, the validity period is 1 year. This provision does not restrict the power of state legislature to make laws on the same matter. This is correct. I did not listen that a state legislature will not have the power. This is correct. Laws enacted by the parliament through a resolution remain valid after the expiration of the resolution unless repealed by the respective state legislature. No, because I said no, there is an expiry period of 1 year. So this option is wrong. The only option that we saw is C. Option C is correct. We have 2 types of grants where examiner might switch in the exam hall. Okay, what are those 2? One is discretionary, another is statutory. Statutory, it is under Article 275, and discretionary, it is under Article 282. Let's see. See, you know statutory grant, right? It is in the 275. What else do you know? They are charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, and they are mandatory to give. And they are mandatory. These grants are mandatory for the welfare of tribal people, scheduled area, people who are living in the scheduled areas. They're tribal only, and also financial aid to the needy state. They are in need. That's why grants must be there. Okay, financial aid to needy state, and also schemes for development. So all such schemes they require money from the center. That is why statutory grant is there. Okay, under Article 275, it is mandatory for the central government to lend grants to the needy states, tribal people, and scheduled area welfare or development of states. For all such things, the Finance Commission is going to recommend. So based upon the recommendation of Finance Commission, you will decide it. Okay, and they will be charged from the Consolidated Fund of India. Now, what is discretionary? It is under Article 282, and it is not mandatory. It is not from the Consolidated Fund. It is rather it's from the central resources, and there is no recommendation of a Finance Commission is required. And if central government wants, it is optional for the central government. If central government wants for any public purpose, whether it is for planning or whether you need to improve central state coordination, it is optional for the central government to issue these discretionary grants. Now, in the questions, they will jumble this 275 with 282. This question we have seen now. Center direction to state can happen in 3 things: 257 clause 3, and there is 275 which talks about grants to states, right? That is welfare of scheduled tribes, and then 350A for mother tongue. So on these 4 issues, center can give direction. Now consider the following regarding provisions related to the grants from the union to certain states under 275. What is 275? It is about mandatory grant. Why? Because you are giving it to scheduled tribes, right? It is mandatory grant. Center must definitely give. It is mandatory grant charged upon Consolidated Fund of India, and it is recommended by the Finance Commission. Okay, now let us see. The union can grant aid to states for any public purpose which may not be mentioned in any existing statute. This is wrong. For any public purpose. Actually, public purpose, they are talking about Article 282, which is statutory grant. Okay, that is where examiner is trying to confuse you. And next, they are given to states based on the recommendation of Finance Commission. That is correct. Mandatory grants, they are given on the basis of recommendation of Finance Commission. Therefore, I will mark B. Look into some more questions. Consider the following constitutional authorities in India. How many of the above, after they cease to hold respective offices, are eligible to further hold any other office? So, how many of the above are basically having future employment? That is what they are asking. And you know, CAG, he prepares audit. he prepares audit and sends it to whom? CAG report बनाएगा बहुत लंबा report which is greater than economic survey वाला pages, and then that report will be sent to the president if it is for union, and it will be sent to the governor if it is for state, and president क्या करेगा, दोनों houses के ऊपर बेच देगा. So he president is responsible to lay down the report in front of both the houses, and similarly even the governor. Okay. And then ये लोकसभा राज्यसभा क्या करेगी, पब्लिक अकाउंट कमेटी को रिक्वेस्ट करेगी, एंड पब्लिक अकाउंट कमेटी इट विल एग्जामिन द रिपोर्ट ऑफ द सीएजी, एंड पब्लिक अकाउंट कमेटी कैन इवन समन सीएजी अगेन, एंड फाइनली ये एक और रिपोर्ट तैयार करेगी, and that report will be laid in front of the speaker or the chairman of the house. So that's how it works. So basically CAG he knows a lot of things. So the audit report, it might have certain things that might favor the government also. So therefore we thought that if CAG is reappointed, then he might favor the future government, and if CAG is allowed for future employment in lucrative government posts, then also it will not account to transparency. Therefore CAG must not have future employment and reappointment. And then we have seen Attorney General of India. He's just an advocate lawyer. Come on, isko to hum future employment reappointment dono denge. He works on the pleasure of president, right? And then we have UPSC. UPSC is also the same thing. For example, a candidate he went to the exam hall, UPSC interview, but UPSC it disqualified him, and then the same candidate applied for the next year. Next year also that guy will be disqualified, so he will not get the same chance. Because why? The board examiner is always the same person. तो reappointment होगा तो same person ही interview करेगा, तो मैं हमेशा disqualify हो जाऊंगा, या फिर he already knows that how I'm going to perform, so he might lift up directly my loopholes. So therefore reappointment it is not possible. And future employment, see, if UPSC future employment is allowed ना, अगर कोई VIP का बेटी UPSC लिख रहे तो मैं उसको ही फेवर करूंगा, क्योंकि future employment is available. Therefore there is no future employment and there is no reappointment available for UPSC. Okay. And next we have members of the finance commission. That I'm actually not sure reappointment का. अरे I just recalled finance या फिर attorney general. I mean he's why attorney general of India is given future and reemployment, क्योंकि उतना है नहीं, he's just a lawyer working for the pleasure of president, right? Finance commission, it is an advisory body. Okay. And it sends a report to whom? It sends its report, it sends its recommendation to president, right? तो why tell me कि finance commission में ना 5 लोग हैं, chairman and 4 members appointed by the president, and this finance commission is going to recommend the president only. But then tell me why? I mean finance में उतना क्या चीज है भाई? Yeah, you can be reappointed and तेरे को future employment भी है. Similar to advocate, similar to a lawyer, it is similar to finance. They are just some streams. Okay, they have both reappointment and future employment. Okay. Therefore, the question is asking how many of the above are eligible to further hold any other office under government of India. That's whom? That's basically 2. क्या था final answer? For CAG, it's there is no reappointment future employment. For UPSC also there is no reappointment future employment. AG and Finance Commission, they are having both, so only 2 is the correct option. Consider the following bodies: NHRC, Lokpal, CVC, and CRC. The committee making recommendation for appointment of members to how many of the above bodies consist of Speaker of Lok Sabha? So what do you remember? I remember National Human Rights Commission. It was formed under the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Okay, 1993. My mnemonic was that 1 or 3. Last दोनों को निकालूंगी, 1 3 बन जाएगा. And I can split into chairperson plus 5 plus 7. 1 plus 5 plus 7 करूंगी. Okay. तो ये है composition. Now what is the term period? It is 3 और यहाँ से 3, यहाँ से 7 उठा लो. 3 और 70 is the term period. That is for the National Human Rights Commission. But remember, if it is State Human Rights Commission, they are not having 13 members. They are having 3 members, chairperson plus 2 other members. Okay. And what's the tenure for them? For them, the tenure is again 3 or 70. It's the same tenure, 3 or 70. Okay. And then what did we still see? National Human Rights Commission कौन appoint करेगा? Remember, ये लोग कौन लोग हैं? For example, 5. These 5 full-time members. Who are these 5 full-time members? One is the Supreme Court retired or serving judge, and the other is Chief Justice of High Court. Again, he can be serving or retired. And then the other 5 members, they are having some special knowledge in human rights. Okay. These are the 5 full-time members, and 7 part-time members. They can be National Commission for Minorities, Women, SC, ST, OBC, Children, Protection of Child Rights, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, and Chief Commissioner for Physically Handicapped. Okay. Minority Women, National Commission for SC, ST, OBC, and PCR. You know the composition, good person, but you know who is appointing this composition? What is the search committee? Okay, you need to know the search committee for them, right? You know what? You know that they're 6 member. They belong to 6 member because NHRC इतना बड़ा है तो सर्च कमेटी में 6 मेंबर्स होंगे. हमने क्या देखा और CVC SIC में क्या देखा? CVC CIC में हमने ये देखा है कि ये लोग 3 मेंबर का कमेटी, क्योंकि नाम ही इतना छोटा है तो इनका कमेटी थोड़ा छोटा कमेटी होगी. 3 मेंबर कमेटी, सिलेक्शन कमेटी विल बी 3 मेंबर. फॉर CVC CIC नाम ही छोटा है, एंड देन NHRC इसका नाम ही बड़ा है तो इनका सिलेक्शन कमेटी बड़ा होगी. 6 मेंबर का कमेटी होगी. ओके, दे आर हैविंग 6 मेंबर्स. एंड नेक्स्ट टेल मी नाउ हु एंड ऑल आर द मेंबर्स. देखना, ये 6 में हमेशा प्राइम मिनिस्टर होगा, 3 में भी हमेशा प्राइम मिनिस्टर होगा. ओके. एंड देन वी आर हैविंग लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन ऑफ बोथ द हाउसेस, दैट इज लोकसभा एंड राज्यसभा. टोटल बन गया कितना? 3. एंड देन वी नीड टू सी द रिमाइनिंग 3 हु कैन बी देयर. द रिमाइनिंग इज द होम मिनिस्टर. होम मिनिस्टर इज गोइंग टू बी देयर. एंड देन वी आर हैविंग लोकसभा का स्पीकर एंड डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन. ओके, लोकसभा का स्पीकर, राज्यसभा का डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन. हाँ, चेयरमैन क्यों नहीं है मतलब मैं क्या बताऊँ, अब वो तो वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, वो आदमी नहीं है यहाँ पे। ओके, सो बेसिकली वी आर हैविंग टोटल 6 प्राइम मिनिस्टर, होम मिनिस्टर, लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन ऑफ Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and then we are having a speaker from Lok Sabha and deputy speaker from Rajya Sabha, total 6 members. They are the people who are going to uh, elect this composition, I mean select this composition, which is having 13 members, which consists of chairperson plus 5 full-time members and 7 part-time members. And 5 full-time members में दो लोग कैसे होना चाहिए? One is a retired or serving Supreme Court judge, the other is retired or serving High Court Chief Justice. Okay. And 7 full-time members for different minority groups, National Commission for Minorities, Women, SC, ST, OBC, Children, and then physically handicapped. Okay, that's all. And CVC, CIC का देखेंगे, पहले क्या देखेंगे? CIC देखेंगे ना. CIC is having, see if it is for CIC ना, it is going to, the search committee is going to have Prime Minister, and then Lok Sabha ka leader of opposition, not Rajya Sabha, 3 members only, right? So Lok Sabha ka leader of opposition, and then we are having a member who is nominated by the Prime Minister. Okay, some member nominated by Prime Minister. So these 3 members are going to constitute the selection committee, and the selection committee will appoint that NHRC, National Human Rights Commission. And next we also have CVC. CVC कैसे triangle लेंगे? It has Prime Minister, leader of opposition, and then ये दोनों सेम है, CIC और CVC में लोकसभा का लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन रहेगा, एंड CVC में लेकिन होम मिनिस्टर रहेगा, because CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, it's an advisory body which comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Therefore, the other member is definitely whom? Definitely the Home Minister. Three members, right? So other member will be Home Minister. By the way, this is the selection committee, right? So CIC is going to elect how many members? I'm going to constitute how many members? I remember 11 members. 1 plus 10, chairperson plus other members. Okay. What about CVC? CVC, it's a statutory body under CVC Act 2005. हाँ ये भी बोलेंगे RTI 2005. चलो हाँ CVC 2003 sorry. हाँ CVC 2003, CIC 2005, RTI Act 2005. Anyways, so CIC is going to constitute 11 members. What about CVC? CVC, it got statutory status in 2003, but according to me, CVC and CBI, both of them, they are established in 1964 after Santanam resolution, if I remember. And the appointing body, CJ, I mean, I know this CBI में भी यही है, Prime Minister, लोकसभा का leader of opposition, and then we are having Chief Justice of India, CBI का. Okay, CBI we are having Chief Justice of India, CVC we are having this. Anyways, how many members is the CVC appointing? The main question. 3 letters है तो 3. This is what I remember for CVC. 3 members, C plus 2M. Okay, and what about CBI? How many members? That number of members, it is not fixed actually. Okay, that number of members is not fixed for CBI, because CBI na, it is an executive body. CVC is a statutory body and 3 members. CIC, I से दिख रहा है 11 members. Okay, and who is appointing? We are clear. CVC, it comes under Ministry of Home Affairs, so the third person is a Home Minister. But CIC, Prime Minister, Lok Sabha ka leader of opposition, someone nominated by the Prime Minister. So these people, they are going to constitute the body. Now the question is also asking about Lokpal. Lokpal, Consact. Okay, NHRC Consact, Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Central Vigilance Commission 2003 है ना. CVC Act 2003, CIC, RTI Act 2005, Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013. एंड आई सेड पाल देख के मुझे 50% याद आ जाएगा, या लोकपाल एंड लोकयुक्त तक 2013 करेक्ट, बट यू नो मुझे पाल देख के ही याद आ रहा है, या फिर पाल देख के मुझे तो 5 याद आ रही है, एंड 2013 2 + 0 + 1 + 3 ये बन गया 6. ओके, 6 को रिवर्स किया 9, so it is having 9 maximum numbers. Lokpal is having 9 maximum numbers, and then yeah, the composition, how does I mean what are the qualifications? तो ये 9 members में ना 50%, that is the relevance of 5. 50% it will be whom? लोकपाल देख के समझ आ रहा है 50% होना चाहिए इसके composition में. 50% of the members in the Lokpal, they must be from the judiciary, and 50 members they must be ministers. Okay, and the other is the chairperson. Okay, and then what else did we see? लोकपाल का हमने ये देखा है कि सिलेक्शन कमेटी इट ऑल्सो हैज 5 मेंबर्स. पाल देख के 5 समझ में आ रहा है. देखो ये बॉडी देख के कितने मेंबर्स सिलेक्शन कमेटी में वो समझ में आ जाएगा. नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स देखने से पता चल रहा है कि बड़ा है, 6 मेंबर्स होगा सिलेक्शन कमेटी में. अब सीवीसी सीआईसी छोटा छोटा है तो सिलेक्शन कमेटी में 3 मेंबर्स होंगे. ओके, एंड देन सीबीआई भी छोटा है ना 3 लेटर्स का, तो सिलेक्शन कमीशन में फिर से 3 मेंबर्स. ओके, एंड देन वी हैव लोकपाल पाल देख के 5 समझ में आ रहा है, तो टोटल 5 मेंबर्स आर देयर इन द सिलेक्शन कमेटी. एंड हु आर द 5 मेंबर्स? हमेशा प्राइम मिनिस्टर तो रहेगा, एंड द लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन ही इज ओनली फॉर द लोकसभा. ओके, लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन ऑफ लोकसभा एंड स्पीकर ऑफ लोकसभा, सारे लोकसभा के लोग होंगे. ओके, लोकसभा से जो भी याद आ रहा है सब कुछ लिख लेना. ओके, लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन ऑफ लोकसभा, स्पीकर ऑफ लोकसभा, लोकपाल लोकसभा के रिलेटेड है, दैट्स हाउ आई रिमेंबर्ड. एंड देन प्राइम मिनिस्टर होगा, लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन ऑफ लोकसभा होगा, स्पीकर ऑफ लोकसभा होगा, एंड द 2 पीपल आर फ्रॉम द जुडिशरी. ओके, लोकपाल मतलब जुडिशरी के लोग भी तो होना चाहिए. वन इज द चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया, आई मीन एंड द पर्सन इज हु? चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया और समवन नॉमिनेटेड लाइक सुप्रीम कोर्ट जज कैन आल्सो बी देयर. एंड प्रेसिडेंट रिकमेंड करेगा एक एम्यूनिस्ट जूरिस्ट को, तो वो एम्यूनिस्ट जूरिस्ट भी रहेगा, एम्यूनिस्ट जूरिस्ट रिकमेंडेड बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. सो दिस 5 पीपल आर गोइंग टू बी selecting Lokpal Consact, Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013. It has 9 maximum members. Okay, now they are asking the committee making recommendations for the appointment of members, to how many of the above consist of Speaker of Lok Sabha? Speaker of Lok Sabha is present in two committees. One is Lokpal and the other is National Human Rights Commission. Here also we see Speaker of Lok Sabha is present. Consider the following organizations or bodies in India. Which one of the following are the statutory bodies? अब इनके ऊपर एक्ट है कि नहीं वो हमें ढूंढना पड़ेगा. So we have never read about them, right? So I don't know. So when I go to the answers, I am able to understand that. So let us see. Anusandhan National Research Foundation. It was established under this ANRF Act 2023. So established what 2023 recent again. Unique Identification Authority of India. So that was under Aadhaar Act 2016. So Uday, Unique Identification Authority of India, Anusandhan National Research Foundation, they are statutory bodies because they are established through this act, Aadhaar Act 2016 and Anusandhan Research Foundation 2013. But Central Pay Commission, it is not a statutory body, it is an ad hoc advisory body, it is a temporary body established through executive resolution under the Ministry of Finance to recommend pay structures, allowances, pensions of the central government. Recently in 2025, government constituted this 8th Central Pay Commission. Okay, now let us see. Therefore, Central Pay Commission, it's an executive body. It is an ad hoc executive body. And then we have ANRF, which year just now you have studied 2023. Uday, it is under Aadhaar Act 2016. ANRF Act 2023 and Aadhaar Act 2016. Therefore, only two options are statutory. Consider the following statement. The president may, by order, remove from office the chairman or any other person of the UPSC commission if. तो UPSC का chairman को remove करना है तो कैसे करेगा? That's right. Let us see. तो कोई grounds होना चाहिए ना. Grounds. What are the grounds that you remember? This is what we have studied, right? UPSC, right? President appoint करेगा तो removal president करेगा. Qualification is that Hoff should have been in central or state government for at least 10 years. Right, that is the qualification that they must have, whether it is UPSC or state PSC. And 3 2 is 6. देख के समझ आ रहा है कि the term period is 6 or 65 and it is mentioned in the constitution the term period. Okay, and next election commission का नहीं mention नहीं है. That is also 3 2 is 6 6 or 65. लेकिन उसका उसका term period constitution में mention नहीं है. Okay, and next what else did we see? His salary it is decided by the president or the governor and it cannot be varied. Okay, and next what else? Removal का grounds क्या है? See, president is the one who is going to remove, but the grounds can be insolvency, paid employment in misbehavior, etc. So president remove करेगा based upon all these grounds like insolvency, paid employment, misbehavior. Okay, can you imagine a UPSC board person misbehaving? No. And whether if he is having any paid employment? No. तो removal उतना आसान से नहीं है. Supreme Court एक inquiry committee चालू करेगी and after the inquiry committee, then UPSC chairperson he will be removed. Okay, one more thing, UPSC and state PSC they come under the Ministry of Personnel. This is what we have seen for UPSC and state PSC. And for finance commission what did we see? It is also constitutional body. F से बहुत कुछ आते हैं finance. Example 5-member body है. F का मतलब fixed by the president है term period. F का मतलब qualifications finance act 1951 है. Okay, and the highest qualification he can have is high court judge. Okay, that is what we have seen. And also you must have some knowledge and experience related to finance and economics. That's what we have seen. Okay, and who are the two people whose salary is similar to Supreme Court judge? It is election commissioner and controller and auditor general. Their salary is equivalent to a Supreme Court judge and their removal is also equivalent to Supreme Court judge. Who are they? Election commissioner and controller and auditor general. They are very very powerful. ECI and CAG. Their removal is similar to a Supreme Court judge. Can you imagine? Do you know any Supreme Court who has been impeached? No one. So in election commissioner of India और CAG इतना ताकतवर लोग होते हैं. ये लोग ताकतवर लोग हैं. And then you know CAG इतना ताकतवर है इसलिए उनका रीअपॉइंटमेंट फ्यूचर एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं है. एंड इलेक्शन कमिश्नर का क्या है? इनका रीअपॉइंटमेंट तो नहीं है, फ्यूचर एम्प्लॉयमेंट कर सकता है. इलेक्शन कोई स्ट्रीम है, ठीक है, तो फ्यूचर एम्प्लॉयमेंट अलाउड है. The main thing that we have come here to see this table is that UPSC and state PSC that is the removal. Okay, now let's come back to the question. The president may by order remove from office the chairman or any other member of the UPSC commission if he or she is adjudged and insolvent. Insolvency ground मुझे लग रहा है उस टेबल से. He or she engages during his or her term office in any paid employment outside the duties. Paid employment भी नहीं होना चाहिए UPSC बंदे को. Okay, if he is having paid employment, just think ना, whoever is paying them, that candidate will be favored, right? Therefore, paid employment should also not be there. And he or she, in the opinion of president, unfit to continue in office by reason of infirmity of mind. Of course, अगर mental patient है तो कैसा UPSC interview लेगा? So all three are correct. This question is about CAG in India. Other than ensuring that public funds are used efficiently and for the intended purpose, what is the importance of the office of CAG? Okay. CAG office का purpose क्या है? Other than ensuring public funds are efficiently used for the intended purpose. Okay, let's see the options. CAG exercises exchequer control on behalf of Parliament when the President of India declares national emergency. मुझे लग रहा है कि इन्होंने कोई switch किया हो यहाँ पे. CAG. There are many alternative options available. That's where UPSC commonly sets the trap. And whenever there is a national emergency declared, who exercises the exchequer control on behalf of Parliament? I don't know हु एक्सरसाइजेस द एक्सचेकर कंट्रोल, बट सीएजी का काम है सिर्फ रिपोर्ट भेजना, ये फाइनेंशियल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन करना सीएजी का हाथ में नहीं है, स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग द प्रेसिडेंट रूल। ऐसे हमने कोई आर्टिकल में पढ़ा नहीं है ना, सीएजी का आर्टिकल हमने देख लिया, ओके, वी हैव नॉट सीन दैट। एंड देन सीएजी रिपोर्ट्स ऑन द एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट्स और प्रोग्राम्स बाय द मिनिस्ट्रीज व्हिच आर डिस्कस्ड बाय द पब्लिक अकाउंट कमिटी। हाँ, सीएजी ये करेगा, पब्लिक अकाउंट कमिटी का मदद करना, राइट। सीएजी रिपोर्ट्स को पब्लिक अकाउंट कमिटी देखेगा, दैट्स राइट, दे आर लिंकिंग विद द पीएसी। एंड देन information from the CAG reports can be used by investigating agency to press charges against those who have violated the law while managing public finances. हाँ, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट है ना, कर सकते हैं। While dealing with the audit and accounting of government companies, CAG have certain judicial powers for prosecuting those who violate the law. CAG के पास कोई judicial powers नहीं है, that's the criticism ना, कि उनके पास कोई ऐसा powers नहीं है, वो सिर्फ रिपोर्ट भेजता है और कुछ नहीं। Okay, that's all. So this option is also wrong, therefore only 2 and 3. With reference to NCST, consider the following. It is mandatory to have at least one member in the commission. Do you remember? NC, SC, ST, OBC, they are also all constitutional bodies. Article 338, 338A and 338B. A, B. Okay, nothing, A, B, right? Nothing is SC, and then ST we have OBC, SC, ST, OBC. 338, 338A, 338B, and 338A it is through 89th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003, and 338B, which Constitutional Amendment, National Commission for BCs, 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 2018. जब हमने JE clear किया उस टाइम पे OBC reservations आए थे. Okay, 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 2018, right? Now let us see. What else? What should we see? The appointing body, it's the president, and the removal, it's also by the president. And is there future employment and reappointment there? Yes, they उन SC ST बेचारे लोगों को future appointment और reappointment, future employment और reappointment देंगे. Reappointment क्यों 2 terms तक ही restricted है? That's because they might favor SC STs में भी अब सब categories है. They might be favoring their own categories. So that's possible. Therefore इनका tenure हम सिर्फ दो tenures तक रखेंगे 3. So maximum they will be for 6 years. Okay. Actually ना that is the 3 years in general, but it is fixed by the president. Okay. And next. The composition na, for example National Commission for ST and OBC if you see, basically how many members they're having chairperson plus 3 members, so total 4 members hai, SC ST या फिर OBC, नहीं 5 members hai, sorry 5 members hai. Who are these 5 members? How can you say they're having 5 members? I can just say देखा 338, I remember it with mnemonic like 3 दो बार आ रही है, so I said chair, vice chair and 3 members, 3 that's how I remember. Total तो 5 members है इसमें. Okay, and then we have women, so ये 4 members जो है ना, इन 4 members में एक तो वुमेन होना चाहिए और 3 लोग एसटीज होना चाहिए। ये हमेशा हम करते हैं जहाँ पे भी एसटीज है ना, इवन इन द एडीसी एआरसी हैव सीन इन 6th शेड्यूल, वहाँ पे ना ये जो भी बॉडी बनती है उसमें हम रिजर्वेशन एसटीज के लिए कुछ करते हैं। एंड सिंस 333 वाला फंडा इज देयर हियर, देयरफॉर 3 मेंबर्स मस्ट बी एसटीज, ये भी याद रखना। ओके, एंड वन मोर थिंग, व्हाट कैन आई इवन से, 1 member must be woman, that's all I can say. Even in the STs we are promoting women, so at least more than 1 member must be woman. With reference to National Commission for ST, consider the following. It is mandatory to have at least 1 woman member in the commission. That's absolutely correct. As per Constitution of India, it will annually submit a report to the Parliament relating to the working of the commission. ऐसा मैंने कुछ पढ़ा नहीं है, Parliament को क्या ये report submit करेगी? See, one thing I'm sure is that constitutional bodies, they submit report to the president, I think, and if they are, I'm thinking, I'm not sure about this, if they are statutory bodies, they submit the report to the government, whether it is central government or state government, depends. So it works like that. But submitting to the Parliament is wrong. Parliament को report submit करना वो कौन करेगा submit? Parliamentary committees करेगी, right? But parliamentary committees, they're appointed by the parliament, therefore वो लोग करेंगे. But if they are constitutional bodies, they submit reports usually to the president as per me, and if they are statutory bodies, they submit report to the governments. Anyway, since NCST it is a statutory body, I think they replaced this word to the president with this president. Okay. Next, it has all the powers of civil court while summoning any person from any part of India and examining him on oath. Do you think this is correct? They are having power similar to civil court? I haven't studied, but I don't know. It's a constitutional body. Maybe it has the powers. Oh shit, I missed it. It is already in my notes. They have powers of civil court. It means they can summon. So NCST, NCSC, etc. They're having powers of civil court. Okay. Therefore, SC, OBC, they all have what civil court ka powers. Therefore, all 3 options are correct. Hey, why did you take it correct? It's wrong, na? That is what you tend to do in the exam hall. This is wrong, right? So therefore, this is wrong. Option C. Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities, Article 350B, under 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. Okay. Based on the recommendation of State Reorganization Commission 1956, a provision related to the Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities was added to Constitution of India. ये तो सही है ना? The officer is responsible for identifying linguistic minorities in state and declaring the same. ये गलत है. So basically, linguistic minorities, they are identified by their respective states and union territories, and a special officer for linguistic minorities does not identify or declare linguistic minorities. I mean, every wrong option, it is derived from a correct option, right? Therefore, the correct option is linguistic minorities are identified by the respective states and union territories. It is not by the officer. Okay. Here I'm saying officer is responsible for identifying linguistic, not the officer, but respect to governments, respect to state or UTs. They are identifying the linguistic minorities. इफ रेस्पेक्टिव स्टेट्स आर ओनली आइडेंटिफाइंग देन व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ स्पेशल ऑफिसर फॉर लिंग्विस्टिक माइनॉरिटीज? ये इन्वेस्टिगेट करेगा, लेकिन आइडेंटिफाई लिंग्विस्टिक माइनॉरिटीज कौन आइडेंटिफाई करेगा? आइडेंटिफिकेशन इज बाय रेस्पेक्टिव स्टेट्स और यूनियन टेरिटरीज, लेकिन उसके रिलेटेड इन्वेस्टिगेशन ये ऑफिसर करेगा. सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज ओनली ए. Question is asking you to match the body with the salary and the tenure. Okay, we have National Commission for SC. Who determines the salary for National Commission for SC? It is the president. See, for constitutional bodies, it is the president, and for the statutory bodies, it is the government. As per my understanding, okay. तो ये statutory body है या constitutional? It is constitutional body under Article 338, right? And STs का क्या? STs it is 338 and BCs it is 338B and 338 under which amendment? Under I think it is I can't recall 86th I think. 89 okay 89 ये 8 है ना, तो ये इसका हम 89 करेंगे. 89 द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट ऑफ 2003 एंड 338 ओबीसीज का रिजर्वेशन जब मैंने जेई क्लियर किया, दैट इज 102nd कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट ऑफ 2018. ओके, नाउ दे आर इजी टू बी मेमोराइज्ड. नाउ लेट अस सी नेशनल कमीशन फॉर एसटी, सॉरी नेशनल कमीशन फॉर एससी. सैलरी प्रेसिडेंट डिटरमाइन करेगा कितने साल तक. दिस आल्सो आई सेड 3 का ट्रिक है यहाँ पे. सो 3 years बट इट इज फिक्स्ड बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. जनरली इट इज 3 years बट नाउ दे आर सेइंग 4 years, देयरफॉर दिस ऑप्शन गोस रॉन्ग. एंड नेक्स्ट स्टेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कमीशन, दैट इज थ्रू विच एक्ट? जो भी स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी है पहले आर्टिकल याद रखना या फिर एक्ट याद करना. जब भी आप आर्टिकल या फिर एक्ट को याद करते हो सारे ट्रिक्स याद आ जाएंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल स्टेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर इट इज अंडर आरटीआई 2005. तो ट्रिक क्या था? आरटीआई है ना, 2 into 5 10 10 plus 1, so 11 members are going to be there, right? They're going to have 11 members. That is the trick for composition. Or else I have also said that CIC and what other is SIC, II is 11 11 1 plus 10. So that is the trick for composition. Who is determining the salary? Salary it is determined by the whom? It must be the state government usually, not the legislature. क्योंकि ये statutory body है, but you know what? It is not even the state government. I already said you it is having lot of C's. You remember I said that it is having lot of C. Therefore the salary it is fixed by the central government. ओके, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट फिक्स करेगी, सेंटर फिक्स करेगी सैलरी फॉर बोथ सीआईसी एंड एसआईसी. सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट फिक्स करेगी सैलरी. ओके, एंड नेक्स्ट व्हाट नेक्स्ट? कितने साल तक? इतने सीज है हमने क्या बताया? सैलरी और टेन्योर दोनों सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट फिक्स करेगी एंड दैट इज वेरिएबल बिकॉज सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट फिक्स करेगी. अगेन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट बिकॉज दैट इज व्हाट आई हैव सेड फॉर सीआईसी, right? Remember CIC. So whenever there is a state na, you might be confused, so go with the central level CIC and try to memorize the tricks. And now we have State Human Rights Commission. So National Human Rights Commission I'll try to remember, and I see that it is under Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. 1993 how can I split? I can do 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 3. तो एडिशन करने के बाद क्या हुआ? वो 13 बन गया. 13 equal to 1 plus 5 plus 7. So what's the tenure? It is 3 or 70. So after we split this 13 into 1 plus 5 plus 7, we have seen that the tenure is 3 or 70, right? So therefore, they are saying that term is 5 years. Again, it's wrong. Okay, again that's wrong. लेकिन salary कौन fix करेगा? NHRC और SHRC का? That is as usual. If it is NHRC, central government, and if it is SHRC, state government. Okay, and CVC. The next is CVC, Central Vigilance Act 2003. Great. Now who is going to fix the salary? Of course, the central government. Correct. What's the term period? You remember we did not do 2 into 3 for these kind of stuff, okay? We did the 2 into 3 for Article 324, 315, etc. वहाँ पे हमने देखा है कि चलो 6 और 65 होंगी. लेकिन यहाँ पे हमने क्या किया फिर? Here I said you distinction between CVC and CBI. What is the basis? CVC क्या CVC Act के थ्रू बना है? नहीं. Statutory status is definitely by CVC Act 2003, but it was already established through Santanam Resolution 1964. तो हमारा बेस ये CVC Act नहीं होना चाहिए. हमारा बेस ये Santanam Resolution 1964. Now what's the trick I said for this 1964? If it is CVC, then I said that it will be CVC is ending with 4 na, right? Therefore 4 or 65. That I said. Don't write it as something else, 6 like that. Okay, it is 4. It is ending with 4 or 65. And for CBI, what did I tell? I said that it is 6 minus 4. This is also through Santanam 1964 resolution, but since there is this I want to do subtraction. 6 minus 4 karungi, so that will be 2. So 2 years is the tenure, and it is extendable up to 5 years. This is what I said. Now they are saying that CVC, it is having a term period of 6 and extendable up to 65. So therefore this option goes wrong. So what are the options that are going wrong? This. Oh. There is no option which is saying that all 4 are wrong. Therefore we might have been mistaken somewhere. तो all 4 तो गलत है. तो max to max अगर हम एग्जाम हॉल में है तो क्या चूज करेंगे? If you know all 4 are wrong, but there is no option which is saying none. Luckily that's your luck. Therefore you need to choose only one in such scenario. Okay, I'll tell you where we went wrong. 4 is not correct. 3 is correct. What's correct? Term period of 5. SHRC का 3 or 70, right? Actually this must be a question error. Okay. Why? Because see, they are saying correctly matched, and now they are telling 3 year or 70 year. Okay. See, so the term period is technically 3 or 70 only. None must be the correct option. This is a very outdated data. In 2019, it used to be 5. My Gemini is saying it's 5. It used to be 5 in the 2019, but now currently it is 3 only. So all options are wrong here. Okay, but in the exam hall, yeah, we should go with only one. Consider the following organizations or body: Central Bureau of Investigating Commission. Okay, CBI, CVC, ED. How many of the above bodies or organization in India were established based on the resolution of Santanam? ये दोनों तो संतानम मुझे पता है. ED I'm not able to recall, but yeah, only 2. Enforcement Directorate is for money laundering, etc. Which I mean the original basis I can't recall. Anyways, CAG, UPSC, NCW, and HRC. The salaries and allowances are charged upon Consolidated Fund of India. Okay, charged upon CFI. किसका charge होगा जो constitutional bodies हो. So UPSC is a constitutional body. CAG is a constitutional body. Oh, all four. No. NCW. क्या NCW constitutional है? I haven't studied in the constitutional actually. वहाँ पे मैंने सिर्फ SC, ST, BC देखा. And NHRC is a statutory body in the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Yeah, NC, SC, ST, OBC are there, but women I really did not study in the constitutional body. Therefore, I will go with only two for now, B. Anyways, NCW, it is a statutory body under National Commission for Women Act 1990. Yeah, I have studied it in the statutory, I remember. I have studied women, minority, and children. Yeah, I remember. So yeah, that's a statutory body and it will not be charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. If they are not charged, definitely they are going to be votable. And the human rights, they are given actually as a grant in aid. They are grants, they are not charged. तो शायद नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन के लिए वोटिंग होगा एंड एनएचआरसी के लिए ग्रांट इन एड होगा. This is from the financial relations. A state legislature introduces a bill that imposes tax on the consumption of electricity by the government of India. Which article is it in? It is in the Article 287, electricity. No state law can impose tax on electricity consumed by government of India or railway operation unless parliament by law allows. तो ये parliament को अब options में ये लोग करेंगे president या जो भी हो. See, whatever exemptions are there, na, all of them they are having parliament bylaw allows. Only if parliament bylaw allows. So never be confused regarding this exemptions. For example, state cannot tax a center where and where it cannot tax union ka property, interstate and foreign trade, and even it cannot tax central government and central government का electricity को tax नहीं करेगी, railway operations को भी tax नहीं करेगी, interstate rivers पे भी state government tax नहीं लगाएगी. इतना है ना. So all of them, if parliament bylaw wants, it can modify. So they are having a parliament bylaw. So answer will be parliament bylaw. When parliament bylaw authorizes the same, only then the state legislature can pass such bill. Parliament bylaw है ना यहाँ पे, तो यहाँ इसको टिक करेंगे. Such a bill must be passed by the state legislature by majority of what and all. Oh God, such a bill cannot be introduced in state legislature as tax on consumption of electricity is a union list. नहीं, tax electricity duty it is state list. Electricity is concurrent list. This is what I recall, right? Electricity duty is in the state list. Okay, so this is wrong. Anyway, so you might be confused with the option A also, president recommendation, prior recommendation, but no, if you remember the articles, you will realize it's parliament by law. The question is about Zonal Council. Consider the following statement regarding Zonal Council. The idea for the establishment was first mooted by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. No. Who is that? Who is that good guy? Oh shit, it's actually mooted by our Pandit Nehru only. Yeah, Pandit Nehru ने ही बताया Zonal Council. चलो, it was first mooted by Pandit Nehru. I was confusing with someone else. So basically, what I can observe is there is a very important Singh, VP Singh. Okay, he in the year of 1990 he established this interstate council. Okay, and Zonal Council का आइडिया किसका? प्राइम मिनिस्टर नेहरू का है. वैसे इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल का आइडिया वीपी सिंह का नहीं है, but there is the Sarkaria Commission which initially recommended interstate council. After that VP Singh government he set up that interstate council. The Zonal Council का आइडिया तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर नेहरू का ही है, so नेहरू को हम क्रेडिट देंगे. First option is correct. In case a union territory is part of Zonal Council, 2 members from such territory is nominated by the president to the Zonal Council. That's what we have studied about the Zonal Council का composition. कौन है head? Head is the Home Minister, and on rotation basis, Chief Minister of UTs with legislature and states. They are on the rotation basis are going to be the vice chairperson, and we are going to have administrators of UTs and governors of state under the president rule, I think. And then we are having 2 members. So who are these 2 members? 2 members from the respective state ministers, etc., and 2 members from UTs. Any 2 members from the UTs that president will nominate. The president nominates to this Zonal Council. Okay, this option is actually correct. And next. Presently all states in India are included in the Zonal Council. No, northeastern states they are not included, right? So therefore option D. With reference to statutory bodies again, how many of the following have the power to take suo motu? अब suo motu ना हमने क्या देखा कि advisory bodies other than count Niti Aayog, interstate council, and what else? Zonal councils, interstate council and zonal councils. And next there is one more body, Lokpal. It is a toothless tiger. So all advisory bodies they are having suo motu powers except नीति आयोग, इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल एंड जोनल काउंसिल, लोकपाल. क्योंकि एडवाइजरी है तो चलो suo motu देंगे, क्या ही होगा. बट नीति आयोग इज नॉट हैविंग suo motu, इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल, जोनल काउंसिल इज नॉट हैविंग suo motu, एंड देन लोकपाल, द टूथलेस टाइगर, दैट इज why it is toothless, because it's not having suo motu. So these 3 are not having suo motu, but they are advisory in nature. And now that's what my conclusion. But what are the advisory bodies here? National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. See, you remember, right? We have seen NCPCR, women, National Commission for Women, and also minorities. All 3 of them they are having suo motu powers. बिकॉज ये लोग ना इंपॉर्टेंट लोग हैं, इनके पास suo motu होना चाहिए. कोई कहीं पे भी वुमेन राइट्स का वायलेशन हो रहा है, उसको लग रहा है तो वो suo motu केस खुद से लेगी. अगर वुमेन नहीं ले पा रही है ड्यू टू डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस, देन वो खुद लेगी. चिल्ड्रन आर बीइंग अब्यूज्ड, देन ऑफ कोर्स suo motu चिल्ड्रन नहीं जा सकते हैं ना, तो NCW को ही लेना पड़ेगा. सो इट विल आल्सो टेक suo motu. प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चाइल्ड राइट्स, माइनॉरिटीज, वुमेन, इनके लिए suo motu है. ओके, व्हाट अबाउट सेंट्रल विजिलेंस कमीशन? टेल मी वन थिंग, इज इट एन एडवाइजरी बॉडी? The answer is yes. If it is an advisory body, is it having suo motu? Yes, all advisory bodies will have suo motu. So this is also correct. This is also correct. They are having suo motu. Bar Council of India. Tell me, Bar Council of India क्या ये statutory body है? हाँ. Which act? Advocates of India Act 1961. Okay. चलो ठीक है. तो ये क्या करेगी? This will basically constitute this legal education commission, and then this committee it will conduct this exam, All India Bar Examination. I mean this legal education committee. I think it is having again 10 members, and All India Bar Examination conduct होगी, and उसके according they are going to select some people who can become the advocates. तो advocates को recruit करेगी. तो of course इसको suo motu लेना चाहिए ना Bar Council of India को. So it will take suo motu. Okay. My one more question, delimitation commission, is it having suo motu? ना, it just advises. I mean देखो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के हिसाब से हर एक 10 साल के बाद अगर पार्लियामेंट चाहे तो एक एक्ट पास करेगी, पार्लियामेंट चाहे तो तब डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन कुछ एडवाइस देगी. ओके. And whatever delimitation commission is saying, they are not challenged in the court of law, and they are going to be only stayed till the task is finished. Okay. As per the service rules, till the task is finished, they are going to be there, and whatever orders it is giving delimitation commission, those orders they are not enforceable in the court of law. But whether it is having suo motu, no, it is not having suo motu, because parliament constitute कर रही है ना इसको. ये खुद की ये ऐसा कोई temporary permanent body नहीं है. It's a temporary body, and it's not having any suo motu. Delimitation commission. Bar Council of India, yes, it is having suo motu because it needs to appoint lawyers. Therefore, it is having suo motu. And National Human Rights Commission. See, human rights, it is again advisory in nature. I mean, see, there are human rights courts. If you are having human rights court in every district, let's say you are having human rights, of course you need to have. If human rights courts are set up in every district under this Protection of Human Rights Act, then of course you court को पास suo motu तो होगी ही ना. They are having suo motu. The answer is yes. Okay, that's all. Therefore, all four are having suo motu. There is one more body, ED, Enforcement Director. Which one of the following is correct? It is not a statutory or a constitutional body, correct? And then it functions under administrative control of Ministry of Home Affairs, नहीं money laundering, Ministry of Finance. ये बहुत बार देखा सवाल मैंने. And then it has the authority to declare any individual as a fugitive economic offender under the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. This is extreme, but option feels very generalistic. See, ED can file an application before the Supreme Court, before a special court. If there is any special court under that act, then ED will file an application before a special court seeking such a declaration, but the final authority to decide whether the individual is fugitive economic offender or not, that is basically a quasi-judicial character. So ED के पास वो quasi-judicial power नहीं है. That power it is with the special court only. So ED does not have the power to make such declaration. That is purely judicial in nature. Okay. एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टली मेनली ना ये 3 चीजों पे ऊपर करती है. प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट 2002, आई मीन इट इन्वेस्टिगेट्स बेस्ड अपॉन दीस 3 फॉलोइंग एक्ट्स. प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट 2002, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मैनेजमेंट फेमा 1999, फुगिटिव इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर एक्ट 2018. Basically, Enforcement Directorate is investigating body. It investigates relating 3 main acts: Prevention of Money Laundering Act, I think it is in 2002, and then we have FEMA 1999, Foreign Exchange Management Act, and Fugitive Economic Offender Act 2018. Fugitive Economic Offender it's correct actually, but you know वो investigate करेगी, लेकिन वो finally उसका conclusion fugitive economic offender हो तुम ये बोलने का अधिकार सिर्फ वो कोर्ट के पास होगी, not with the Enforcement Directorate. Option 3 will be wrong, 2 will be wrong, 1 is correct. Therefore, option A. Now we know one thing, that appointment for constitutional body it is by president or governor if they are constitutional bodies, and if they are statutory bodies it is usually the government, central government or state government. But for removal ना ये government वाला logic काम नहीं करेगा. It is usually always the president or governor. So now you need to make a guess. Now the question is clever. It is asking the state bodies which can be removed by the president. So what are the state bodies which can be removed by the president? That is, we have State Public Service Commission, UPSC, yeah, it is also removed. SPSC, both of them, they must be removed by the president only, right? रिमूवल इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम रिजिग्नेशन. अगेन अगर रिजिग्नेशन करना है तो स्टेट पीएससी का चेयरमैन फॉर एग्जांपल ही विल रिजाइन टू द गवर्नर ओनली. रिजिग्नेशन ही विल डू टू द गवर्नर. लेकिन अगर इसको हटाना है तो रिमूवल ना इट इज डन बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. ओके, सो दैट डिस्टिंक्शन यू मस्ट नो. एनीवेज, स्टेट पीएससी का रिमूवल कौन करेगा? प्रेसिडेंट करेगा. व्हाट अबाउट स्टेट फाइनेंस कमीशन? आई हैव ऑलरेडी सेड यू, आई थिंक स्टेट फाइनेंस कमीशन एंड स्टेट इलेक्शन कमीशन का मैंने ये बताया कि स्टेट इलेक्शन कमीशन, स्टेट फाइनेंस कमीशन, इलेक्शन ईएफ. ओके, इलेक्शन कमिश्नर यू नो राइट, हिज रिमूवल इट इज सिमिलर टू हाई कोर्ट जज. अगर सेंट्रल इलेक्शन कमिश्नर तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट जज, सीईसी है तो हाई कोर्ट जज शायद. ओके, सिमिलर टू अ हाई कोर्ट जज एंड रिमूव बाय द होम. हाई कोर्ट जज कौन रिमूव करेगा बताओ? प्रेसिडेंट ही रिमूव करेगा. सो एससीसी का रिमूवल इट इज डन बाय द प्रेसिडेंट. एंड नेक्स्ट एसएफसी का हमने क्या देखा? सेंट्रल फाइनेंस कमीशन, स्टेट फाइनेंस कमीशन. अगर सेंट्रल है तो प्रेसिडेंट, बट इफ इट इज स्टेट देन द रिमूवल इट इज डन बाय द गवर्नर. ओके, therefore this option goes wrong. It is by the governor. And we have state human right commission. State human right commission, it is again the president. Can I tell you one logic? Removal na for whatever bodies I have seen, it is always the president. Okay, except state finance commission, all other bodies they are removed by the removed by the president only. Okay, therefore option C only 3. Not only this, in generalistic also I have observed that all of them they are removed by the president. How many of the following hold office during the pleasure of president? Pleasure of president, Attorney General of India, CAG. क्या pleasure of president है CAG? नहीं, he is independent ना. Just remember whether they are having fixed tenure. That will make you clear whether it's a if they're working for pleasure or not. AGI का मुझे कोई tenure याद नहीं आ रही है, so yeah, it's pleasure of president. What about NCBC? I can clearly recall that trick, 3-3 वाला trick. They are having 3 years of tenure, na? Right? They are having 3 years of tenure and it is extendable up to 5 years. So therefore, this option, this is wrong. This option is correct. CAG का कोई tenure पढ़ा हमने? You should remember CAG Act of 1971. I said no, it is having 2 clauses in the second class. It says that qualifications as per Parliament by law, and Parliament it passed CAG Act 1971, and based upon this 1971, I said you that the term period is 7 minus 1, 6, 6 or 65, something like that. I said I think. Therefore, yeah, they are also not working for the pleasure of president. Therefore, only one. This question I remember. Who can be the chairperson of Lokpal? The chairperson he must be Chief Justice of India. Like this is not the only requirement. They can also be Supreme Court judge or eminent person, any eminent person. Okay. And this statement, even if you don't know that, you will mark it wrong only. First option to eliminate. And then the chairperson of the Lokpal can be removed from his or her office only in like manner on like grounds as judge of Supreme Court. Okay, I don't recall, but Lokpal na. It is Lokpal and Lokayukta Act. Which act is that? 2013. Okay, 2 plus 1 plus 3 it is 6. It can have maximum up to 9 members. Okay. And next thing is that they are saying chairperson only on the grounds as judge of Supreme Court. The second option feels correct. I'll go to the third. I'm not sure. I'll go to third. Lokpal has jurisdiction to inquire the allegations of corruption against the President of India. See, I know that it is anti-corruption ombudsman. But against the President of India, I don't know. 2 and 3, there is no option. There is no option 2 and 3. So go for none. Because first option is 100% wrong. See, chairperson of Lokpal can be removed in the manner as prescribed in the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act and not as in the manner of a Supreme Court judge. Okay. And count remove करेगा उस manner देख के president remove करेगा. Remember that President of India do not fall under the jurisdiction of Lokpal. Yes, right. So therefore, option D. I must obtain the consent of state government concerned before investigating any offences within the territory of that state. That's correct. The police public order under the state list of the 7th schedule. This is also correct. But you know what? I think there's a recent judgment. If CBI already has a prior consent from the High Court or Supreme Court, then it need not require consent from the concerned state government because the statement before investigating any offences within the territory. So it is polity. If it is having exception, it will be wrong. Therefore, this option is wrong. Let us attempt some MCQs from the financial relations. We have part 10, part 11, part 12, part 10, 244 and 244A. And then we have what? 245, 256, 24, 25, 26. Okay. This will become 255. It should be 263 and 293. Okay, great. Now part 12 talks about financial relations, not part 11. Part 11 has legislative and administrative relations. And they are from, as we saw, it's 24, 25, 26, right? 264 to 293. But exactly financial, it will start from 268 because 267 is contingency fund of India. Therefore, it will start from 268 and the ending, I can say, or my own ending, like 293, I will be telling 293, but here they have given 281, whatever, just leave. Okay, there are basically some miscellaneous, but those miscellaneous, according to me, are also talking about central state. So therefore, I will take 293 only. Anyways, there is no such option. Consider the following statements. In India, stamp duty on financial goods deals are imposed and collected by state government, regulated by union government. So stamp duty, I know it comes under Article 268. What is 268? Levied by union, collected and appropriated by states. So stamp duty imposed and collected by the state government becomes wrong. Why? Because levied implies levied implies imposed. As I already said, levied by union. So therefore it is imposed by union, but collected and appropriated by state. Therefore first option goes wrong. Stamp duty is galat hai, and regulated by union government. Either regulated by union government, stamp duty. The collection is by state governments. Then where is the regulation by the union government mentioned? No, right? Therefore, regulation by union government will go wrong because it is collected and that is spent by the state. So therefore, states are the one who are regulating, right? Therefore, both options are wrong. Indian taxes on transactions in stock exchanges and futures market are levied by union, collected by the state's government. Okay. So they're asking about the tax under which list does this tax fall, and they mentioned about security transaction tax. According to me, it is by the center only, and it is levied by center, and it falls under distributive pool. So levied by center, levied and collected by center, distributed between center and state. So this is distributed between center and state, and this is levied and collected by the union. So both, according to me, okay, this is levied and collected by union. At least levied is correct, right? So don't take it wrong. Levied is correct. Therefore, option here. Under constitutional provision for tax assignment in India, which of the following is a tax exclusively imposed and collected by the states? तो स्टेट्स ही खुद इम्पोज करेगी, ऐसे कौन सा टैक्स है बे? देखो अब स्टेट लिस्ट में ही होना चाहिए ना वो. This is in the divisible pool. These two are in the divisible pool. The GST is also in the divisible pool, but this land revenue is a state subject. So therefore, state it can exclusively impose and collect tax. They are asking provisions for discretionary grant, which may be given by central government to state. See, there are 3 types of grants that I mentioned you: other grants, statutory grants, and discretionary grants, right? So what are the articles? We have 273, right? 273 is there. 273, that is other grants. And next, though add करेंगे 275, that is statutory grant. And then we have 282, that is discretionary grant. दोनों से 2 है ना, तो discretion आ गया. Discretionary grant, okay. 282 talks about discretionary grants. How I remembered implies, see, there is no trick actually. 281 तक miscellaneous फाइनेंशियल रिलेशन खत्म होती है फॉर्मली, तो 282 तो मिसलेनियस चालू है। जब ये मिसलेनियस चालू होती है ना, तब से ये डिस्क्रिशनरी ग्रांट भी चालू होती है। ओके, सो दैट्स व्हाई रिमेंबर दैट 282 इट टॉक्स अबाउट डिस्क्रिशनरी ग्रांट्स। In state is a state of Indian Union empowered under the Constitution to take foreign loans directly. Foreign loans, an Indian state, it can take directly, but for international agreements only, it can take directly. Where are they mentioned? The borrowings. They are mentioned in the article 293. Okay, 293 talks about borrowings, and there are clauses like state government borrow करेगा या फिर central government borrow कर सकता है कि नहीं. They're all there. 292 talks about borrowing by the government of India. 293 talks about borrowing by the state. Okay, and 293 में यही बोलता है कि देखो अगर state चाहिए ना तो विद इन इंडिया ही borrow कर सकती है, एंड आउटसाइड इंडिया भी कर सकती है फॉर इंटरनेशनल एग्रीमेंट्स, लेकिन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का परमिशन जरूरी है उसमें। ओके, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का परमिशन जरूरी है, बट यस इट कैन बोरो स्टेट्स। दैट्स व्हाट आर्टिकल 293 सेज। एंड 292 गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया तो बोरो कर सकती है आउटसाइड, नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम, बट स्टेट्स को बोरो करने के लिए सेंट्रल का परमिशन रिक्वायर्ड है। दैट्स मेंशन्ड इन 293। ओके, दैट्स ऑल। एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम टैक्स, एग्रीकल्चर तो स्टेट सब्जेक्ट है ना, इज असाइन्ड टू द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट बाय हुम? बाय कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया। व्हाट अ फनी बिट। कौन रिजॉल्व करेगा फिजिकल डिस्प्यूट्स को सेंट्रल और स्टेट के बीच में? सुप्रीम कोर्ट ही करेगी ना। सेंट्रल स्टेट डिस्प्यूट्स, आर्टिकल 131, रीड जुडिशरी। ओके, अंडर विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग टैक्सेस द टोटल अमाउंट पेएबल बाय एन इंडिविजुअल इज लिमिटेड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? देखो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कोई टैक्स का लिमिट मैंने नहीं देखा, लेकिन मुझे याद आ रहा है कि ये टैक्सेस ऑन प्रोफेशन ट्रेड एंड सीलिंग्स, इसके ऊपर 2500 का सीलिंग है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, क्योंकि हमने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पढ़ रखा है। ओके, दे आर मेंशन्ड समवेयर इन द बिगिनिंग आर्टिकल्स ओनली। फ्रीडम ऑफ इंटरस्टेट ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स हैज बीन रेगुलेटेड बाय इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अंडर आर्टिकल रेगुलेशन। ओके, आई नो 301 तो फ्रीडम ऑफ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स के बारे में है। उसके बाद जो भी आर्टिकल है 302 से लेकर 306 या 7 तक, ये सब रेस्ट्रिक्शंस बोलती है, तो मैं सी को टिक करूंगी, बट ऑप्शन बी। हाँ, बट या दिस व्हाट डज इट से? इट एग्जैक्टली टॉक्स अबाउट रेगुलेशन ना, फ्रीडम ऑफ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स थ्रू द टेरिटरी ऑफ इंडिया एक्सेप्ट अंडर सर्टेन कंडीशंस अंडर 301 to 307, दैट इज व्हाट दिस आर्टिकल एक्चुअली सेज। देयरफॉर रेगुलेशन एवरीथिंग एक्सेट्रा इट इज मेंशन्ड इन 301 only, 301 will be the correct fit. Article 300 of Indian Constitution deals with yeah, that's 300. I remember it is ending with suits and proceeds, and then we come to 301, freedom of trade. Okay, answer 300, suits and proceedings. What does suit even mean? Okay, see in Article 300 it said that the government of India may sue or may be sued in the court of law. Okay, even the government of India or the government of the state, they can be sued in the court of law. Okay, that is called suits and proceedings. Okay, that is mentioned in Article 300. So if you want to file a case against the government, you can do that. Okay, that's all. Now let us see some questions on the Finance Commission. Okay, generally in India, Finance Commission is appointed for every 5 years. For what purpose Finance Commission is appointed? For the horizontal devolution, right? They give one table. Okay, to determine the financial, to determine the share of states in grants and revenues of the central government. बाकी सारे में distribution नहीं है ना, तो ये main चीज क्या है? Distribution है ना, तो ये सही है सब में से। Which of the following article is related to the appointment of Finance Commission by the President of India? Okay, Article 280 is the Finance Commission. That's all. 279 ये is about GST Council, and 280 will talk about Finance Commission. With reference to Finance Commission of India, consider the following statement: the Finance Commission is a statutory body. The Finance Commission was set up under the Article 280 of the Constitution. It's not a statutory body; it's a constitutional body. Article 280 is correct, and recommendations made by the Finance Commission are only advisory in nature. This is also correct, advisory in nature. And again, they're asking financial distribution between union and state. Of course, it is Finance Commission. Okay, many times they asked the same question. Again, distribution of net proceeds of taxes. Again, it's Finance Commission, which is constituted for every 5 years. Okay. Given below are the statements. What is the question? Assertion and reason. President of India determines the qualifications of the chairman and the members of the Finance Commission. I remember it's like Parliament, not the President. Okay, ये हमेशा यही करेगा, Parliament को President के साथ replace करेगा, है ना? गलत बात है. But Parliament determines the qualifications. Okay, and next, chairman and the members are appointed by whom? This one we know, right? The chairman and the members of the Finance Commission, they are appointed by the President. Okay, because it's a constitutional body, so appointment कौन करेगा? Constitutional body का President करेगा appointment. Therefore, this is correct. Yeah, is false. They are asking how many are correct. There are total 5 members in the Finance Commission. That might be correct. I think it's a C+ forum. I think so. That might be the composition. And at least one member of the commission must be judge of the High Court or Supreme Court. I know that Parliament by law commission का qualification determine करेगी. Constitution में ऐसा कुछ है नहीं कि Supreme Court judge या High Court judge होना चाहिए, तो मैं इसको गलत मार्क करूंगी. Chairman of the commission cannot be reappointed. अब reappointed he can be reappointed according to me. ये तो मुझे गलत लग रहा है. And then first chairman of the commission is I think this is wrong. I don't know who is the first chairman of the commission. It's Kshitish Chandra Niyogi. Kshitish Chandra Niyogi. That is this. Okay. So you need to cancel this. Chairman of the commission cannot be reappointed. Is that correct? So anyways, total 5 members. That is only the correct option, and the rest of the options are wrong because statement 2 is wrong, that we already know, and the chairman of the commission cannot be reappointed. This is also something that it's wrong because the chairman, he can be reappointed. Okay. Therefore, if you are eliminating 2, 3, 4, there will be option 1 only. Under Finance Commission, which of the following is not correct? Finance Commission has a chairman and 6 members. I think Finance Commission, it is having 5 members. C+ forum. And next, it submits its report to the Niti Aayog. Finance Commission report submit करेगा किसको? See, Finance Commission is a constitutional body, and it recommends किसको? President को recommend करेगा, and President. Okay, so it recommends to the President. Okay, therefore this one is wrong actually. आई मीन एसओपी लगा के बोल सकते हैं कि कोई रिपोर्ट नीति आयोग को सबमिट नहीं करेगा, तो एक्सट्रीम लग रहा है ना, ऑपोजिट गलत लग रहा है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है पॉलिटी में ना, एसओपी ट्राई मत करना ज़्यादा, ओके, जस्ट गो विद टेक्निकलिटी एंड दिस इज रॉन्ग, दिस इज करेक्ट, सॉरी दिस इज आल्सो रॉन्ग, दिस इज आल्सो रॉन्ग, सो सी because finance commission has composition C plus 4M. This question, the functions of finance commission is allowed to allow withdrawal of money out of CFI. देखना अब finance commission it is advisory, तो withdraw amount कैसे करेगी, advisory body नहीं करेगी ना, so first option is wrong, eliminate A and D. To allocate among the states the share of proceed of taxes, okay, इसके बारे में advice देगी, and then to consider applications for granting aid from states, हाँ ये भी सही है, to supervise and report on whether the union and state governments are levying taxes in accordance with the budgetary provisions, ये तो finance commission का काम नहीं है, इतना बताइए किसी और का काम है, लेकिन finance commission का नहीं है, maybe it is estimates committee ना, that will usually do, I think it's not a finance commission, therefore 2 and 3 option B. The main function of finance commission is, इसका क्या फंक्शन है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है ना, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, कौन सा ऑप्शन ये, डिटरमाइन द पार्ट ऑफ स्टेट्स एंड सेंट्रल टैक्सेस एंड डिटरमाइन द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल एड, ओके, 116 देखेंगे, फाइनेंस कमीशन इज प्राइमरली कंसर्न्ड विद रिकमेंडिंग टू द प्रेसिडेंट अबाउट ग्रांट्स इन एड, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ये दोनों आएगा ना, हाँ, ओके, विद रेफरेंस टू फाइनेंस कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग, इट एनकरेजेस इनफ्लो ऑफ फॉरेन कैपिटल फॉर इंफ्रा डेवलपमेंट, ऐसे कुछ हमने पढ़ा नहीं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, देखना कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो भी पढ़े हो वही टिक करना है यहाँ पे, इट फैसिलिटेट प्रॉपर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ फाइनेंसेस अमंग पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग, ऐसे भी हमने कुछ पढ़ा नहीं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, इट एंश्योर्स ट्रांसपेरेंसी इन द फाइनेंशियल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, ये भी हमने पढ़ा नहीं है एक्चुअली कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, फील्स करेक्ट बट वी डिड नॉट स्टडी दिस, नन ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट एबीसी इज करेक्ट, ओके, आई मीन ये थोड़ा लग सकता है फाइनेंशियल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में ट्रांसपेरेंसी, बट गो फॉर डी, बिकॉज़ वी डिड नॉट स्टडी एनी ऑफ देम इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. The same question 100 times, who recommends the distribution of finance between union and states, that is the finance commission, and they might ask such stupid questions. I think currently it is 16th finance commission, Dr. Arvind Panagaria is the chairperson, okay, and then who was the chairperson of 13th finance commission, it's yeah, they don't ask 13 now, they will ask 16th, okay, देखना finance commission में 5 members है, chairperson plus 4 members ना, that is F for 5, therefore 5 members are there total, C plus 4M, okay, they have asked this question multiple times, 4 other members is the correct, because they are having chairperson and 4 other members, okay, and then who of the following shall cause every recommendation made by the finance commission to be laid before each house of the parliament that we have studied, it's a president of India. Which one of the following statements about a state finance commission is true? Okay, what is it? What is true? It is an informal. No, it is formal. Wrong. Constitutional body? Yes, it's a constitutional body. I mean, state finance commission, they are asking about panchayats. Okay, it's a correct. There is this article 243I, and there is a state finance commission, and it's a constitutional body, but it is at the state level. Okay, to the distribution to the panchayat raj from the state, and then it is an administrative body. देखना ये कोई executive order से नहीं है, constitution से ही है, तो constitutional body, that's correct. And again the same question, state finance commission, it's a constitutional body. Similar to state election commission, that was also a constitutional body in the same panchayat wala articles, right? The state election commission, it was appointed by the governor and removed by the president, right? State finance commission का भी appointment and removal देखेंगे, तो simply putting state election commissioner, state finance commission, okay, इलेक्शन कमिश्नर को अपॉइंट गवर्नर करेगा, रिमूवल कौन करेगा, रिमूवल प्रेसिडेंट करेगा, सिमिलर टू होम हाई कोर्ट जज, लेकिन स्टेट फाइनेंस कमीशन का अपॉइंटमेंट गवर्नर करेगा, लेकिन रिमूवल भी शायद गवर्नर ही करेगा, दिस इज व्हाट आई नो, यू नीड टू रिवाइज. अब कौन पूछेगा प्लानिंग कमीशन पे, हाँ, प्लानिंग कमीशन अबॉलिश्ड बाय प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी, दिस इज करेक्ट, ओके, हु रिप्लेस्ड प्लानिंग कमीशन एंड व्हेन डिड नीति आयोग कम, ओके, 1 जनवरी 2015 से नीति आयोग आई थी, ओके, रिप्लेसिंग प्लानिंग कमीशन ऑन व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग नीति आयोग केम इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस, 1 जनवरी 2015, 10 साल हो गया ना, तो शायद ही सवाल आए, ओके, हु अपॉइंटेड द वाइस चेयरमैन ऑफ नीति आयोग, इट्स द प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया, तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर हेड करेगा नीति आयोग को और वाइस चेयरमैन को अपॉइंट करेगा, तो नॉट अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी, ऑफ कोर्स फाइनेंस कमीशन यूपीएससी इलेक्शन दे आर ऑल प्लानिंग ना, 324 आई थिंक इट इज 315 एंड फाइनेंस 280, तो प्लानिंग कमीशन का आर्टिकल क्या है हमें पता नहीं है, तो यही है नॉट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, ओके, व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ऑर्गन, अगेन प्लानिंग कमीशन इट्स नॉट अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ऑर्गन, व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग डू नॉट फाइंड मेंशन इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. अब जोनल काउंसिल्स एक्चुअली कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में हमने जोनल काउंसिल नहीं देखा, ओके, दैट इज व्हाट वी आर सेइंग थ्रू स्टेट रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्ट एंड इट्स अ स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी, जोनल काउंसिल्स जो भी है, ओके, देयरफॉर दिस इज नॉट देयर, प्लानिंग कमीशन इज आल्सो नॉट देयर, 2 and 3 नहीं है, ओनली 2, कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है, इसका मतलब 1 भी नहीं हुआ होगा, सो ऑल ऑफ देम माइट नॉट बी देयर, ओके, दैट्स व्हाट यू नीड टू डू. फर्स्ट चेयरमैन ऑफ द प्लानिंग कमीशन कौन पूछेगा, एनीवेज इट्स जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी, फर्स्ट चेयरमैन ऑफ द प्लानिंग कमीशन, ओके, एंड हु वर्क्स एज द चेयरमैन ऑफ द प्लानिंग कमीशन, प्राइम मिनिस्टर, प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज द चेयरमैन ऑफ द प्लानिंग कमीशन, तो प्लानिंग कमीशन को हटाया, नीति आयोग आया, नीति आयोग का हेड भी कौन है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर ही है, ओके, एसोसिएटेड विद नीति आयोग नरेंद्र मोदी जी, ओके, 2015 में नीति आयोग आया, तब से नरेंद्र मोदी ही हेड कर रहे हैं क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट नहीं बदला, एंड डिप्यूटी चेयरमैन ऑफ द प्लानिंग कमीशन इज इक्विवेलेंट टू कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर, वही तो, डिप्यूटी चेयरमैन ऑफ द प्लानिंग कमीशन इसका रैंक इक्विवेलेंट टू कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर होना चाहिए, ओके, रैंक बराबर कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर का रैंक होना चाहिए, तभी होगा. Importance given to deputy chairman of the planning commission is in the official hierarchy of the government is that of a cabinet minister in the government of India. Deputy chairman को इंपॉर्टेंस देंगे ना, तो डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन का रैंक ऑफिशियल हायरार्की किसके साथ इक्वल होना चाहिए, कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. ये 2 बार आया तो शायद इंपॉर्टेंट सवाल होगा. फाइनेंस कमीशन भी उस टाइम पे होती गई एंड प्लानिंग कमीशन भी होती गई, तो एक टाइम एमवी मथुर एक थर्ड फाइनेंस कमीशन का चेयरपर्सन थे, मथुर, ही सजेस्टेड मर्जिंग ऑफ फाइनेंस एंड प्लानिंग, शायद वो नहीं हुआ. एनीवेज नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल वाज फॉर्म्ड इन द ईयर ऑफ 1952, नहीं पूछेंगे ये, ओके, और क्या है, व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट ट्रू, इट इज द हाईएस्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग बॉडी फॉर द प्लानिंग इन इंडिया, ये गलत है. प्राइम मिनिस्टर चेयरमैन इज करेक्ट, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ प्लानिंग इज आल्सो द सेक्रेटरी ऑफ नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल, दिस इज आल्सो करेक्ट. नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल इज प्रिसाइडेड ओवर बाय द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, दैट इज आल्सो करेक्ट, बट हाईएस्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग फॉर द प्लानिंग इज रॉन्ग. तो क्या लगता है, अगर प्लानिंग कमीशन हाईएस्ट डिसीजन बॉडी नहीं है तो कौन होगा प्लानिंग्स के लिए, बहुत लोग टिकी करेंगे, देयरफॉर इट इज द नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल, that is the highest decision making body for the planning, okay. So they replaced this planning commission with NDC, okay, great work. And that NDC, it is already mentioned in the options, and there's a question on NDC. What does NDC do? It discusses the program of the national plan, it suggests the ways to achieve the goals of national plan, gives guidelines to formulate the national plan and suggest allocation. ये सब suggestion discussion गलत नहीं लग रहा है, तो all the above लग सकता है, but suggest allocation of money in planning, ये गलत है, okay. arrest progress of national plans, achieve the goals of national plans is correct, guidelines correct, but suggest allocation of money in planning ये गलत है. Okay, शायद वो काम finance commission करेगा. अरे अगर सब कुछ एनडीसी कर रहा है तो प्लानिंग कमीशन क्या कर रही है? यही कर रही है, ये प्लान बनाएगी एनडीसी, इस प्लान का मनी कौन बताएगा? प्लानिंग कमीशन बताएगा. दैट इज व्हाई वी हैव एनडीसी एंड प्लानिंग कमीशन. प्लानिंग कमीशन एलोकेशन ऑफ मनी टू द प्लानिंग बताएगा. वी हैव 5 ईयर प्लान एक्सेट्रा, राइट? ईच प्लान में हम देखेंगे कि बजट कितना कितना है, वो सब हम प्लानिंग कमीशन में पढ़ा था. फाइनेंस कमीशन, आई एम सॉरी, दैट इज नॉट इन द पिक्चर. इट इज द प्लानिंग कमीशन. ओके, सो ऑप्शन ये. And they're asking the main function of NDC. Again, you can try easily. Activate means and efforts of state for implementation of planning. Okay, seems correct. To develop the general policies in all the important areas, feels broad. To confirm the balance of development, feels broad. Okay, लेकिन शायद गलत हो सकता है. डेवलपमेंट क्या है ये वो सोच सकते हैं. प्लानिंग के बारे में, प्लानिंग में डेवलपमेंट भी है ना, तो डेवलपमेंट भी हो सकता है. तो अब ज्यादा मत सोचना बैलेंस डेवलपमेंट को लेके. सो ऑल द ऑप्शंस वेरी वेरी ब्रॉड, सो आई विल टिक विद दिस. Who among the following constitutes the National Development Council NDC? कौन constitute करेगा NDC को? प्राइम मिनिस्टर करेगा. चेयरमैन ऑफ द फाइनेंस कमीशन वो करेगा क्या? फाइनेंस कमीशन का चेयरपर्सन नहीं होगा इसमें. ओके, देखना जैसे नीति आयोग प्राइम मिनिस्टर होगा, नीचे कोई कैबिनेट रैंक का मिनिस्टर होगा. हु इज द वाइस चेयरमैन? ओके, तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर, वाइस चेयरमैन ऑफ द यूनियन कैबिनेट एंड द चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ ऑल स्टेट्स आर आल्सो गोइंग टू बी देयर. सो बी इज करेक्ट. ये चेयरमैन ऑफ द फाइनेंस कमीशन नहीं रहेगा, नहीं रहेगा, नहीं रहेगा. ओके, डोंट, ये नहीं रहेगा, नहीं रहेगा, नहीं रहेगा. सो ऑप्शन इज 1 3 4. ओके, बी. एनडीसी इज प्राइमरी रिलेटेड टू व्हाट? अप्रूवल ऑफ 5 ईयर प्लान. देखना 5 ईयर प्लान प्लानिंग कमीशन करेगी. अब एनडीसी पता है प्लान करेगी. मैं प्लान करूंगा, फाइनेंस कमीशन बोलेगी मैं बजट बनाऊंगा इस प्लान का, 5 साल का बजट बनाऊंगा. एंड देन प्लानिंग कमीशन, एनडीसी, सॉरी दिस इज प्लानिंग कमीशन. सो एनडीसी बोलेगी कि मैं प्लान बनाऊंगा, प्लानिंग कमीशन बोलेगी कि मैं 5 साल का बजट बनाऊंगा. एंड प्लान एनडीसी फिर से बोलेगी चलो तेरा बजट को मैं अप्रूव करूंगा. दैट इज एनडीसी. ओके, एनडीसी इज प्राइमरी रिलेटेड टू द अप्रूवल ऑफ 5 ईयर प्लान्स. ओके, दैट इज ऑप्शन ये. ओके, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ एनडीसी, हु एक्ट्स एज सेक्रेटरी ऑफ नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल? इट्स द सेक्रेटरी प्लानिंग कमीशन. ओके, दोनों का सेक्रेटरी सेम है. सेक्रेटरी तो सेम ही है. प्लानिंग कमीशन और एनडीसी दोनों का समझना है ना, एक ही आईएएस ऑफिसर समझेगा उस चीज को. ओके, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ प्लानिंग, हु एक्ट्स एज द कोऑर्डिनेटर बिटवीन द प्लानिंग कमीशन एंड द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स? ओके, प्लानिंग कमीशन और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के बीच में कौन कोऑर्डिनेट करेगा? इट इज द एनडीसी. ओके, नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल ही प्लान बनाएगी, प्लानिंग कमीशन प्लान बनाएगी, बजट इसको एनडीसी अप्रूव करेगी एंड देन कोऑर्डिनेट करेगी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के साथ. ओके, देयरफॉर एनडीसी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के साथ भी एनडीसी कोऑर्डिनेट करेगी. एनडीसी कौन प्रिसाइड करेगा? प्राइम मिनिस्टर ही प्रिसाइड करेगा. ओके, ये स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी नहीं है. वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है, वो भी नहीं है. स्टैट्यूटरी नहीं है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल भी नहीं है. ओके, दे आर आस्किंग नॉट करेक्ट. नॉन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इज करेक्ट, स्टैट्यूटरी इज आल्सो रॉन्ग. कोई एक्ट से बना नहीं है ये. चलो अब लोकपाल लोकायुक्ता के ऊपर भी सवाल देखेंगे. प्लानिंग कमीशन देख लिया, लोकपाल लोकायुक्ता इट वाज रिकमेंडेड बाय, इसका एस्टैब्लिशमेंट कौन रिकमेंड किया? एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स कमीशन. ओके, ऑप्शन बी. लोकायुक्ता एट द स्टेट लेवल वाज फर्स्ट रिकमेंडेड बाय एआरसी, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म कमीशन. बहुत बड़ा ये सवाल. ओके, ये कब फॉर्म हुआ लोकपाल लोकायुक्ता? बाय द वे यहाँ पे है कुछ डिटेल. इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ ओम्बुड्समैन वाज फर्स्ट क्रिएटेड इन स्वीडन इन 1809. उसके बाद हमें भी आइडिया मिल गया कि हमें भी एंटी करप्शन के लिए कुछ ना कुछ बनाना चाहिए. क्या? तो हमने क्या बनाया? ऑन 5 जनवरी 1966. किसने रिकमेंड किया? एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म कमीशन 1960 में रिकमेंड किया. तो हमने बनाया 5 जनवरी 1966 को लोकायुक्ता एट द स्टेट लेवल एंड लोकपाल एट द सेंट्रल लेवल. ओके, चेयरमैन कौन था उस टाइम पे? मोरारजी देसाई. एक्चुअली एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म 1966, आई एम सॉरी. तो एआरसी ने 1966 में रिकमेंड किया, तो हमने भी 1966 में ही बनाया. ओके, क्या बनाया? लोकपाल एट द स्टेट लेवल एट द सेंट्रल लेवल एंड लोकायुक्ता एट द स्टेट लेवल. ओके, सेंट्रल लेवल और स्टेट लेवल पे हमने लोकपाल लोकायुक्ता बनाया. और बिल कब इंट्रोड्यूस किया हमने? 1966 में एआरसी ना, तो बिल हमने इंट्रोड्यूस किया 1968 में. ओके, फोर्थ लोकसभा था उस टाइम पे. ओके, हाउएवर द बिल वाज अनेबल टू बी पास नहीं हुआ फिर भी बेचारा बिल. तो क्या हुआ? 1972 में महाराष्ट्र बिकेम द फर्स्ट स्टेट टू एस्टैब्लिश लोकायुक्ता. ओके, लोकायुक्ता तो एस्टैब्लिश हो गया 1972 में. ओडिशा ने भी ट्राई किया 1970 में, लेकिन 1983 में फाइनली वो बिल पास हुआ ओडिशा स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर में. ओके, उत्तर प्रदेश आल्सो हैड सिमिलरली उत्तर प्रदेश लोकायुक्ता एक्ट 1975. सो लाइक दैट स्लोली लोकायुक्ता स्टार्टेड टू गेट एस्टैब्लिश्ड एंड दे सबमिट द रिपोर्ट टू द गवर्नर. लोकायुक्ता गवर्नर को रिपोर्ट सबमिट करेगी. ओके, तो गवर्नर क्या करेगा? गवर्नर रेजिडेंट को रिपोर्ट सेंड करेगा? नहीं, गवर्नर ही विल प्रेजेंट दिस रिपोर्ट इन बोथ द हाउसेस ऑफ द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर. ओके, स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर में रिपोर्ट को सबमिट करेगा. रिपोर्ट ही विल सबमिट द रिपोर्ट टू द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर. ओके, इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ लोकपाल हैज बीन एस्टैब्लिश्ड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इन इंडिया बाय द लोकपाल एंड लोकायुक्ता एक्ट 2013. तो लोकपाल तब तक बना नहीं, तो लोकायुक्ता पहले बनी. देखना, महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट इन्फॉर्म लोकायुक्ता फर्स्ट, उसके बाद लोकपाल एंड लोकायुक्ता 2013, देन लोकपाल वाज ऑफिशियली इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज्ड. ओके, लोकपाल में कितने मेंबर्स है? 8 मेंबर्स, चेयरपर्सन एंड 8 मेंबर्स. टोटल लोकपाल में 9 मेंबर्स हैं. ओके, दैट्स ऑल यू कैन ट्राई टू नो फॉर नाउ. एंड इन द ईयर ऑफ 1990 देयर इज वोहरा कमिटी टू स्टडी द प्रॉब्लम्स रिलेटेड टू क्रिमिनलाइजेशन ऑफ पॉलिटिक्स. एंड राजमन्ना कमिटी उन्होंने रिकमेंड किया आईएएस ऑफिसर्स को एबॉलिशन करने के लिए. तो राजमन्ना इट इज वेरी नेगेटिव बिकॉज इट सेड टू एबॉलिश आईएएस आईपीएस सर्विसेज एक्सेट्रा. एंड 1993 में क्या हुआ? प्रेसिडेंट एक्सरसाइज्ड हिज पावर्स अंडर आर्टिकल 123 एंड प्रोमulgated द प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट ऑर्डिनेंस. तो प्रेसिडेंट ने ऑर्डिनेंस का पावर लागू किया एंड देन ही प्रोमulgated अ बिल एन ऑर्डिनेंस. व्हाट इज दैट ऑर्डिनेंस? प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स ऑर्डिनेंस. तो लोकपाल 2013 हो गया, ये एक चीज है. उसके बाद नेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स का भी एक चीज है कि ये 1993 में एनएचआरसी 1993 इट वाज थ्रू इनिशियली एन ऑर्डिनेंस बट लेटर एन एक्ट वाज पास्ड. ओके, देयरफॉर एनएचआरसी इट्स अ स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी. दैट्स ऑल आई कैन टेल. इट वाज फॉर्म्ड इन द ईयर ऑफ 1993. तो ये कुछ डिटेल्स है दैट यू मस्ट नो. And it is a statutory body, but the chairman and the members they are appointed by the president. That's all. That is all for now. Let's try some questions. So the establishment of local and lokaयुक्त in India recommended by the ARC. Okay. The appointment of lokaयुक्त at the state level was first recommended by the ARC. Indian model of ombudsman is the lokpal. Huh? Which of the following commissions or committees has recommended the creation of local body ombudsman? First ARC. वो first ARC था ना 1966 to some 1980 शायद. हाँ. ARC 1967. Which of the following recommended for setting up of local and lokaयुक्त? Morarji Desai. He is the first chairman of the lokpal. Morarji Desai. First local bill was presented in the 1968, लेकिन वो पास नहीं हो पाई बेचारी. Okay, and then what else? This kind of questions will not be asked, so I'm leaving it. Which of the following states the office of लोकयुक्ता was first established? It was established in the Maharashtra. ये उत्तर प्रदेश लोकयुक्ता का टेन्योर उत्तर प्रदेश में पूछेगा, यूपीएससी में थोड़ी पूछेगा। ओके, तो लोकयुक्ता रिपोर्ट उसकी स्टेट गवर्नर को करेगी। गवर्नर किसको करेगा? गवर्नर विल ले द रिपोर्ट टू बोथ द हाउसेस। ओके, दैट्स ऑल। प्रेसिडेंट को नहीं करेगा, विल ले द रिपोर्ट टू बोथ द हाउसेस। ओके, फर्स्ट इंडियन स्टेट टू पास द लोकपाल बिल, ऑफ कोर्स इट्स लोकयुक्ता बिल. Yeah, in 2011 they are asking because the question is 2012. Okay, that's why they asked. Usually they will not ask, so leave it. They're asking about Vohra committee. It was formed to study the nexus of politicians and criminals. IAS IPS को एंड करना है, ये रिकमेंडेशन किसने किया? राजमन्नार कमेटी ने किया. When was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the United Nations? ये नहीं पूछेगा, but 1947. See, I think World War happened ended in 1945, right? And this slowly UN organization के सब फॉर्म होता है 1945 के बाद ही. तो it came in 1948, 1949 और 1945. अगर मुझे आंसर नहीं पता है तो मैं तो सी टिक करूंगी, लेकिन नहीं, आंसर इज 1948. ओके, it was adopted by the United Nations in the year of 1948. Okay, how many articles are there in that Universal Declaration of Human Rights? There are about 30 articles. And 10th December, that is why, see, it is 10th December 1948, right? That is why it is celebrated as Human Rights Day. Concept of human rights primarily emphasizes dignity of a man as a human being. Which of the following is not considered to be one of the human rights listed by the United Nations? बहुत सारे human rights उन्होंने बताई, तो क्या नहीं हो सकता है? Right to privacy, ये सब human right लग रहा है. Privacy क्या बोलेगी नहीं बोलेगी, तो most probably ये नहीं होगा. So that's okay. Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by UNGA does not include which of the following? It does not include universal basic income. Okay, standard of living, life, liberty, ये सब सही चीजें है ना. Basic income तो अब ये नहीं है. Okay, चलो भाई ये देख लेते हैं. यूपीएससी का क्वेश्चन है ये. National Human Rights Commission, its chairman must be retired Chief Justice of India. अब देखना, National Human Rights Commission I have already discussed in the constitutional non-constitutional body. Just read that, but then you can guess that. Now I'm not able to recall much, but see that video. Okay, there I have mentioned with some tricks how to memorize all the constitutional and non-constitutional bodies. Its chairman must be retired Chief Justice of India, but I know this is wrong. ये कोई सुप्रीम कोर्ट जज होगा, इतना हाई क्वालिफिकेशन नहीं है. 2019 के बाद ये हटाया गया. And then it has the formation in each state as a state human rights commission. This is not compulsory. Again, this will go wrong because it is not compulsory. This is asking about SHRC. Na, SHRC is not compulsory. Its powers are only recommendatory in nature. That's very correct. Recommendatory, and it is mandatory to appoint women as member of the commission. कोई women तो होना चाहिए भाई, ये भी सही है. Okay, so NHRC is to be headed by a person who has been former CGI. अरे अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट जज हो गया ना, तो ये गलत है. The chairperson of the NHRC holds for a term of 5 or till he attains the age of 70. It's not 5 or 70, it's 3 or 70. This is also wrong. ये देखना, स्टेट कमीशन, स्टेट ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन किसको रिपोर्ट सबमिट करेगी? गवर्नर को करेगी, नहीं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को करेगी. दैट इज द ट्रैप ना. अब I'll ask you one thing. National Human Rights Commission submitted its report to. Let us see the remaining articles which might be important. Property, contracts, rights, liability, obligation and suits. Okay, what does suit mean? We listen to this word many times. Suit, they're talking about legal suits in the court. How government can be sued for anything it is doing wrong, and how government can sue people in the court of law if anything wrong goes. So that's the meaning of suit. Let us see the articles. Article 294 says that succession to property, asset, rights, liability, and obligation in certain cases. Okay. Basically, before 1950, the property of India, it belongs to the crown, right? Before 1950, it was the property of crown. But now, after constitution, it must be transferred to India, right? Now they are telling that under Article 294, certain property of provinces, they will be transferred to the state. And then properties of princely states, they will also be transferred to the state. 294 talks about provinces and 295 talks about princely states. See, before constitution has enforced, you have fourfold classification. What are the fourfold classification? Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. Part A talks about provinces. Part B talks about princely states. And Part C and Part D are union territories. Part D is Andaman and Nicobar Island. And this is also some union territory, right? So those properties of provinces, they must now be distributed among union or state. Similarly, princely state properties, how they are going to be distributed between union or state, that is mentioned in 294 and 295. And next, Article 296 talks about property acquiring by estate, lapse or bona vacantia. What does estate mean? Estate implies the owner of the property if he died without any will. So now we don't know whose property that belongs to, because the owner died without any will. And then what is lapse? Lapse is expiration of the legal rights of the owner. Basically, let's say the owner is someone and he transferred rights to someone else, the property rights. Now this guy died, okay, before even experiencing. Then that is called lapse, okay. Expiration of legal rights is called lapse. Legal rights expire house property ka. Okay, estate. Estate implies owner died without will. If owner dies without will, that is estate. Lapse implies expiration of legal rights. And what is bona vacantia? Bona vacantia implies property is abandoned. Okay, so there is an abandoned property and there is no owner to that. That is basically abandoned. No one is there. Then that abandoned property is called bona vacantia. Okay, abandoned property, legal right expiration, and estate is owner died without will. Okay, now let us see 297. What does Article 297 mean? Things of value within territorial waters or continental shelf and resources of exclusive economic zone (EEZ). That is in Article 297. Do you know, as per UNCLOS, we are also having we are also setting up a similar territorial water zones. For example, UNCLOS 1892, it gave some measures, right? 1982, it gave measures based upon the coastal baseline. For example, let's say this is our coastal baseline, and 12 nautical miles from this coast, that is going to be our territorial water, and 24 nautical miles from the territorial water is going to be what? It is going to be the contiguous zone. Okay, 24 nautical miles if you take, that is going to be the contiguous zone. And next, if you take up to 200 nautical miles from this coastline, if it is 200 nautical miles from the coastline, what is that? That is EEZ, exclusive economic zone. Okay, so territorial water, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone. Up to 12 nautical miles, it is territorial water. Up to 24 nautical miles, it is contiguous zone. And up to 200 nautical miles, it is exclusive economic zone. You know what? Continental shelf, territorial water, they are the same. I mean, basically, our land surface extends beyond the ocean, right? I mean, below the ocean. Therefore, till that extent we are calling it as our Indian territory, and we are telling that as territorial water, and we are saying it is up to 12 nautical miles, and up to 24 nautical miles if you are considering it is contiguous zone. Up to 200 nautical miles, it is exclusive economic zone. They are saying things of value within territorial water, continental shelf, and exclusive economic zone to vest in the union. Okay, so there are certain rights which vest with the India and certain foreign rights. For example, there is this territorial water. This territorial water, India is having full, complete control, absolute control over the airspace also. So basically, this is territorial water. Here, India has complete control over the airspace. Okay, so land, water, everything India can control. But there is this contiguous zone in the 24 nautical mile. There, what happens is that India is having certain rights. For example, India can tax ships who are coming into India, right? So that taxing powers are there, but it cannot control over the airspace. For example, some foreign flights are going over this, then India can't tax it. Okay, India has no control over the airspace in this 24 nautical miles. So technically speaking, here India has control over the airspace, but here India don't have control over the airspace. And the taxing powers, yes, India has taxation powers in the contiguous zone. Okay, India can tax here. Basically, India has no control over airspace implies if there are any criminal laws, if any criminal flight is going, it cannot enforce any criminal law against that spaceship in the airspace. Okay, that is not possible. So that's what I'm saying. India don't have control in the airspace, but it has a taxation powers. Okay, and next, when you're coming to 200 nautical mile, India has only the right of natural resources. The rights over natural resources is there. Let's take an Indian ship. Let's say that a ship is coming from Pakistan and it's just a 200 nautical miles. I mean, it is in the 200 nautical mile wala zone. Now it entered into contiguous zone. Once this ship enters into contiguous zone, it needs to pay the tax. But once that ship is outside the contiguous zone, it need not pay tax. So in the exclusive economic zone, all the countries are having freedom of freight and trade. But in the contiguous zone, they can do, there is freedom of freight and trade, but they must pay taxation. I mean, they're subject to taxation. India don't have control over the airspace in this contiguous zone. And in the territorial water, India has complete powers. It even has the control over the airspace. Okay. These are the same rules that are there in the UNCLOS 1982, and the 298th article talks about power to carry on trade. For example, a union government want to do some trade, or the state government wants to trade. So based upon the list, subjective list, whether it is union, state list, or concurrent list, accordingly they can do trade if they want to. That is Article 298. And when they are doing such trade, the trade will be on the name of president or governor. So technically they are subject to the state legislation or union legislation. However, they will be done on the name of the president or the governor. Okay, that's Article 298. Now 299, it is talking about contracts. Contracts, that's also the same thing. Contracts, they are if a union want to do contract with some other party, then of course it needs to do on the name of president. So all contracts are done on the name of either president or governor. Okay, but remember that they are just done on the name of president and governor, but president and governor, they are not liable. They are not liable if anything goes wrong. Okay, the last article is about suits and proceedings. So that's all. Suits and proceedings, they are on the name of government. Okay, see, contracts, they are on the name of president or governor, right? But suits and proceedings, they are on the name of government of India, union, government of India, or government of state. Okay, that's how it works. Suits and proceedings, they are I mean, the government of India may be sued by the name of government of India or government of state. If you want to sue the state government, it will be done on the name of the state government only. If you want to sue the union government, it will be done on the name of union government only. That's how it works. Okay, that is on Article 300. Now there is a right to property, Article 300A. Basically, right to property 300A, it was added through amendment, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978. So 44th CA 1978 added this Article 300A. Basically, persons not to be deprived of property save by authority of law. So no, let's say I have a property. My property cannot be taken by anyone except authority by law. See, if authority by law is taking my property to implement DPSPs, then they must provide me compensation also. Okay, yeah, that is 300A. Property not to be deprived, persons not to be deprived of property saved by authority of law. Okay, let us see part 13. Trade, commerce, and intercourse within the territory of India. Freedom of trade, commerce, and intercourse is possible throughout the territory of India except under reasonable restrictions under Article 302 to 305. Okay, these are the articles. For example, in 302, Parliament can impose restrictions in matters of public interest. Okay, so trade can be curbed in matters of public interest, right? So that is the power of the Parliament to impose restrictions on trade in matters of public interest. And next we have 303. That is imposing restriction on the Parliament and the state legislature. Okay, what is it saying? It is basically saying that states, I mean the Parliament or state legislature, they cannot give preference of one state over the other. One state cannot be preferred over the other state regarding trade, commerce, and intercourse. Okay, that is in 303. 304 says that, but you know, there are certain restrictions on the state legislature also. For example, among the states, if you see, state legislature, it cannot give preference of one state over the other, right? That is what we know. But state legislature can impose tax on similar goods. Yes, state legislature cannot give preference of one state over the other, but if there are similar goods, then state can impose the tax. That is what the Article 304 said. Article 304, it is also saying that state legislature, it can impose some restrictions in the matter of public interest. But similar to Parliament, state legislature can also impose restrictions in matters of public interest, but state legislature require prior sanction of the president. So that is important. Public interest बोल के state नहीं कर सकती है, center कर सकती है. I mean parliament कर सकती है, लेकिन state legislation नहीं कर सकती है. Okay, and next we have 305. Saving of existing laws and laws providing for state monopolies. State monopolies implies if state want to trade alcohol, like liquor, etc., then state can do that. If state want to tax a lot on alcohol and state want to say the taxing alcohol is only my right and I can do monopoly over it, alcohol का पूरा धंधा मेरा ही है, अगर state ऐसे बोलेगी तो चलेगा, because it is a state subject. Okay, that's what we are saying. Saving of existing laws and laws providing for state monopolies. Okay, 306 was completely repealed, and 307 says that Parliament has the authority to set up a Parliament has authority to set up an authority under Article 301 to 304 to implement all these things. But Parliament did not set up any authority for carrying out of trade, commerce, intercourse within the territory of India. Okay, yeah, if Parliament wants, it can do that. That is part 13. I really think you like the session. Thank you very much.